When heroes chose their weapons, they usually picked swords and blades, but I chose a handgun as my main weapon. Seeing this, my classmates all laughed at me. Even the teacher thought I was crazy. This turned out to be a world where heroes and monsters coexisted. Even upgraded magic bullets couldn't inflict the slightest damage on heroes. So compared to modern firearms, ancient weapons could unleash far more powerful force. But the origin of this magical world actually came from a novel I had written. One day after I stopped updating, I received an email from a reader wanting to adapt my novel. But after I agreed, I unexpectedly found myself transported into the world of my novel, with a face covered by a question mark. Fortunately, after 2 weeks, I gradually got used to it, and I confirmed that I wasn't dreaming, but had been reborn as a background character in my novel. After thinking for a long time, I guessed that the way back was to follow the main storyline. Once it developed to where I had stopped updating, when the novel ended, I should have a chance to return. But according to the plot's length, it would take about 10 years, and this world was full of all kinds of dangers. So I chose to attend classes at the school this body belonged to, which was Magic Cube Academy, the training ground for heroes and the main stage of my novel. Among the many aspiring heroes, only a select few elites could become students of Magic Cube Academy. Since the original owner of this body could join, there must have been something special about him. Although I didn't understand a background character's talent, I hoped it would be somewhat helpful. My class at Magic Cube Academy was the core location of the novel. The key protagonists and antagonists, as well as the main character of the novel, were all in truth class. Next, everyone would have various encounters in this class. Just thinking about spending 10 years with these geniuses made me feel increasingly uncertain about the future. In the evening, after class ended, I returned to my dormitory, but there was a package by my door. I initially thought this was an item belonging to Kim Chun-dong, the owner of this body. But when I tried to open it, inside was actually my laptop. Then the computer automatically turned on. However, it displayed initializing synchronization, accompanied by a dazzling bright light. Everything about the character Kim Chun-dong began synchronizing to Kim Ha-jin, which was me. Even ability values and careers were synchronizing bit by bit. These things were clearly the setting collection I had written when creating the novel. I was very curious about who could have sent me the computer. After synchronization was complete, the computer screen suddenly went black. I also acquired an exclusive authority, setting intervention. At this moment, I was no longer Kim Chun-dong, but had become my original appearance. However, due to the synchronization effect, all my attributes were completely reset. I slowly placed the laptop screen on the desk. From the screen, I could clearly see this was indeed my original face. At the same time, around me I could see window after window. This must be the eye-opening from my setting, an awakening phenomenon that appeared when people transcended their limits. In this world, people called it eye-opening. After opening their eyes, the person could understand their qualities and talents in a digitized way. Simply put, they could see their own status bar. Currently, I possess 2 talents, observation and reading. After resetting my ability values, my stats were obviously lower than Kim Chun-dong's. The status bar had quite a lot of information. The most prominent was this setting intervention authority. I didn't remember writing this kind of ability, and I could gain corresponding SP points by increasing my presence in the world. 1,000 SP points could be exchanged for 1 ability point. Looking at this authority, I wondered if it wanted me to increase my importance in the novel's plot. Such a strange ability, plus sending me the computer, undoubtedly wanted me to intervene in this world's main storyline. Just when I thought this was ridiculous, a status window suddenly appeared, but it was filled with question marks, requiring the main story to end before it could be unlocked. Fortunately, I had already prepared to participate in this world. If I could get involved with the protagonists, I might be able to find a way to leave. Since that was the case, I also needed to improve my strength to smoothly complete the storyline. I immediately used the points to enhance my ability values. In the novel I wrote, heroes became stronger by obtaining ability points, and I had just used all my points to boost my luck. Luck was a cheat-like ability value in my novel, but it was a fixed ability that couldn't be improved with points. But if I converted points to SP points, I should be able to do it. So I quickly prepared to try it out. After converting the 10 points I had just obtained, I used 9,000 SP points to raise my luck to 9. Then I unexpectedly triggered mysterious luck, which made me somewhat delighted, because my luck value had now reached 9.1. The protagonist Kim Suho's magic ability value was around 9. In comparison, I had really struck it big. I planned to use the remaining SP to improve my perseverance, since I'd need to endure Magic Cube Academy's extreme training later. With the help of my super high luck points, my willpower reached around 702. Just when I thought I could continue cheating, the system detected a serious error. So from now on, I couldn't use SP to modify fixed ability values. Although somewhat disappointed, I had managed to boost my luck and perseverance. I still had 10,000 care SP points given by the system, but I'd wait to spend these points after thinking it through. The next day, after morning training ended, our class's instructor for the coming year stepped up to speak. His name was Kim Joo-hae. Classified by various associations, he was a mid to high level hero. After introducing himself, he got straight to today's main topic. Our first assignment today was selecting a main weapon. Soon, under the instructor's guidance, we entered Magic Cube Academy's large equipment warehouse. There were many ancient weapons here. While all students were attracted by the dazzling array of equipment, the instructor quickly urged everyone to choose weapons. Once you chose a main weapon, you had to use it for at least 6 months before changing. The students on site chose their favorite weapons based on their situations. The equipment warehouse had all kinds of weapons available. Watching the protagonists finish their selections smoothly, I began searching for something suitable for myself. With my current attributes, I couldn't use the weapons other students could handle. And since I wasn't familiar with those swords and blades, my selection criteria were very clear. 2 conditions. One was that it had to be quick to learn, and the other was that I had to have encountered it in my original world. But my choice drew the attention of my classmates. Hearing the discussion, the instructor just looked ahead and was quite surprised by the weapon I had chosen, because I had actually picked up a small handgun. Many people couldn't help but laugh out loud. The instructor was also puzzled because I had used a sword at my previous military school. To this, I calmly stated that I wanted to try using a different weapon. Hearing this, the instructor said no more. Magic Cube Academy supported students' complete freedom of choice, but regardless of the outcome, good or bad, we had to take responsibility ourselves. Some people already suspected I was trying to attract attention. Others were preparing to teach me a lesson during mock battles, to show me the difference between weapons. I was helpless about this, since these were my own settings after all. Although guns were also excellent weapons in this world, this only applied to ordinary people who couldn't control magic power. In my novel's setting, guns used magic bullets, which were more powerful than metal bullets. But even so, guns weren't popular among heroes. The first reason was that no matter how capable the gun user was, the gun's destructive power wouldn't change accordingly. The second was that this world had materialized myths and legends, and those mythical weapons really existed. Therefore, the older the history and the stronger the source, the higher the weapon's grade. So heroes all preferred these ancient weapons, as they could use them to break through their limits. But none of this mattered to me, since I wasn't the manga protagonist after all. I had never used swords or similar weapons, so how could I compete with Magic Cube Academy students? A gun was the best choice for me. Now that I had chosen a weapon, it was time to acquire a talent. Talents were also called abilities, and they were the foundation of heroes' power. Generally, people only possessed one talent, but there was one exception. That was Kim Suho. Besides swordsmanship, he had other undisclosed talents. Meanwhile, after leaving the equipment warehouse, Kim Suho came to the training room. The girl ahead was named Chae Na-yoon. Seeing the bow and arrow in her hands, Kim Suho remembered that Truth class had gained another archer. But his words made Chae Na-yoon very displeased, because Chae Na-yoon thought I couldn't even be considered an archer. She even speculated that I had already given up on becoming a hero. Of course, I had no way of knowing about their conversation. After returning to the dormitory, I prepared to think of a talent suitable for myself, and my settings stated that the first talent would also provide me with an additional 10,000 SP points. So I randomly typed a talent on the computer, Deadeye. Then I used SP points to complete its configuration. What I didn't expect was that after consuming the points, the status bar automatically modified and completed the talent based on what I had written: proficiency in using all types of ranged weapons. This effect was quite good. In the future, besides guns, I could also use bows and arrows. And from the Deadeye's description, this was still a growth type talent. After thinking it over, I decided to go with Deadeye. I'd have to rely on it to reach the end of the storyline. Time quickly came to the next day. Today, the teacher was teaching practical examples of conquering towers and dungeons. But with my observation and reading talents, I didn't need to pay attention to easily master the theoretical course content. Just as their name suggested, they let me observe people within my field of vision. I could even see the contents of their smartwatches, and allowed me to read things on computers anytime, anywhere, without any medium. After class ended, the teacher told everyone not to forget to review, because there would be a written test soon. Chae Na-yoon complained about why they had to learn this theoretical knowledge. Shouldn't they be showing their skills in actual combat? The next second, Truth class's door was pushed open, and the instructor notified everyone to gather at the square in 20 minutes. Hearing this news, Chae Na-yoon was instantly overjoyed. As she had hoped, the instructor officially had everyone participate in combat training. But this wasn't good news for me. After everyone arrived at the training ground, the instructor didn't elaborate much, and directly began forming groups, with 4 members per team. For fairness, students with low rankings would be paired with those with high rankings, and this grouping would last until midterm exams. After explaining the basics, the instructor opened the team assignment machine. I didn't pay any attention to the protagonist's team. What really surprised me was that I was actually grouped with Yu Yonha. This was different from the novel plot I was familiar with. Just like the classic trope in all novels, there was always a protagonist group around the main character that created conflicts and drove the plot forward. In my original novel setting, Yu Yonha was one of the main characters. She was the first heir of the strongest domestic guild, Essence Strait, and a descendant of the prestigious Yu family. In the early part of the novel, she would stand with the protagonist Kim Suho's team, and eventually they would become like-minded comrades. Although I didn't know why she was paired with me, from my perspective, getting involved with Yu Yonha was very important, because the more significant my role in the plot, the more SP points I would gain. I secretly made up my mind that I had to find a way to attract Yu Yonha's attention. At this time, Yu Yonha, who was still resting, heard someone calling her. She turned around and saw her teammates Chen Hao Sheng and Ye Yue, who were very pleased. At this moment, Yu Yonha hadn't noticed they were teammates. After confirming this, she instantly changed her attitude and became very polite. Hearing Yu Yonha wonder who the other team member was, I stepped forward. She had absolutely no impression of me, but I couldn't appear timid because I knew Yu Yonha despised weak people the most. Before I could introduce myself, Chen Hao Sheng beside me said, "You're the one who chose the handgun in the equipment warehouse. Your reputation among the first years has already spread." Seeing us still chatting, the instructor immediately appeared to interrupt. After sending the coordinates of the monsters each team had to eliminate to their smartwatches, today's combat training officially began. Yu Yonha and the others had high ability values from long-term training, so they moved forward quickly. But I was different. By the time we were about to reach our destination, I felt like I was about to die. Compared to Magic Cube Academy students, I could only be the team's dead weight. After arriving at a seaside area, we reached Training Zone 8th Coast. The monsters in this area were black tumor octopi, whose ferocity was unquestionable. After I also arrived, Yu Yonha organized the battle plan. Black tumor octopi were mid-low level high-level monsters with weak attack power, but they had tumors on their heads that could launch 10 small octopi. These small octopi had terrifying blood-sucking abilities and were their most deadly feature. If we wanted to quickly eliminate the 10 octopi, this task would be best left to me as the shooter. But Yu Yonha disagreed. She said she would handle the small octopi, while Chen Shenghao and Ye Yue should conserve their strength. Black tumor octopi had strong self-healing abilities, so they would need to eliminate its vital part in one strike later. But Yu Yonha's plan was clearly meant to exclude me from the training. As I thought, she completely ignored me. She told me not to intervene, then directly began the operation, probably because she was annoyed by my slow traveling speed. Chen Shenghao, who received the instruction, also decisively began striking large rocks. They initially wanted to lure the monster to the shore. This plan was also successful. Seeing the humans on shore, the black tumor octopus quickly swam over, and Yu Yonha was already ready to strike. After approaching, the black tumor octopus immediately released the blood-sucking octopi from its head. These small monsters moved incredibly fast. Even though Chen Haosheng saw the attack coming, he couldn't dodge. Fortunately, Yu Yonha intervened in time as planned. Her whip successfully killed every octopus, and Yu Yonha looked very relaxed, having barely exerted any effort. Seeing this, Chen Haosheng was amazed. Now he completely believed why Yu Yonha could rank 7th among Magic Cube Academy's freshmen. After thanking Yu Yonha, he quickly left the battlefield. The frontal confrontation was temporarily handled by Yu Yonha, just as she was avoiding the black tumor octopus's tentacle attacks. A writhing small octopus appeared behind Yu Yonha. Even though Ye Yue discovered it in time, the distance was too close, and Yu Yonha had no time to dodge. Once touched by a small octopus, all the blood in her body would be drained within seconds. What surprised Yu Yonha was that, with the sound of a gunshot, the original crisis instantly disappeared. The one who acted was me, not far away. With the Deadeye's enhancement, my handgun was practically accurate every shot. Yu Yonha, who came to her senses, could hardly believe it. She hadn't expected that Kim Hajin, whom she looked down upon, had saved her at the crucial moment. Ye Yue and the other person also couldn't believe I could act so timely, while Yu Yonha was still being stubborn, saying, "Didn't I tell you not to intervene?" Before she could finish her words, the black tumor octopus's next round of attacks had already begun. This time, the octopi were different from the intelligence report. There weren't just 10. There were dozens, so many that even Yu Yonha couldn't handle them all. I didn't panic because of this. Although there were many monsters, their intelligence was low and their movement patterns could be easily tracked. This was also the perfect moment for me to show my worth, because my Deadeye had a special skill, bullet time. It could slow down the flow of time for 3 seconds. And what I had to do next was just one thing. That was to quickly shoot through each blood-sucking octopus. 3 seconds wasn't long. In Yu Yonha and the others' eyes, it was almost just a few breaths. But when they looked back, they suddenly found that the originally numerous octopi had all been shot full of holes, although everything they witnessed was shocking. Yu Yonha quickly noticed the battlefield information. That was, without the small octopi, the black tumor octopus's weakness was now exposed before her. In an instant, her whip flew out and tightly wrapped around the black tumor octopus's weak point. At the same time, Yu Yonha quickly reminded her teammates to attack. Ye Yue and Chen Haosheng didn't hesitate and leaped onto the monster's head. The next moment, both of them released their magic power. Under their powerful combined attack, the black tumor octopus was killed on the spot without any surprise. And Truth Class Team 5's combat mission was thus completed. Seeing that things were finally resolved, I could no longer support myself and collapsed. Using bullet time for the first time had almost exhausted all my energy. But hearing the electronic announcement that Team 5's total time was 58 minutes and 58 seconds, Yu Yonha looked very disappointed, because this result only ranked 16th. It wasn't until she returned to the classroom and confirmed each team's times on the big screen that Yu Yonha realized she hadn't misheard. Although drones filmed the entire process and the academy would calculate individual scores separately, what made her unhappy was that she had lost to Che Na-yoon again. Her team ranked 4th. When she came to Magic Cube Academy, she had been determined to outperform her from the start. What made Yu Yonha even more unacceptable was that the boy beside her kept looking at Che Na-yoon. Then Yu Yonha angrily walked toward Che Na-yoon, just as the other party sensed the presence behind her. Yu Yonha changed her attitude and greeted Che Na-yoon very gently. Hearing that Yu Yonha came to ask about the combat training, she regrettably said she only got 4th place. After learning that Yu Yonha's team was 16th, Che Na-yoon also praised that their team was amazing. With a gunner holding them back, achieving this result was already a blessing. But Yu Yonha's heart was conflicted. As Che Na-yoon said, when they first started traveling, they could have arrived in 10 minutes, but because of me, they wasted 50 minutes. But in the subsequent battle, I had played a very important role. This contrast made Yu Yonha unable to say whether I was really holding them back. And being able to use magic bullets to kill dozens of blood-sucking octopi made her increasingly curious about my background. In the days following the combat training, I went to exercise my body, so I only now remembered to check the gains from the previous battle. Currently, my talent mastery had increased by 20%, and perception had increased by 0.03. I also triggered luck, which would improve my hearing and vision in the future. At the same time, because I intervened in Yu Yonha's storyline, I also gained several hundred SP points. During this time, through fitness, many ability values had improved. After reviewing all recent gains, I ended today's workout. In the evening, in the luxury area of the student dormitory, Yu Yonha was staying up late looking at her computer. The content was my performance during training. She watched it repeatedly and finally came up with a terrifying number. That was, I had fired 60 magic bullets consecutively with my handgun in 3 seconds. Yu Yonha thought, could one pull the trigger 20 times in 1 second? Or if my handgun could fire continuously? After a whole night of investigation, she discovered there were too many suspicious things about me. With such outstanding performance in battle, despite her knowledge of various talents, she had never heard my name. At this time, Shin Jonghak happened to send her a message. He was the boy who had been staring at Chae Na-yoon during the day. Shin Jonghak asked what she was doing, and Yu Yonha happily said she was reviewing. What surprised Yu Yonha was that he was also somewhat curious about the gunner on his team. Because the combat training was fully recorded, basically all academy personnel and major external organizations could watch it. Thanks to being on the same team as Yu Yonha, some people also watched our team's replay. But more people were still focused on the protagonist Kim Soo-ho. This included Yoon Sung-ya, the deputy leader of the Creator Guild, who really liked Kim Soo-ho, that superb swordsmanship and extraordinary cutting power. Yoon Sung-ya understood that next, all the major domestic guilds would compete to recruit Kim Soo-ho. Of course, she was no exception. Such a clean background, sunny and handsome genius. Yoon Sung-ya also wanted to recruit him by any means necessary. But as she continued watching the combat training footage, she discovered a student using a gun. The assistant beside her said that because of Yu Yonha, many people clicked on the video, and I, as the gunner, had caused a lot of discussion. Just with a handgun, I had created incredible results. She also told Yoon Sung-ya that I had changed my main weapon from sword to handgun. Hearing this, she immediately understood that I must have successfully opened my eyes. There had been similar cases before, where people replaced their original specialized main weapons after awakening. Being able to open one's eyes at 17 surprised Yoon Sung-ya, but since the main weapon was a firearm, she thought it wasn't that attractive. After all, the further along you went, the more the disadvantages of modern weapons would gradually be exposed. Time passed, and 3 days later, the academy had a new training project. This time, it was mock battles, usually conducted in pairs. They used training-specific weapons that wouldn't cause major harm. But in Magic Cube Academy's first year, there was one exception. At this time, the instructor loudly called me up. But up to now, I had already been beaten 18 times. Unlike others, my opponent was an academy instructor. The reason was that the training firearms were still being manufactured, and if real guns were used, first-year students could easily get injured. So, my mock battles were conducted with an instructor as my opponent. Although I had the Deadeye's eagle eye effect, I could see the instructor's attack patterns clearly, but whether my speed could keep up was another matter entirely. After training ended, I was completely exhausted and gasping for breath. Just as I was about to drink cola and rest, I turned around and unexpectedly saw Yu Yonha leaving. Given our previous experience, neither of us had a good first impression of each other. Although she was a character I created, her temper was really too bad. But I suddenly remembered the setting I had written for Yu Yonha, so I decided to test if it was correct. Then I suddenly called out to Yu Yonha and threw a can of cola over. Caught off guard, she didn't understand what I meant, but instinctively caught the cola. Coming to her senses, Yu Yonha asked, "Is this a provocation?" To this I said, "I benefited from you last training. This is a gesture of goodwill." Of course, I had another purpose, to test how much SP I could gain from talking with the protagonist group. After hearing my words, Yu Yonha gently brushed her hair, then threw the cola back to me. She told me not to act like we were familiar. Then Yu Yonha directly turned and left. But as she walked along the way, she suddenly noticed something was wrong. Yu Yonha felt like the weight of her handbag had changed, so she stopped and opened her bag. It turned out there was another can of cola inside. I had slipped it in just now. Angry, she originally wanted to throw it directly into the trash, but she looked around and found no one was there, so she put the cola back in her bag. I saw all of this, and this was also part of the setting I gave her. Yu Yonha really liked cola, hamburgers, and other foods, but due to her pride, she never showed it in front of others. Unexpectedly, talking with Yu Yonha for just a few sentences only earned me 4 SP points. It seemed I still needed to intervene in the main storyline. The next turning point in the plot would be the demon attack incident at S City's weapon museum. Demons were humans who made contracts with devils, trading their souls for powerful strength. This incident was also triggered to assassinate a certain character. In the novel, the protagonist group happened to be visiting weapons at the museum and casually resolved the demon problem. The other members of the protagonist group also began to become interested in Kim Soo-ho through this opportunity. However, only Kim Soo-ho and Chae Na-yoon would take action this time. After all, early-stage demons were relatively weak, which was also good news for me. I should be able to fully participate in this plot segment. First, I needed to find an opportunity to get them to take me to the museum together. At this time, the instructor told me to hurry back to the dormitory. Hearing this, I quickly packed up my computer and left, but I didn't notice that an email had suddenly arrived on my computer at this moment. Soon, the opportunity I wanted also arrived. Magic Cube Academy's club activities. These were small groups organized by students themselves for activities. There were many types, covering academic, martial arts, and other directions. According to the setting, Magic Cube Academy had over 100 clubs. Participating in club activities was not only a process of self-development, but also an opportunity for students to communicate with each other. The club I was joining today was called the Travel Club. I was doing this because people from the protagonist group had also joined this club, looking at the gathering of many first-year elite figures. The senior club president was also somewhat trembling. After composing himself, he introduced to Kim Soo-ho and the others that the Travel Club's purpose was relaxation, so they would use teleportation to leave Magic Cube Academy for about 2 trips per month. To welcome the new members, they had chosen a very close destination for today's trip. That was S City, which was extremely prosperous and close to Magic Cube Academy. From this plot development, the storyline was no different from what I had originally written. After the plot occurred, if I participated a little, I should be able to gain SP points. But the president said they would conduct group drawings, which surprised me somewhat. Had I remembered the plot wrong? What surprised me even more was that I was once again grouped with Yu Yonha, so she unhesitatingly told me that I could just act alone with her. I naturally agreed, since I had wanted to act alone when I came anyway. Soon we arrived at S City's Weapon Museum. There were more types of weapons here than in Magic Cube Academy. Visitors were also streaming in continuously. Chae Na-yoon also took a liking to a bow inside. Her being here meant Kim Suho was somewhere nearby. Sure enough, turning around, I spotted the protagonist. Seeing me approach, Kim Suho finally noticed me. I proactively introduced myself as Kim Hajin and started chatting with him. Hearing my name, he finally remembered I was the one who chose the handgun. With so many people before, Kim Suho hadn't noticed I had also joined the travel club. He said there was a firearms exhibition hall on the other side, asking if I wanted to go see it together. But before I could speak, the museum shook violently. Then an emergency broadcast sounded. Demons had appeared around the museum's perimeter. The broadcast repeated over and over, making the people inside gradually fearful. When screams of agony came from outside, everyone began scrambling to escape. A little girl was accidentally knocked down by the crowd, but just then, someone punched and shattered the glass protecting the exhibits. The piercing sound temporarily quieted everyone down. Everyone was startled by Chae Na-yoon's action. Kim Suho, who had just saved the little girl, also didn't expect her to suddenly act. Finally, Chae Na-yoon spoke. She told everyone to calm down. The resident heroes would definitely arrive soon. If they ran outside in this situation, they would only become the monster's prey. After speaking, she also took weapons from the display case. At this time, the museum security system also instantly activated, closing the exit doors. Chae Na-yoon reminded Kim Suho to also get weapons. They had to protect the crowd before the heroes arrived. But suddenly, clear footsteps echoed through the air. Chae Na-yoon immediately sensed this unusual presence. The power emanating from the opponent made her quickly enter combat mode. This was the invading demon, also the villain I had designed to promote the protagonist's growth. The demon saw Chae Na-yoon and immediately rushed to kill her. Kim Suho had already drawn out the sword he had been looking at. According to the original plot, with Kim Suho's strength, he could easily defeat him. The next moment, the two collided. But the outcome exceeded my expectations. Kim Suho was actually knocked away by the demon. Looking at Kim Suho injured and lying beside me, I hadn't reacted for a moment, because the plot development shouldn't be like this. I clearly hadn't written this kind of storyline. In the novel, although Kim Suho would initially seem to be at a disadvantage while hiding his strength, once he released his restraints, he would directly crush the demon. But the current situation was that Kim Suho, hiding his strength, was directly injured by the demon's single strike. Hearing mine and Chae Na-yoon's inquiries, he said somewhat tremblingly that he was fine. Kim Suho's condition wasn't optimistic. I had to find a way to buy him time. Chae Na-yoon had already stepped forward to block Kim Suho's front. Facing her arrows, the demon didn't even bother to defend. After shooting more than 10 arrows consecutively, Chae Na-yoon finally discovered that although her attacks hit the target, the demon seemed to feel no pain. This wasn't a special ability, nor was it a regeneration effect. Chae Na-yoon couldn't understand why her attacks had no effect at all. Seeing this scene, I quickly reminded Chae Na-yoon to dodge, but the demon's claws were already about to pierce through her. At the critical moment, Kim Suho intervened in time to block the demon. However, with his weakened strength, facing the transformed demon again, he couldn't withstand it for even an instant. The next moment, he was smashed into the ground by the powerful demon. At the crucial moment, Chae Na-yoon shot arrows again. This time, the arrow imbued with magic power took effect, but her attack also successfully enraged the demon. The opponent then gave up on killing Kim Suho and turned to prepare to kill Chae Na-yoon. The demon's claws moved too fast, causing Chae Na-yoon to be unable to dodge in time. Chae Na-yoon was thus pressed firmly against the wall. If this continued, someone would definitely die. I immediately told the others to scatter quickly. Facing the demon's sudden increase in strength, I suppressed my fear and forced myself to stay calm. Next, I needed to do something to give Kim Suho and the others a chance to catch their breath. Ordinary magic bullets would definitely not cause any damage, but the opponent was a character from my novel, so the character settings should be roughly the same. That meant this demon must be of the dark attribute, so I began to use setting intervention. I wanted to change the attributes of the magic bullets. Changing the attributes required consuming over 1000 SP points. After writing the settings and consuming points to save them, my magic bullets also changed attributes. The reason I wrote attribute restraint settings was to allow the heroes to unleash even more powerful strength. After quickly loading, I aimed the pistol at the demon. The next second, I loudly reminded Kim Suho to dodge. The modified magic bullet became a white light bullet, which was the light attribute that restrained darkness. As soon as Kim Suho dodged, I immediately pulled the trigger. The distance was very close, and this shot instantly hit the demon's arm. Then the white light bullet emitted dazzling white light. The demon's arm was also purified into ashes. The intense pain made him unable to stop wailing. Chae Na-yoon, who was controlled by the demon's claws, was thus saved, and I successfully bought time for Kim Suho. How could the severely injured demon possibly be his opponent? After activating Sword Saint, Kim Suho's aura was completely different from before. His magic power transformed into flames burning fiercely on his weapon. The demon suddenly understood that he was about to die. The Sword Saint's magic power could cut through everything in the world. This time the battle was truly over. Kim Suho's full-strength sword instantly split the demon in two. With the demon's death, the first main storyline was also completed. Kim Suho stood up somewhat shakily because of that sword strike. Using it once a day was now his limit. But the conscious Chae Na-yoon was retching uncontrollably. The life and death moment just now had caused Chae Na-yoon great pain. Kim Suho, who tried to come over to comfort her, was harshly pushed away by the panicked Chae Na-yoon. Seeing this, Kim Suho didn't didn't continue to approach her. He knew Chae Na-yoon needed time to adjust, but I said don't worry about it, her brother would come to comfort her soon. After all, that's how I wrote it in the novel. However, as soon as I finished speaking, I felt the air suddenly freeze. They looked at me with extremely unfamiliar and confused gazes. Chae Na-yoon was trembling all over. Then she couldn't support herself anymore and vomited. After a while, the monsters outside were also mostly eliminated. Many heroes from S-City rushed over, including Yoon Sung-ya. At this time, a member of her guild came to inform her. A demon had appeared in the museum, but fortunately it was solved by 3 students from Magic Cube Academy. This news made Yoon Sung-ya very impressed, and she then asked which students they were. Hearing that Kim Soo-ho was involved and that he had killed the demon, Yoon Sung-ya quickly rushed toward the museum, her heart very excited. She hadn't expected to encounter Kim Soo-ho here. She didn't want to miss this opportunity to get closer. Just then, I also walked out from inside. Seeing me wearing the Magic Cube Academy uniform, Yoon Sung-ya came forward to greet me. She was about to ask where Kim Soo-ho was, but I directly told her first that Kim Soo-ho was inside. But not long after walking in, Yoon Sung-ya suddenly noticed something was wrong. She clearly hadn't spoken yet. How did I know her intention? But when she turned around, I was already gone. Yoon Sung-ya talking to me really startled me. Could this also be related to changes in the novel's plot? After resting for a while, I began to think about the reasons for the novel's changes. Although this world had an additional character named Kim Ha-jin, my role should be minimal. But soon I thought of a point I had overlooked. That was, this novel should now have 2 authors. So today's events were very likely the other author's doing. It seemed I had entered a novel world adapted by someone else. This meant that all my predictions based on my own novel were completely useless. Just as I was panicking about the unknown, the computer's bell suddenly rang. There was a new message on it. This was from the other author. That is, a comment from my former reader. He thought that each time the protagonist and his companions faced no real threat, which seemed too boring. Therefore, he had made some adaptations during this period. As for the first plan, it was to strengthen the villains first. By evening, this incident came to an end. The instructor called me and Kim Soo-ho over. He had already understood the situation pretty well, so he told us to go back to school and rest first. Kim Soo-ho asked about Chae Na-yoon's condition. The instructor said she had taken sick leave and was taken to the hospital by her family. Seeing that we were fine, the instructor also left. At this time, Kim Soo-ho suddenly called my name. He wanted to know why I had said those things to Chae Na-yoon earlier. Seeing my confusion, Kim Soo-ho said, "Didn't you mention her brother?" Now I finally understood the reason for their strange reaction then. Could there be something wrong with Chae Na-yoon's brother? Kim Soo-ho suspected I was pretending to be stupid, but his head hurt too much now, so he didn't say more. But I was very concerned about this matter. I quickly returned to the dormitory to check Chae Na-yoon's family situation. Her father was Chae Shin-hyuk. Her brother was Chae Jin-woo. Exactly the same as my settings. But why did they have that reaction? Just then, a news report caught my attention. It said that Chae Jin-woo had successfully rescued his companions in the Martian operation plan and had fallen into a coma as a result. The content of the report was unexpected to me. The Martian operation plan to suppress the demons. In the original plot, Chae Jin-woo gained noble honor through this battle, and 13-year-old Chae Na-yoon at the time felt extremely proud watching her heroic brother. Then another new message arrived, reminding me that modified settings needed to be personally noticed by me before information would be provided. Chae Jin-woo, who was Kim Soo-ho's capable assistant in the later part of this novel, no longer existed. Considering the protagonist had too many helpers, the following settings were therefore modified. The changed content was also written out. 4 years ago, Chae Jin-woo unfortunately became a devil seed after becoming a hero, but no one currently knew about his condition. At the same time, on the other side, Chae Na-yoon was sitting silently on the bed. Her mood at this moment was very low. Just then, a man pushed open the hospital room door. It turned out to be Chae Shin-hyuk. He was too worried about his daughter and hurried to S-City to visit. Chae Na-yoon told her father she was fine. Then she asked to see her brother before being discharged. Hearing this, Chae Shin-hyuk was somewhat surprised. Then he agreed to go together. However, I in the dormitory was having a terrible headache at this moment. Devils were higher level beings than demons. Devil seeds were what they left behind. When the seeds passed their incubation period and took root and sprouted, humans would become powerful devils. I had set the devil seed incubation period to 5 to 6 years, which meant Chae Jin-woo's incubation period was already half over. In such a short time, if he successfully became a devil, it would inevitably cause large-scale disaster. There was only one way to solve the current situation. That was to kill Chae Jin-woo before the devil awakened. But this difficulty was very high. His security system was top level, and no mercenary would accept a commission to assassinate a wealthy young master. Furthermore, the seed sprouting had no warning signs, so I had no evidence to report him. Once the incubation period passed, Kim Soo-ho's strength would definitely be insufficient to fight the demon. Even sending out active, powerful heroes would inevitably cause many casualties. I couldn't watch such a thing happen, because they still needed to contribute later, so the only one who could kill Chae Jin-woo was me. On the other side, Chae Na-yoon's visiting time ended. Someone told her it was time to leave. After saying goodbye to her brother, Chae Na-yoon closed the door, but she couldn't forget what happened before. That guy named Kim Ha-jin. On the other side, on the night when Kim Soo-ho and I killed the demon, after seeing the museum scene and Kim Soo-ho, Yoon Sung-ya came to the Hero Tower, which had national records of various talents information. Her guild members were very worried about being discovered. After all, this was punishable behavior, but Yoon Sung-ya didn't care. She said she was just looking at today's attack incident records. Yoon Sung-ya came because she had discovered light attribute magic power on the demon's corpse at the scene. This type of existence would definitely be the demon's formidable enemy, so she must find this person and recruit them into her guild. After quickly watching the video, video, Yoon Sung-ya confirmed that the person she was looking for was indeed one of the 3 Magic Cube Academy students who killed the demon. But she had already been paying attention to Kim Soo-ho and Chae Na-yoon. The remaining person was someone Yoon Sung-ya had never heard of before, though the name Kim Ha-jin seemed familiar. A few days later, I participated in school activities as usual. I had recently become aware of something new. That was that other people couldn't see my laptop computer, so I could brazenly confirm everyone's current settings. After realizing this, my computer gained a new function, which was to automatically detect real-time setting changes. For example, Damien, who had just been bullied by Rachel, now had his confidence greatly reduced. When settings that differed from the original novel appeared within a 30-meter radius centered on me, the computer would pop up a window prompt, greatly improving efficiency. Just as I was thinking, Chae Na-yoon approached me with a gloomy face wanting to spar. I naturally understood Chae Na-yoon's intention and immediately refused her. But Chae Na-yoon said the matter of me insulting her brother before couldn't just be left like this. But I still refused, saying that this pistol contained real bullets. If someone got hurt, they would be scolded by the instructor. My words made Chae Na-yoon even more furious. Fortunately, the instructor discovered the situation here in time. He told me I couldn't spar with other students now, and immediately told Chae Na-yoon to return to her position. I also felt very sorry about what happened before. I had originally thought about going to apologize, but after learning about the Devil Seed situation, killing Chae Jin-woo became my biggest short-term goal. For this, I had recently been desperately training to become stronger, so even if I reconciled with Chae Na-yoon, when that day came, she would only have even stronger hatred toward me. After today's training, there was a large welcoming party tonight. This event was organized by the academic club president Yoon Hyun. Their club's activity goal was to analyze monsters and research tactics, and they organized discussion activities every week. Looking at the elegant and handsome Yoon Hyun on stage, many junior girls below couldn't help but blush. But his charming appearance and gentleman-like demeanor were just devil's abilities. Magic Cube Academy, as the main stage of the novel's early period, had various incidents like student disappearances and monster invasions. Yoon Hyun was the culprit behind these incidents. The ability he possessed was charm, obtained through a contract with the demon Lilith. That meant Yoon Hyun was a demon he was greedily eyeing a target. Similarly, I joined this academic club also for that person. Yoon Hyun's target was exactly Yoo Yeonha. Today was the welcoming party, so Yoon Hyun said he would let the new students understand their discussion activities in advance. He then introduced a mid to high level monster, the Mountain Tyrant. High level monster intelligence had extremely high value. Information about its vital point traded for at least billions of dollars. Then Yoon Hyun suddenly asked where the Mountain Tyrant's weakness was, and specifically pointed to Yoo Yeonha to answer. Yoo Yeonha said that so far no one had found the Mountain Tyrant's weakness, and this was the correct answer. Yoon Hyun said discussing these questions was one of the club's pleasures. At the end, he said students who wanted to exchange views could stay for follow-up activities. Soon, the welcoming party ended. I asked her if she was going to participate in the activities, but Yoo Yeonha acted as if she couldn't see me and turned away. So I said again, "Miss Yoo Yeonha, are you also going to participate in the follow-up activities?" This time, she finally responded to me. She said participating might yield useful intelligence. I roughly guessed Yoo Yeonha's purpose. I said, "Do you want to pass the intelligence to the Essence Straight's strategy team?" Essence Straight was a guild established centered on Yoo Yeonha's family when the magical explosion occurred 50 years ago. They had already become one of the large guilds that could influence the country, but recently their guild's vice leader was gaining momentum. Unexpectedly, even the legitimate heir felt threatened. I continued to guess that Yoo Yeonha's unusual participation in activities was probably for this reason. Then I explained my intention to Yoo Yeonha. I said, "I can tell you the weakness of the high-level monster Mountain Tyrant." This surprised Yoo Yeonha greatly. She even stammered a bit. I told her the Mountain Tyrant had a blue pattern on its heel. Attacking there would make it unable to move. However, this intelligence wasn't free. After the matter succeeded, I wanted her to get me a Desert Eagle from their guild's essence weapon vault. Yoo Yeonha was curious about my basis, or whether I had supporting materials. To this, I smiled calmly and said I didn't. Instantly, Yoo Yeonha fell silent. She regretted why she had paid attention to me. This was purely a waste of time. But I shouted from behind that she must believe me. I sincerely hoped she would trust me once. That way, she would become my ally in the future. After leaving, Yoo Yeonha went to a deserted place and had the guild secretary relay a message to the Mountain Tyrant strategy team. That was to pay special attention to the blue pattern on the Mountain Tyrant's heel during this strategy. Time passed and a few more days went by. I had wanted to see if I could get some money advanced from school. But when I went to the bank, I discovered I was already heavily in debt. I owed the school 300 million yuan. This number made me break out in cold sweat. 300 million was exactly the maximum borrowing limit. I was very curious what Kim Chundong had been doing, and the 300 million had been spent down to only 3 million by him. At this rate, forget about returning to the original world. Just paying back the money would keep me here for a lifetime. Having no other choice, it seemed I needed to make money while getting stronger. There were now two legal ways to make big money. The first was investment. Towers and dungeons constantly appeared around the world. Guilds that discovered and successfully conquered them could receive company-equivalent treatment. Investing in a guild early for shares, if they successfully went public, would yield astronomical returns. Although I clearly knew which guilds would go public later, I didn't have capital to invest. This method had to wait. So my choice was only the second route, going to hunting grounds to hunt monsters and sell materials for money. Unlike towers and dungeons, hunting grounds were discovered dangerous areas. Money could be made quickly by selling monster corpses. But my current ability values had only just broken through adult male levels. Although I could use SP for enhancement, I was currently using a training pistol, which couldn't handle those thick-skinned monsters. Just as I was thinking hard, the dormitory doorbell was suddenly pressed. The delivery person outside said Yu Yonha had sent me a package. This surprised me somewhat. Why would she send me something? I curiously went out. Outside the door was a briefcase. Slowly opening it, the contents inside greatly surprised me. And it was because of what Yu Yonha sent that I came to G Province's hunting ground area the next day. I hadn't expected that after saying I was a Magic Cube Academy student, the hunting ground teleportation point staff would be so polite. After coming out of the teleportation port, I officially arrived at G Province's hunting ground. The hunting ground danger levels here were generally low, so it was popular year-round, with foreigners from around the world coming to hunt. Walking down, the streets were full of people seeking teammates, or people who had completed hunts and were trading. Looking at the screen ahead, I remembered I needed to find an agent to maximize profits when selling monster materials. So I thought, why not just find one nearby randomly? Just then, a man proactively approached. After hearing that I was indeed looking for an agent, the man hurriedly handed over his business card. I was attracted by his name with just one glance. Park Soo-hyuk of SH Agency Company. He would not only become H country's most excellent agent in the future, but in the original work, he was exactly Kim Soo-ho's agent. Park Soo-hyuk honestly said their company had just opened not long ago, but I wanted to sign a contract with him the next second. This world was still in the novel's early period. Establishing good relationships with future celebrities was also a good investment. Having found an agent, I went to hunt. I hadn't expected Park Soo-hyuk to come along, since agents without cars usually waited outside the hunting ground. On the road, he determined it was the monster goblin just from a footprint. He also listed the opponent's situation and selling price, but goblins didn't have high market value. Then I pointed to the steel boar below and asked Park Soo-hyuk about its price, but he was scared by this suddenly appearing monster. Then he also told me I probably couldn't handle it, since ordinary firearms couldn't even penetrate its outer skin. But I happily prepared to try. I had previously provided Yu Yonha with the mountain tyrant's weakness. She had actually followed my intelligence. Yesterday, I also received the new weapon she sent, the Desert Eagle, and I had used SP points to add a certain setting. The next second, I unhesitatingly shot at the steel boar. This strike easily penetrated the monster. Looking at the steel boar fallen on the ground, Park Soo-hyuk's eyes were filled with disbelief. The setting I wrote was that when using the Desert Eagle to kill enemies with one shot, the destructive power amplification function would double. I hadn't expected the new weapon's performance to be so high. This also made me very satisfied. The next second, I turned and continued shooting. Park Soo-hyuk still didn't understand why I was doing this. As a result, looking in the direction I shot, the black bird monster on the distant cliff had already been shot down. He wanted to know if I could see clearly from such a distance. To this, I confidently told Park Soo-hyuk that seeing for thousands of miles was now very easy for me. Having killed 2 monsters, today came to an end. After great effort, I finally collected both monsters together. I wanted to know how to transport them outside the hunting ground. Park Soo-hyuk didn't disappoint me. He had already thought through the remaining matters. He would pay for an emergency team to come transport them later. I also confidently left the matter to Park Soo-hyuk and decided to only cooperate with him in the future. I had told Park Soo-hyuk this was my first hunt. He was curious what I planned to do after receiving payment, but I very seriously said I was going to invest. Hearing this, Park Soo-hyuk was dumbfounded. He found I didn't seem like a teenager. By evening, I returned to the dormitory. The first thing I did when I got back was buy stock in a guild called Demon Subduing Lord with my remaining money. According to my original settings, this guild's founder was a demon and occupied a significant role in the novel. After some time, Demon Subduing Lord would conquer X City's demon cave. Then they could successfully go public with greatly increased value. Continuing to search, I found no other guilds worth investing in. Probably because there was no public information, it seemed I needed to search in the dark web's purple smoke obscurity. Thinking of the dark web I had set up, I couldn't help but remember a major late-stage villain team, that mysterious organization called the False Color Group. Each member's identity was a mystery. Only I, as the author, knew their intelligence. Although False Color Group were villains, they strongly rejected demons. If there was a chance to make contact, maybe I could get them to help eliminate Che Jinwoo. According to the original story progress, False Color Group still had one vacant position. They should also start taking action soon. Just as I wanted to continue checking settings, the computer screen suddenly went black. This made me very anxious. In my heart, the computer was now more important than anything. It concerned whether I could return. Fortunately, after some waiting, the computer finally lit up again. Some messages appeared. It had now been a month. The laptop's functions were updating. At the same time, on the other side, Yu Yonha and Shin Jong-hak seemed to be waiting for someone. They originally had a group called Noble Society, which was planning to gather now. Seeing Shin Jong-hak was annoyed by gatherings, Yu Yonha told him to endure a bit more. Soon, the restaurant door was finally pushed open. The person who came was Che Na-yoon, who was hostile to me. The moment he saw her, Shin Jong-hak instantly beamed with joy, without any impatience. But compared to his enthusiasm and concern about her hospitalization, Che Na-yoon felt he was making too big a deal of it. Hearing the two continue chatting, Yu Yonha beside them looked very gloomy. Soon they began today's discussion. During this, Che Na-yoon suddenly brought me up. Yu Yonha was surprised why Che Na-yoon wanted to understand this person. Then Che Na-yoon recounted what happened at the museum that day. I had destroyed the demon's arm with just a training pistol. She found it very suspicious, completely different from my performance at school. At this time, Che Na-yoon remembered that Yu Yonha was exactly in my group, so she asked if she knew about my situation. Yu Yonha had investigated me, but only knew I was an orphan and 300 300 million in debt. Hearing what Chae Na-yoon said, she understood I had hidden my strength. But Yoo Yeon-ha still said on the surface that there was nothing worth paying attention to. But Chae Na-yoon suddenly said, "Could Kim Ha-jin be a demon?" This made the others silent, then Yoo Yeon-ha denied her guess. And Shin Jong-hak asked if Chae Na-yoon disliked Kim Ha-jin. After being silent for a while, Chae Na-yoon thought of what I had said. Then she said that could indeed be said to be the case. During their discussion, my computer was also about to finish updating. The next second, the light emitted by the computer made me unable to open my eyes. After the light faded, I suddenly felt intense pain. At this moment, my left sleeve was already stained red with blood. At this time, a message appeared on the computer, prompting that I had obtained a stigmata. This was one of the powers of being a creator. Along with this, countless pieces of intelligence flooded into my mind. The temporary brain overuse, plus the intense pain in my arm, made me unable to support myself, and I collapsed to the ground. My computer had new messages again, showing this update situation. It added a low-level talent for me, Book of Truth, and strengthened the original observation and reading abilities. The next day, when attending S-City's commendation ceremony, my hand was still aching faintly. After fainting yesterday, I woke up and it was already morning. Receiving the notice, I came here, although I had obtained the stigmata, but currently I wasn't clear about its specific effects. What I hadn't expected was that I was clearly thinking in my heart, but Chae Na-yoon suddenly said I was bothering her. This kind of troublemaking behavior instantly made me very speechless. Then I calmly told Chae Na-yoon, "You couldn't have forgotten that I saved your life a few days ago, right?" Hearing this, she became even angrier, saying that was two different matters. But we two were indeed making Kim Soo-ho feel noisy, so he pulled Chae Na-yoon to switch positions. After sitting next to me, Kim Soo-ho thanked me. He understood that without me that day, they definitely couldn't have beaten the demon. So Kim Soo-ho was very grateful to me. To this, I said that even without me, they would definitely have won. Maybe he would have awakened even stronger power. Because Kim Soo-ho was the most perfect character in my novel, facing those hardships and dangers, his strength would always improve. After waiting for a while, the commendation ceremony officially began. The person who came to present awards was the 37th ranked hero, Yoo Si-yuk. He was an upper-level hero. Many people called him the Wolf of Valhalla. Hearing the host call the winners to come on stage, all three of us walked up. Yoo Si-yuk presented the award to Kim Soo-ho first. Just looking at him once, he understood why those in the industry were all want to win over Kim Soo-ho. But when presenting the certificate, Yoo Si-yuk whispered in Kim Soo-ho's ear. He advised that it would be better not to join associations. Being a free hunter would be more satisfying. But Kim Soo-ho wasn't someone who would be easily swayed. He hoped to become a true hero. Hearing this, Yoo Si-yuk sighed helplessly and said no more. When it was Chae Na-yoon's turn, he only then noticed her. Chae Na-yoon awkwardly called him master, but Yoo Si-yuk said an archer wasn't his disciple. Although Chae Na-yoon's father had asked him to take care of her, Yoo Si-yuk had no interest in Chae Na-yoon, who had become an archer. When it was my turn, Yoo Si-yuk was somewhat surprised, because he had never even heard my name. Although being ignored by people made me uncomfortable, fortunately this demon elimination gave over 10 million in prize money. This money could be used to purchase shares in Demon Subduing Lord. But now I should first confirm the functions the laptop updated. First was the stigmata. This was probably the wound that appeared on my wrist yesterday, and might have been newly added by the other author. But the explanation of the stigmata was somewhat ambiguous. Magic power could be manipulated at will by my intention. As I thought little by little, the stigmata on my wrist suddenly appeared, but accompanied by pain. It wasn't convenient to confirm in the restaurant, so I decided to go back and check. The next update content was that the laptop had been network activated. I clicked to look. There were currently several accessible sites. It seemed this was the focus of this update. Among them, Purple Smoke Obscurity was very important. It was the most prestigious non-public website. It could provide intelligence, weapons, bounties, commission transactions, and other services. Almost every hero used Purple Smoke Obscurity during their growth period. Joining this website required high fees, but I only needed to use 200 SP points to create an account. As I tried to log in, Yoon Sung-ya somehow walked in front of me. She said after the commendation ceremony ended, she noticed I had disappeared. She came looking for me to give me her business card. Being able to receive Yoon Sung-ya's business card had great significance. This represented that Yoon Sung-ya was officially starting to recruit me to her guild. After she sat down, she said she wanted to ask me a question. Although Yoon Sung-ya projected a neighborly sister image externally, I was very clear that she was a strong woman who believed in survival of the fittest. Even talents she was enthusiastically recruiting now, if they didn't meet her expectations later, Yoon Sung-ya would definitely abandon them casually. Establishing a relationship with her would be very beneficial for future development, however, not now. Yoon Sung-ya asked how I had repelled the demon, but I refused to answer. I couldn't possibly tell her this. Being refused, Yoon Sung-ya again introduced her identity, then said she was very interested in me. Hearing this, I seemed somewhat indifferent, then thanked her for her attention. Yoon Sung-ya most likely found me because she saw me using light attributes, but she was currently just at the stage of being interested in me, so I needed to play a game of playing hard to get to increase her attention toward me. Thinking of this, I got up to say goodbye, and Yoon Sung-ya could only watch me leave. After returning to the dormitory, I began to carefully examine the stigmata's specific function. The magic power contained within could change according to my will, so I imagined manifesting the stigmata's magic power in the form of a short sword. Sure enough, the next second, the stigmata on my wrist began to glow. Then a small short sword appeared in my hand. Looking at it this way, the magic power in the stigmata could have many flexible uses. I had originally thought that suddenly entering this world, I would have no connection to magic power, but unexpectedly, I could now use magic power in this form. The next thing to examine was the newly appeared Book of Truth. Using the power of the stigmata, I manifested the Book of Truth with magical energy. At that moment, a mechanical voice notification sounded, indicating that this book contained the truth. Within the limits of magic power, it could answer any question. So I asked what my height was, and sure enough, the answer given was extremely accurate. It also consumed me some SP points, probably because I had no magic power, so points were used as a substitute. Just then, my electronic watch suddenly sent a notification. This was an emergency message from Magic Cube Academy. A student from the Qiankun class, Jin Hajong, had gone missing. I understood that the second main storyline, the Magic Cube Academy serial disappearance incident, had begun. Within a month of the incident, a total of 6 students would disappear, and the perpetrator left no clues behind. This storyline was very important because the perpetrator's final target was Yu Yonha. If an accident happened again like last time, I might as well catch the perpetrator first, but rashly interfering with the plot's development might cause unexpected events, so I decided to observe for a while first. In the following days, I trained as usual, but something different happened during this period. Someone would always come to mock and curse at me. Today, just as Kim Suho was about to rest, someone told him to look ahead. At that moment, he saw a nearby student cursing at me. Useless, can't even lift such a light barbell. Seeing this, Kim Suho became very angry. The man beside him told him to calm down, saying there was no need to stand out. This man was Yin Han, the class leader of the Truth class. Kim Suho was puzzled, so Yin Han explained that these people all belong to Shin Jonghak, and Kim Hajin must have offended him. Moreover, Yin Han believed I was currently acting. After all, Kim Suho had mentioned that I had crippled a demon's arm. With such a fierce battle record, it was impossible for me to be bullied by Shin Jonghak's people. As a result, under everyone's gaze, I really couldn't lift the barbell. Seeing that I couldn't stand up, Kim Suho angrily walked forward and immediately got into an argument with the few people who were mocking me. The commotion in the training ground finally attracted the instructor. After calling everyone to stop, the instructor gathered everyone together. A few days ago, we had a small test competition on phenomenal realm analysis, and the results had been compiled. Soon the test scores were posted on the wall, and many people went to check if they had failed. Looking at the ranking of the small test, I was indeed first. After all, I was the novel's author, plus I had the powers of observation and reading. But at this moment, the sound of a long sword falling to the ground came from behind. Rachel was incredulous at this ranking, and I also remembered the setting I had written for her. Rachel Elizabeth Lewis was a princess of Country B. Among the new students at Magic Cube Academy, she ranked 3rd in strength, only behind Kim Suho and Shin Jonghak. Since enrollment, she had never lost her first place position in written exams. Now I finally understood that my cheat-like existence had broken the original setting. After the world changed, many forces grew wildly, and Magic Cube Academy was among the world's top tier. It gathered excellent students from all over the world, and even Princess Rachel was no exception. When she came, she was determined not to disgrace the honor of being royalty. But today was the first time Rachel had suffered a blow. During class, the teacher gave my exam very high praise. Rachel also understood that she probably couldn't match me in this subject. Phenomenal analysis was an obscure and difficult subject. Now Rachel was increasingly curious about what I studied in my daily life. In reality, I had never seriously listened during any class. After today's class ended, I went back as usual. I was ready to make good use of the Book of Truth, so I created an intelligence agency in purple smoke obscurity. As long as I found an opportunity to build up my reputation, with the Book of Truth's cooperation, it would definitely attract clients. After completing the agency registration application, next I should properly spend the SP points I had accumulated recently. With the second main storyline beginning, Magic Cube Academy was no longer a safe haven. With my current abilities, I wasn't sufficient to fight demons alone. Thanks to Shin Jonghak and his group constantly bullying me, everyone's attention to me increased, and my SP points were directly maxed out. Having saved SP points for so long, it was time to use them to strengthen the things on me. First, I had to rewrite the weapon settings, adding a transformation function to the Desert Eagle, allowing it to transform into a sniper rifle. Although this was indeed ridiculous, there was no choice but to increase my power. This modification was also very expensive, costing a full 2,505 SP points. After writing and saving the settings, soon my Desert Eagle transformed into a sniper rifle. I thought if I took it out, everyone would be startled. Then I had it change back to pistol form first. Next, I needed to set up my skills. If talents were supernatural phenomena based on magic power, then skills were formed through acquired training. As a shooter, survival and assassination were the most crucial. I thought of a suitable skill, wrote some content, and used points to generate it. Soon, the computer gave me a skill called Parkour, which consumed over 3,000 SP points. Fortunately, Parkour's effects were exactly what I needed. It could increase my agility and flexibility. Before I could test it, my watch rang. This time, Sheng Yan from the Qiankun class had disappeared. This was the second victim. In the novel, until Yu Yonha was kidnapped, all the missing students were harmed by the murderer. However, even though I clearly knew who the murderer was, I still watched students disappear one by one. Even though these were events from the novel, I was now very confused about whether I should act in advance. The next day, many students came to Magic Cube Academy's internal wilderness training ground. The instructor said today's combat training would be different from usual. The cave behind him was an artificial dungeon created by Magic Cube Academy. It housed puppets of real monsters from Magic Cube Academy. Today was a simulated dungeon conquest combat exercise. The instructor told us all not to take it lightly. Even though they were puppets, they still had life-threatening capabilities. And because the dungeon was too large, today was joint training between the Truth class and the Cultivation class. Each squad would temporarily combine with a squad from the neighboring class. Last night's enhancements now had a place to be used. Magic Cube Academy's artificial dungeon was filled with many traps, some of which were even set by lurking demons. Just in case, I prepared several bullets with attributes in advance. At this moment, a computer pop-up suddenly appeared, and then 3 setting changes were transmitted. So I began searching around for the person causing the changes. It turned out that Zhao Yuner, who was teamed with Kim Suho, had become more withdrawn, and Jaden from the cultivation class had increased growth potential. The other was Sven, who was grouped with Che Na-yoon. Sven's change was that his nervous breakdown had become more severe. The window also indicated that his probability of being corrupted by demon claws during the dungeon conquest would greatly increase. These changes left me completely bewildered because the changes seemed quite significant. Among these 3 people, I only needed to focus on 2. First was my teammate Jaden, whose personality was bullying the weak and fearing the strong, with an arrogant attitude. But the window indicated his growth potential had increased, and I didn't understand what this meant. When the teams temporarily merged, both captains introduced their team members. Jaden currently seemed normal. Most importantly was Sven from Team 3. He was a foreign student who enrolled at Magic Cube Academy, and Sven liked Che Na-yoon. Like many students, Sven also wanted to become Magic Cube Academy's top talent, but things went against his wishes. Facing the excellent prodigies at Magic Cube Academy, he was just an ordinary student. Repeated failures made him experience inferiority and frustration. Finally, to gain power, Sven sold his soul to a demon in exchange for strength. However, this was content for later. Yet the Windows prompt just now was undoubtedly telling me that, during this dungeon conquest, Sven might awaken as a demon ahead of schedule. Seeing me lost in thought alone, Jaden suddenly pressed my shoulder and reminded me that I couldn't be so relaxed and careless in the dungeon. I decisively shook off his arm. He said, "Your temper is really bad. No wonder so many rumors are spreading about you." Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel angry. Recently, my reputation at Magic Cube Academy had been very poor. The rumors mainly came from the Chiang-kun class, saying I used my status as a Magic Cube Academy student to intimidate and threaten others outside. And there were also some rumors about me going to the city every weekend to indulge in pleasures. These were all done by Shin Jonghak and his group, but I also gained many SP points because of this. The people in the team treating me like I was invisible was probably for this reason. During the wait for the team ahead to enter, everyone in the team chatted happily, except for me, of course. Soon it was Team 8's turn to enter the dungeon. Inside, it was exactly as the instructor had said. The area was very large. After walking for a few minutes, everyone stopped, because ahead were many branching paths. Then Yu Yonha and Jaden discussed on the spot. Jaden wanted their team's archer with strong perception to choose, but I had already spoken up suggesting we choose entrance number 6. This also drew Jaden's dissatisfaction, but Yu Yonha was beyond my expectations. She immediately decided to listen to me and take entrance number 6. At the same time, she told Jaden, although he's not much good as a person, his eyes are quite sharp. I didn't mind this, and thanks to her, I could enter the path where I could encounter Che Na-yoon's team. If Sven really was going to make a contract with a demon here today, Che Na-yoon alone couldn't withstand it. If something happened to her, all the subsequent plot would be thrown into chaos. Finally, Jaden also agreed to go to entrance number 6. Along the way, he quietly mocked me for showing off. I calmly told him, "You should consider how to deal with the monster ahead." At these words, everyone was puzzled, because the front was pitch black and nothing could be seen clearly. At this moment, another archer from the same team stepped forward, and immediately fired a light arrow inside. After the light enveloped the cave interior, there was indeed a medium low-level monster not far away, a salamander. For a moment, the students hurriedly formed a battle formation. Jaden asked if anyone could use water attribute attacks, because salamanders were fire attribute. Hearing his words, I didn't respond. The stigmata's magic power was limited. I had to use it at the most crucial moment. Seeing that no one in the team had water attribute magic power, Yu Yonha suggested a frontal breakthrough. The salamander wanted to breathe fire, but the next second, Yu Yonha's swift whip bound its mouth. The students all followed up with their attacks. With everyone's cooperation, the monster was killed in just a few dozen seconds. Yu Yonha's strength was improving rapidly. The lightning emanating from her whip indicated she had broken through to a new level. Just as I was marveling at her strength, Yu Yonha told everyone to continue forward, but she inadvertently triggered a trap. Fortunately, I reacted quickly and pushed Yu Yonha away, successfully helping her avoid harm. Not understanding the situation, Yu Yonha coldly told me to let go. Sensing her killing intent, I quickly backed away. Just as Yu Yonha was about to teach me a lesson, other team members discovered an arrow piercing through the wall. This was the reason I had pushed Yu Yonha away, and when I fell, I clearly saw a new prompt. It was an arrow coated with neurotoxin. Compared to Yu Yonha's luck, Sven from Team 3 was very unlucky, because he was accidentally hit by the poisoned arrow. Che Na-yoon, who was carrying Sven, was very confused. During the recent battle, an arrow had suddenly flown at them. This couldn't be part of the training. Moreover, Che Na-yoon discovered that although this was said to be artificial dungeon training, the monsters in this dungeon were all abnormally powerful. Meanwhile, my team continued fighting monsters. After the salamander, there were many more fire-breathing lizards. However, with everyone's combined efforts, the low-level monsters basically posed no threat to us. Soon we had cleared most of the monsters in this area. Just as everyone was ready to charge through in one go, scorching heat suddenly rose from behind us. In an instant, the deadly threat made me suddenly alert. When I looked back, the salamander from before had actually revived again, and the flames stored in its mouth were about to burn everything. Before the others could react, the salamander's attack was already launched. Yu Yonha and the others had no time to defend themselves, but I, who had sensed it in advance, immediately took action. I used all my willpower to activate the stigmata, then converted it into a water barrier, successfully blocking the salamander's final strike. The monster, already near death, didn't have much magic power left to drive the flames. As the flames completely disappeared, this time the salamander truly died. Such powerful force left Ye Yue and the others in panic for a moment. People in the team speculated that the salamander was definitely not a puppet arranged by the academy. I thought the matter was over, but it drew Jaden's anger. He shouted, "When I asked who could use water attributes, why didn't you stand up?" I explained to Jaden that it was an equipment effect, but he didn't believe it either. Fortunately, Yu Yonha stepped in to stop our argument. At this time, someone asked why there were real monsters. Yu Yonha speculated that this was the ideal dungeon environment, and it wasn't impossible for real monsters to evolve. But regarding my claim that it was an equipment effect, she became suspicious. After all, I couldn't even afford a desert eagle, so how could I possibly afford magical equipment? But besides Kim Suho and Shin Jonghak, there was no one among the new students who could imbue equipment with magical attributes. Yet I not only understood the mountain tyrant's weaknesses, but also possessed the ability to imbue magical attributes, while deliberately hiding my strength. Yu Yonha couldn't help but think of what Chae Na-yoon had said before. Could Kim Hajin really be a demon? After a while, Chae Na-yoon and her team had found a place to rest, but the lower-level 5th grade monster, the lava golem, was giving them quite a headache. The opponent was very likely the boss of this dungeon, and everyone felt the difficulty was very high. To defeat this kind of monster, with Sven also needing urgent treatment, it seemed impossible to accomplish. Although everyone hadn't abandoned him, Sven felt very sorry in his heart, believing he was dragging everyone down. Since coming to Magic Cube Academy, Sven had never had things go smoothly even once. His heart was in great pain. Just then, a long, seductive voice rang in Sven's mind. That voice said, "As long as you trade with me, you can gain incomparable power." And this was exactly what Sven craved most right now. He didn't want to continue being so useless, didn't want to appear so cowardly in front of Chae Na-yoon, so Sven uncontrollably accepted the contract with the demon. The next second, he suddenly cried out in pain. The people in the squad were very anxious, not understanding what was happening to Sven. Seeing that they couldn't control the crazed Sven, Chae Na-yoon told the other team members to come quickly, but they were scared silly by the monster. The lava golem, which had been searching for prey for so long, finally found its target, and everyone scattered and fled. The lava golem's attacks burst out all at once, but fortunately, Chae Na-yoon and her team reacted quickly enough to successfully escape disaster. However, due to the monster's large attack range, 2 students were still accidentally knocked unconscious. Everyone had basically scattered. Since Chae Na-yoon was carrying Sven, the 2 of them ended up on one side. After falling to the ground, Chae Na-yoon couldn't stop coughing. When she recovered and looked back, she discovered that the lava golem had actually found her. The monster before her was completely different from the puppets the instructor had mentioned. Chae Na-yoon understood it was a real monster. She had never imagined she would die in a training exercise. Just as the boss monster's high-temperature lava was about to erupt, a bullet carrying a chill was suddenly fired. This shot hit the lava golem's neck precisely. With ice element penetrating its body, the monster was temporarily frozen. Chae Na-yoon was momentarily stunned, and behind the lava golem, the person who fired the shot was me, arriving just in time. Just a few minutes earlier, when our team continued forward, we found the path blocked by a high stone wall. Jaden asked angrily, "Didn't you say the boss monster was at the end of this path?" I was also puzzled because when I used Eagle Eye earlier, there clearly wasn't this wall, but I still said with certainty that the boss was behind it, then told Jaden to try breaking the stone wall, although he was unhappy. For a good grade and to get out quickly, Jaden struck the wall with full force. The result was a powerful recoil that numbed his hands. It was clearly an attack imbued with magic power, but it didn't work either. It seemed this wall was very thick. At the crucial moment, Yiyue suddenly called everyone over. It turned out there was a crack at the very top of the wall, so I said we should squeeze through that crack, but the wall was over 10 meters high. I went first to try. After all, the situation on the other side might not be good. As I activated the skill parkour, the rugged wall was like flat ground to me. In no time, I had climbed to the crack. After I squeezed through, the surrounding space suddenly shook violently. This made Jaden even more curious about what was happening on the other side of the wall. Time back to the present, the ice on the monster was slowly evaporating. This had only been a few seconds, but it could already gradually move again, so I urgently shouted to Chae Na-yoon, telling her not to sit there stupidly, because the monster's target had shifted to me. Fortunately, at this moment, 2 attacks interrupted the lava golem's actions. The ones coming to support were Team 3 members who had gotten separated earlier. Seeing her teammates arrive, Chae Na-yoon finally rallied again. She quickly picked up her bow and stood up, then began drawing and charging her bow. At the same time, she told her teammates to buy her some time. Hearing this, the other students fought very hard. What no one expected was that Sven, who had clearly been poisoned, appeared again, and even successfully injured the boss-level lava golem. With several teammates helping each other, the monster couldn't interrupt Chae Na-yoon's charging. Finally, her ultimate skill was fully charged. Chae Na-yoon was no longer as weak as she once was. Her arrow carried terrifying energy. The next moment, the lava golem's head was completely shattered. After the continuous attacks plus this fatal blow, the lava golem finally died. The students couldn't believe they had actually conquered a real boss-level monster. After the battle ended, Chae Na-yoon waved and asked if anyone was injured. Sven praised her for being able to defeat such a strong monster, but his condition surprised me greatly. Sven hadn't become a demon. However, I understood he had already made a contract with a demon and would be exposed sooner or later. Seeing me sitting alone to one side, Chae Na-yoon slowly walked over to me. She appeared very shy and said, "Regardless of what happened before, thank you for saving me." The current Chae Na-yoon surprised me somewhat. For a moment, I didn't even react. Seeing my shocked expression, Chae Na-yoon instantly became very embarrassed. I hadn't expected her to apologize to me. On Chae Na-yoon's 6th birthday, she watched her mother die at the hands of a demon. It was then that she decided to become a hero. So Chae Na-yoon had been training desperately since childhood. Her childhood experiences made it impossible for Chae Na-yoon to make very close friends. She was unwilling to reveal her vulnerable side to others and always appeared strong. Therefore, very few people could hear Chae Na-yoon personally say thank you. She had almost no real friends. Compared to thank you, Chae Na-yoon said sorry much more often. This was the setting I had written for her. Chae Na-yoon said, "I want want to know why you're clearly so strong, yet you let Shin Jong-hak and his group bully you. I said I really couldn't beat them. Chae Na-yoon was puzzled because the gun's power just now was very impressive. Then I took out the Desert Eagle and said, this is a self-made weapon, incomparable to the school's training guns. Seeing me use this kind of weapon, she hurriedly checked around to see if anyone was there, because being discovered by the school would result in suspension. I wasn't afraid because I had learned how to hide weapons in the stigmata. Even if discovered, no one could find the weapon. Although I used a special weapon, Chae Na-yoon still felt I was very strong. Then she speculated that I had a talent for enhancing firearms. Seeing that I didn't answer, Chae Na-yoon left, also saying she wouldn't tell anyone I used self-made weapons. But halfway through walking, she suddenly stopped, and then said, don't you have anything else to say to me? I certainly understood what Chae Na-yoon meant, but I still directly said no, because if I apologized to her now, she would definitely forgive me for insulting her brother. But I couldn't do that. It was better to continue being someone she disliked. When that day came, Chae Na-yoon would probably feel a bit better. After all, having a friend kill her brother would make her completely collapse. Seeing Chae Na-yoon return, others were curious whether she and Kim Ha-jin knew each other well. This also made Sven's mood somewhat unpleasant. After resting for not long, there was a broadcast notification telling students to stop the conquest and quickly evacuate the dungeon. After this training began, several cameras in the dungeon malfunctioned, and real monsters appeared inside. Fortunately, there were no casualties in the end, so Magic Cube Academy didn't conduct a full investigation. In other words, the demon holding an important position at Magic Cube Academy successfully covered up this incident. In the original plot, a full investigation into this matter wouldn't begin until after the second storyline ended. Now I needed to focus on Sven's situation. The side effect of contracting with a demon was amplifying obsessions. If Sven continued to be alone with Chae Na-yoon, he might go berserk due to emotional excitement. To prevent this, I decided to use the computer to track Sven and Chae Na-yoon's movements. Then I began checking Chae Na-yoon's chats. Everything was normal, but soon I discovered that Chae Na-yoon and Sven's shared hunting club would be going to G Province this week. In the original novel, it was during this activity that Sven made his contract and went berserk, but now the contract had been made early, so I decided to follow them this week. Just after making this decision, my watch received a contact from someone else. To my surprise, the person calling me was actually Kim Soo-ho. He asked if I had time on Friday, wanting to trouble me with something. Before handling these two matters, I wanted to obtain 2 top-tier items from the novel. The next day I set off. Destination: Gelly Mountain in G Province, known as a sacred training ground for martial artists. Besides martial artists, there were also people who came treasure hunting and hunting, because there were many rare items in Gelly Mountain, with ginseng being the most famous. The adventurer in front of me explaining Gelly Mountain's situation was also one of them. Even though I told him my purpose wasn't to find ginseng, he still looked like he didn't believe me. After I walked in, I accidentally tripped over a tree root, but when I looked back, I actually discovered a ginseng root hidden under the tree root. Although this was somewhat ridiculous considering my luck value, it seemed reasonable enough. While climbing Gelly Mountain, I ate the ginseng's rootlets. According to the settings I had modified, eating the roots could increase all improvable ability values by 2 points for 30 minutes. However, eating part of the ginseng in advance was still somewhat wasteful, since selling the whole root could quickly pay off my debts. But I currently had more important matters and needed to improve my strength. After crossing the steep cliff, I arrived at Gelly Mountain's hidden dungeon, the Undead Dungeon. The boss monster here was a Death Knight of upper middle first grade. I estimated I couldn't withstand one of its strikes. However, I wasn't afraid of this, because my target today wasn't the boss monster, but the dungeon's hidden stage, so I only needed to deal with some low-level undead. With the bullet time effect, many undead posed no great threat to me. After shooting down a bunch of low-level undead, I used Eagle Eye, then confirm a route to quickly reach my destination. Next came the merciless slaughter time. Soon the cave was almost filled with undead remains, which meant I was getting closer to Evangeline's hidden place. The witch Evangeline was the boss monster of Gelly Mountain Dungeon's hidden stage. In later plot developments, she would establish her own undead fortress in X City. However, during this time period, Evangeline hadn't yet transformed into human form. I was looking for her today because defeating her would yield 2 items. One was the growth-type equipment Aether, and the other was Evangeline's seed. In my original novel, these 2 items helped the demon Tomer become an executive of the Paradox. Since my current growth rate was very fast, growth-type equipment like Aether was very suitable for me. Then I came to the front of the hidden stage. Through Eagle Eye's effect, I discovered a giant, withered tree ahead, and the witch Evangeline was sitting alone under the tree. She was still in her juvenile period and posed no threat whatsoever, just in a spirit state. But Evangeline's appearance was truly harmless. However, I knew well that even if I didn't act, when the demons came, the outcome would be the same. In spirit state, the witch was very difficult to kill with firearms, so I used the stigmata to condense a light attribute spear. With the ginseng's enhancement, I felt I had also become a master like Yu Yonha and the others. As the spear struck the juvenile witch, I found she didn't immediately dissipate. After a few minutes, the witch slowly faded away, finally completely turning into light before me. However, this didn't mean the witch's life was completely over. The seed left behind was the key item that could give birth to the witch Evangeline. Next to the seed was also the growth-type fluid equipment Aether, which could enhance the power of people or objects themselves. After obtaining the items, I returned the same way. After successfully equipping Aether, all my improvable ability values increased by 0.6%, and this equipment could never change ownership. This ownership effect made me very satisfied. Only now did I finally reach the basic level of Magic Cube Academy students. Next, I needed to put the remaining ginseng in purple smoke obscurity, since I was still very short of money. Today's trip was very fruitful, with the greatest gain being this Evangeline seed. I believed that as long as I cultivated her well, she would definitely become my helper. The method to make the seed sprout was also simple. Use a small amount of fresh blood blood instead of water for nourishment. However, the witch's nature was determined by the person whose blood nourished her, so I had to consider carefully. I decided to find someone from the protagonist group, as their nature was definitely fine. But getting blood from Kim Soo-ho and the others was too difficult, so the sprouting matter had to be put aside for now. After a tiring day, I prepared to sleep, since tomorrow would likely be a tough battle. The next day, members of the hunting club gathered at Bibo Mountain Spring in Ji Province. This club's activity was to organize a monthly hunt, targeting harmful birds and beasts. I was also somewhat uncertain about today's plot, mainly due to Sven's changes. The original plot was Chae Na-yoon getting injured and Sven dying on the spot. The purpose of this plot was to make Kim Soo-ho pay more attention to Chae Na-yoon. When many people thought the demon's target was her, that would be when Yoo Yeon-ha was kidnapped by the demon. However, Sven showed no signs of going berserk even now, and could even control a bit of demonic power. I could confirm that my current strength couldn't beat him. If Sven could die like in the original story, I wouldn't have to worry. While I was watching Sven, Chae Na-yoon also noticed I was secretly observing them. Previously acting completely indifferent, now appearing in front of her constantly, Chae Na-yoon suspected I might have feelings for her. Seeing this, Sven suddenly reminded to be careful, as there had been frequent disappearances recently. But when Chae Na-yoon said, "I shouldn't be that type of person," upon hearing this, Sven's eyes instantly changed. Before long, the hunting expedition began, and Sven and Chae Na-yoon made a bet. Whoever caught more prey could make a wish to the other. When they separated for hunting, Sven finally stopped hiding. He used the demonic power to quickly devour creatures. Soon after, Chae Na-yoon's voice came over. She carried today's spoils, originally thinking she had won. Behind Sven, Chae Na-yoon's eyes widened in shock. Having no choice, she had to honor the bet, and asked Sven what his wish was. Unexpectedly, he suddenly confessed his feelings to Chae Na-yoon. Sven showed no hesitation. His wish was to be able to date Chae Na-yoon. Hiding in the shadows, I wasn't surprised at all, as the demon contracted with Sven was the devil of lust. After becoming a demon, his desires had already increased dramatically, and it was quite impressive that he had endured until now. Regarding Sven's confession, Chae Na-yoon rejected him decisively. She said, "We've only known each other for less than a week, so there's no way I could accept your confession." Sven was very disappointed, while I stared at him intently. At this moment, Chae Na-yoon continued, "I like people who are stronger than me, so I can't accept your feelings." Seeing Chae Na-yoon turn to leave, combined with what she had just said, Sven finally couldn't control himself anymore. He then suddenly attacked the defenseless Chae Na-yoon. After the frenzied attack, Sven thought he had succeeded, but unexpectedly I arrived just in time and blocked most of the damage with an ether shield. I wanted to check on Chae Na-yoon's condition, but Sven was too fast for me to react. Seeing me being taken away, Chae Na-yoon was about to rescue me, but her bow had already broken. In this crisis, Chae Na-yoon actually used her hand as a sword, rapidly concentrating magic power in her palm. Sven ahead had completely demonized. Chae Na-yoon finally stopped hesitating, because my situation was very bad. As she struck, powerful magic power instantly covered the entire area. In my novel, there would occasionally appear a few characters with great potential, but they all couldn't fully display their strength because they didn't choose suitable weapons. Chae Na-yoon was exactly one of them, because Chae Na-yoon's talent was never meant for archery. If she used a sword, she would be in existence no less than Kim Soo-ho. In her anger, Chae Na-yoon unleashed this terrifying sword strike. With this attack, the demonized Sven was blasted into nothing but remnants. Chae Na-yoon was also frightened by her own power. I was curious about what technique she had just used, but Chae Na-yoon said she didn't know either. At this moment, she also asked how I was doing. Hearing me say I was fine, Chae Na-yoon finally showed a smile. The next second, she felt dizzy. Then she collapsed right in front of me. By the time evening came, Chae Na-yoon slowly awakened, originally still somewhat dazed. However, discovering she was sleeping on my back, she was immediately startled. I had chosen to carry her down the mountain because she didn't wake up, but now that she was awake, she insisted I put her down. But the moment her feet touched the ground, the next second, Chae Na-yoon felt completely powerless and collapsed on the ground again. She was very panicked for a moment, as her legs wouldn't obey her at all. Regarding this, I said puzzledly, "Haven't you ever experienced magic power depletion?" Seeing Chae Na-yoon's confused face, I knew she definitely hadn't paid attention in class. I said, "It's when your magic power is completely consumed, it's very difficult to move on your own for a while." Following my suggestion, Chae Na-yoon was carried back by me. On the way, I asked her if she would continue using bow and arrow in the future. After all, given today's situation, Chae Na-yoon couldn't possibly not know that her swordsmanship far exceeded her archery. If she could switch to studying swordsmanship with her magical talent, she would presumably become an absolute ruler in large-scale warfare. But seeing Chae Na-yoon angrily cursing, it would probably be very difficult to persuade her to give up the archery she had trained in for many years. After a while, we arrived at the teleportation point. At this time, I said I needed to get back before the dormitory curfew. Chae Na-yoon hurriedly asked me to take her along, as she still couldn't move freely. By the next day, news of Chae Na-yoon being attacked by a demon quickly spread throughout the school. After classes ended today, I went to keep the appointment. After pushing open the classroom door, Kim Soo-ho, who had asked me to come, was already waiting. But he wasn't the only one inside. There were also Kim Horak, Shin Jong-hak, Yoo Yeon-ha, and Lee Young-in. They were all characters with roles in the novel. The day before the hunting club incident, when Kim Soo-ho asked me to meet, he had already explained what he needed my help with. It turned out that because there had been too many disappearance cases at Magic Cube Academy recently, and the academy didn't want to involve external personnel, so they selected a few students from each grade to investigate, although the school would also conduct its own thorough investigation. But considering that the perpetrator was probably a student, they suggested students investigate internally. The investigation representatives chosen from the first grade were Kim Soo-ho, Shin Jong-hak, and Chae Na-yoon. Kim Soo-ho approached me because he thought I had good observation skills, and Chae Na-yoon had also recommended me. Thinking I could gain SP points, I agreed to help Kim Suho. Now that almost everyone had arrived, Kim Suho began presenting his reasoning about the incident. First, the perpetrator of the disappearance cases and the demon that attacked Na-yoon were not the same person. However, Kim Suho's way of addressing Che Na-yoon drew dissatisfaction from Shin Jong-hak. Kim Suho was quite speechless about this and changed to using Che Na-yoon's full name. In any case, Kim Suho's point was that the demon's next target would most likely be Che Na-yoon. He wanted to ask if we had any suspected candidates, or if anyone had been acting strangely recently. Originally, I wanted to slowly observe the plot's development without deliberately disrupting the rhythm. But in just the past 2 weeks, 3 people had already disappeared, and this pace was much faster than in the original story. If this continued, the number of casualties would be several times more than expected. Thinking about my experiences with Che Na-yoon, I decided I couldn't ignore everything just for the sake of the plot, so I actively voiced my opinion, thinking that Yin Xuan, the president of the academic club, was very suspicious. For a moment, the scene instantly fell silent. Kim Suho said that since Yin Xuan had a close relationship with the first victim, they had already investigated him, but he had an alibi. I said that if he used mental magic, he could lure victims to come to him voluntarily. Shin Jong-hak refuted me, saying, I don't think a single mental magic spell could make Magic Cube Academy's elites obediently comply. Yu Yonha found it even stranger that I kept insisting on Yin Xuan despite his clear alibi. And for Yu Yonha, compared to Yin Xuan, I was more likely to be the demon. Her words left me in disbelief. Kim Suho also explained for me that during the estimated time of the crimes, I had teleportation records. Yu Yonha used the mental magic I had just mentioned as an example, saying that teleportation records were easy to fake. Kim Horak behind me stood up, preparing to test me directly. Kim Horak believed that after a few beatings, I would either confess or transform. Except for Kim Suho, the others didn't object. They seemed to have tacitly approved of Kim Horak's approach. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sneer coldly. Then I confronted Kim Horak. Kim Suho hurriedly stopped us. I said, if you don't trust me, you can ask Che Na-yoon, because we both participated in the hunting activity that day. But this drew dissatisfaction from Shin Jong-hak, who was angry about why I would be involved with Che Na-yoon. I said, while we were working together to eliminate the demon, you could only do boring pranks. Hearing this, Shin Jong-hak instantly flew into a rage, and Lee Young-in quickly calmed him down. After reminding them once more that Yin Xuan was more likely to be the perpetrator, I turned around and chose to leave. But what no one expected was, Kim Horak suddenly attacked me. He held nothing back in this strike, but fortunately I dodged through instinct. Looking back at Kim Horak's arrogant demeanor, I immediately pulled out my handgun ready to teach him a lesson. Just as we were about to fight, Kim Suho intervened in time to stop us. He was now very dissatisfied with Kim Horak. He also told Yu Yonha that if she really had suspicions, she might as well ask Che Na-yoon directly. After a moment of silence, Yu Yonha began calling Che Na-yoon. I left the classroom without looking back. At this time, Yu Yonha also shared her suspicions with Che Na-yoon. Che Na-yoon said, Kim Ha-jin couldn't possibly be a demon because I went to the teleportation point with him. When I came outside, it was already dark. Today's events completely stirred up all my emotions. Being involved in my own novel world was one thing, but to actually argue with characters I had carefully created. I had been in this world for some time now, and I really missed my parents and friends. I also wanted to quickly return to the room I rented, and if time was synchronized with the original world, how heartbroken my parents would be if they couldn't find me. Most importantly, could I even go back? Just as I was feeling sad and distressed, a window suddenly popped up notifying me that my perseverance had increased. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sigh that this notification pop-up was really unromantic. But thanks to the previous perseverance increase, otherwise I would have already given up looking for ways to return. Today's events were just a small episode. They would only make me more determined to go back. On the other side, Kim Suho slowly returned after seeing me leave. Yu Yonha asked Kim Horak if he had used his talent to attack just now. She said it was highly suspicious that a shooter like me had dodged a close combat talent's attack. Just then, Yu Yonha's watch suddenly received a message. It was Yin Xuan inviting her to come to the study room first to discuss things before tomorrow's academic discussion activity. Yu Yonha was certain that Yin Xuan had no problems, so she agreed to go. After all, she was very confident in her own abilities. But Yu Yonha didn't know that Yin Xuan was already eagerly anticipating meeting her. The next day, I had come to terms with things and didn't dwell on yesterday's events. But Kim Suho and the others seemed very worried about my situation, which made me feel somewhat embarrassed. I decided that in the future, I wouldn't argue with characters from my writing, and focusing wholeheartedly on finding a way home was the key. This morning, Che Na-yoon had already come to class. Seeing her walk with some difficulty, Kim Suho and Shin Jong-hak both offered to help her. Soon it was class time. The instructor said there was less than a week until the midterm exams, and practical exams would begin immediately after the written test ended. The practical exams were divided into 2 parts: duels between students. The second was monster elimination battles against summoned creatures of mages. Both exams would be far more difficult than regular coursework. Written test wasn't a problem for me, but I would probably have trouble during duels. For duel exams, students had 3 nomination tickets to choose their preferred opponents. Magic Cube Academy had set up a bonus system where high-ranking students defeating low-ranking students wouldn't gain points, but would actually lose points. But some people would ignore the bonus system. Like that idiot Kim Horak, I figured he definitely wanted to use his nomination ticket to beat me up. Speaking of which, there was another issue that had been bothering me recently. That was Rachel, who sat next to me. She clearly never used to talk to me, but since the last written test, she had been hanging around me, when previously she only sat in the back row studying alone. And she would also inadvertently peek at my notes. So I decided to tease her a little. I really missed my parents recently, so I wrote their names on a note. This left Rachel, who was peeking, completely confused about what I was doing. By evening, Yin Xuan sent another message to Yu Yonha. Yu Yonha thought it was the same club discussion activity as usual, so Yu Yonha didn't think much of it when she pushed open the study room door. Yin Xuan was indeed already waiting inside. Seeing no other members, Yu Yonha was a bit curious, and Yin Xuan said they would arrive shortly. At this time, Yu Yonha noticed the lit scented candles, and Yin Xuan said they were to improve concentration. Then Yin Xuan suddenly asked about the demon investigation situation, as he was the second grade representative. Originally, Yu Yonha was going to say there was no progress, but she suddenly mentioned that someone had said some nonsense. This piqued Yin Xuan's interest, and he just waved his finger once. Yu Yonha then revealed that I thought Yin Xuan was a demon with mental magic. Hearing this, Yin Xuan immediately asked if the other party had any evidence, and it was this question that instantly sobered Yu Yonha somewhat. Seeing this, Yin Xuan also realized he had said the wrong thing. Yu Yonha began to be vigilant, because when someone's innocence is questioned, the first reaction is definitely not to worry about whether the other party has evidence. She understood that the Yin Xuan in front of her was definitely not normal. At this point, Yin Xuan stopped pretending, appearing very regretful. He said, "There were still several people before it was your turn." After saying this, Yu Yonha instantly felt dizzy. When she woke up, she found herself already tied up. After observing her surroundings, Yu Yonha was very surprised, as this was a second-grade student dormitory. Now she finally understood. Yin Xuan really was the demon causing student disappearances, and Kim Hajin's words weren't nonsense. After forcing herself to calm down, Yu Yonha tried to use her watch to call for help, but she had only struggled for a short while, when Yin Xuan had already returned to the dormitory. Fortunately, in those few seconds, Yu Yonha still managed to send a message, but the recipient of her message was actually me. Looking at the number Yu Yonha had sent, I was initially somewhat puzzled. On the other side, Yin Xuan had already snatched away the watch. Seeing the name on it, he thought of me as the person who had discovered his identity. Yu Yonha warned Yin Xuan, if something happened to me, the investigation team would discover it before long. Yin Xuan said, "I don't care, after this is over, I'll immediately leave Magic Cube Academy." His words made Yu Yonha extremely angry, but her expression greatly satisfied Yin Xuan. She learned from Yin Xuan that he was targeting Yu Yonha under the instruction of the demon Lilith. On my side, I had already guessed Yu Yonha's meaning, so I hurriedly released the Book of Truth. After quickly getting Yu Yonha's location, I immediately set off. More than 10 minutes later, under Yin Xuan's continuous mental magic, just when Yu Yonha seemed about to submit, she would once again firm her inner will. Yin Xuan marveled that despite doing this much, she still hadn't been brainwashed. Although Yu Yonha would struggle every time she awakened, Yin Xuan still believed that under Lady Lilith's demonic power she couldn't possibly escape. However, in the next second, Yin Xuan was instantly shot through by a bullet. Unlike ordinary magic bullets, this shot caused him unbearable pain. The sudden change in the situation gave Yu Yonha hope, while Yin Xuan writhed in agony on the ground. I was curious about Yu Yonha's current feelings. I said, "You questioned me back then, but now you're the one who got captured." Yin Xuan, who also heard the voice, cursed at me furiously. He wanted to buy time for his wounds to heal, but I reminded him not to waste his effort. Yin Xuan thought I was hiding in the shadows for a sneak attack, so he frantically attacked in all directions. Yu Yonha was also inevitably injured. Seeing Yin Xuan still going berserk, I calmly told him he didn't need to keep looking, because I was in a place very far from him. Then several more bullets hit Yin Xuan in succession. At this moment, I was positioned in bushes hundreds of meters away. The Desert Eagle had now transformed into sniper rifle form. This target practice feeling was absolutely exhilarating, and I once again thanked my initial choice. I also loudly told Yu Yonha, "The bullets you gave me before will probably be used up today. If you have a conscience, you'll definitely prepare better ones for me later." As I spoke, I loaded another round. Yin Xuan tried to escape, but how could he possibly be faster than bullets? Only after emptying all the spare ammunition did I breathe a sigh of relief. Being hit by so many light attribute magic bullets, death was certain. At this time, I asked Yu Yonha if she was okay, telling her to sleep for a while as the investigation team would arrive soon. Hearing this, Yu Yonha finally fainted, and her last words seemed to be thanking me, but the voice was very soft, and I couldn't hear it from the distance. The next morning, Yu Yonha slowly opened her eyes. She was now in the academy's infirmary. At this time, she also noticed Kim Suho sitting by the bed peeling an apple. Then Yu Yonha suddenly sat up, curious about why he was there. Hearing this, Kim Suho said, "The investigation team members and I have been taking turns caring for you." It turned out that Kim Suho, Shin Jonghak, and the others felt that Yu Yonha's injury was also their responsibility. In any case, they were all sorry for not protecting her well. But Yu Yonha didn't think so. The incident was her own problem. Then she asked if that person had come. This puzzled Kim Suho about who that person referred to. Seeing this, Yu Yonha quickly turned her head away and didn't mention my name. At noon, I received a message. It was from Yu Yonha, thanking me and saying she would definitely repay the life-saving favor for eliminating the demon this time. I also gained a large amount of SP points. Due to completing long-distance shooting, my Deadeye proficiency reached level 7. The SP points gained this time were the most ever. Personally, eliminating a main storyline villain gave quite generous rewards. Although I consumed a lot of SP points to enhance abilities for the long-distance assassination of Yin Xuan, the most important thing was saving Yu Yonha. At this time, someone came to the cafeteria and called my name. Yesterday, I had contacted Park Soo-hyuk to meet. Unexpectedly, as soon as he approached, Park Soo-hyuk immediately knelt down. He was worried I wanted to cancel the contract and asked me to reconsider. I helplessly said, "It's not like that. I'm very optimistic about Ch Agency, so I'm planning to invest money in them." Hearing my words, Park Soo-hyuk was momentarily unable to react. As for the money I brought out, it was from selling the ginseng and purple smoke obscurity I had previously acquired, which sold for 400 million won. I divided this money into two parts. Most of it was used to continue buying demon subduing lords stocks. The rest rest was planned to be invested in SH Agency. After all, from a long-term perspective, their potential was no less than demon-subduing lords. Seeing me bring out nearly 200 million to invest, Park Soo-hyuk was very flustered, saying he couldn't accept such a huge sum. I said, I'm investing this money because I want to grow together with you. After you go back, buy a proper magic pouch and a hunting ground vehicle so you can work better. After discussing future cooperation, it was almost afternoon, so I parted ways with him. Meanwhile, at an abandoned factory somewhere, a shadowy black figure slowly emerged from the ground. Finally, a small boy appeared. He asked the captain about what to do next, now that demon-subduing lord had gone public. The captain said, grab what we need, don't worry about the rest. The boy said there was more news. Someone had been continuously buying demon-subduing lord's stock recently. Also, Purple Smoke Obscurity had several interesting new pages. Suspiciously, there was one called True Affairs Office, claiming to answer all questions, wondering if they should try posting a commission, but the captain stopped him, and from the captain's words, learned the boy was called Darren. Seeing the captain seemed somewhat irritated, Darren changed the subject and mentioned next week's Magic Cube Academy midterm exams. The false color group needed to pay attention to Kim Soo-ho and Shin Jong-hak, and the captain wanted to personally observe. She wanted to see if there were any useful people. Days passed, and soon the midterm practical exams finally arrived. During exam week, Magic Cube Academy would fully open its campus to allow various guilds, associations, and employers to observe. Students' parents would also come. Magic Cube Academy was now filled with people from around the world, with a festive atmosphere like a celebration. Many high-ranking students had numerous fans on social media, and these people would also come to watch. So it wouldn't be strange to see any kind of person on campus. I used the drone Park Soo-hyuk gave me to monitor the school, also to prevent problems. After the drone flew out, someone accidentally bumped into me, but just from making eye contact with her, I was immediately frightened, because I recognized her as the false color group's captain. I knew the false color group captain would come for today's exam, but I didn't expect to have a chance to encounter her. However, I kept thinking about the captain's character setting, and accidentally stared for too long. Now I understood I had to say something, or I would seem very suspicious. After holding back for a long time, I said, so beautiful. I regretted it as soon as I said it. The captain rolled her eyes at me directly. Fortunately, she didn't say much and turned to leave. But things weren't as smooth as I thought. Not long after leaving, the captain contacted Darren, because I had actually ignored the cognitive interference device's effects and directly saw her true appearance. The captain had Darren investigate my identity, while I remained unaware. In the novel's plot, many people came to recruit students, but the false color group only had 2 targets. After observation, Kim Soo-ho's beliefs differed from theirs, so they paid attention to Shin Jong-hak and then left. Their infiltration of Magic Cube Academy wasn't a serious matter, but I was worried the plot would change again. If they encountered the security heroes in the exam venue, it wouldn't be as simple as a few deaths. There were many security heroes in Magic Cube Academy, some even upper-tier heroes. Today, Woo Jun-hyuk and Seo Youngji patrolled several times but found no suspicious people. But after the two passed by, a man emerged from beside them, also a member of the false color group. Hearing that someone could ignore the siren necklace's cognitive interference, he finally became interested. After all, having watched weak students all day, he was utterly bored. Just as the man wanted to meet that person first, Darren mentally complained about his simple-mindedness. The captain stopped him because the duel was about to begin, and they could know the opponent's strength without testing. Today, the first match of the second arena was about to begin. Kim Horak used his nomination ticket, and his nominated opponent was naturally me. When entering, someone called out to me. It was Yoo Yeonha. At this time, she had a subordinate bring over a box. Inside were 100 top-grade bullets, though they couldn't be used in the exam. But she said to take them back and use them freely, and if I needed more later, I could find her anytime. Yoo Yeonha said these bullets weren't to repay the life-saving favor, just a gift from her. Also, when the school asked her to provide testimony about the demon's death process, she didn't mention my long-range shooting. Hearing this, I was very grateful to Yoo Yeonha for keeping it secret. If word got out about me shooting Yin Xuan, there would probably be trouble. Yoo Yeonha also said she knew I was hiding my strength for good reasons, but continuing to hide would make it hard to pass the practical exam. Seeing my confusion, Yoo Yeonha wondered if I didn't know who my upcoming opponent was. But I had guessed when I came, and I was also ready to properly deal with the other party. Meanwhile, on the other side, Darren had already investigated my situation for the captain. Kim Hajin was born in an orphanage, had no parents or friends, entered military school at 6 to study. After coming to Magic Cube Academy, his performance was average, and he owed 300 million won. This was all the information Darren found. The captain was even more puzzled about why such an ordinary person could ignore the interference device and look directly at her true appearance. While the captain was thinking, another false color group member finally found her. The man was Chi Jun-jin from the false color group. Hearing the captain say he was late, Chi Jun-jin quickly said he was carefully selecting talent as instructed. The captain asked about the results. Chi Jun-jin said they were all weaklings. Any one of them would be sent flying with just a flick to the forehead. His answer made Darren speechless. The captain valued potential, and this year's most promising potential at Magic Cube Academy was in the first year. So Darren suggested having the captain and Chi Jun-jin confirm this, as first Grezda Kim Hajin's duel was about to begin. Thinking about being seen through earlier, the captain also took Darren's advice. As the grand opening ceremony was held, all the arenas at Magic Cube Academy became lively. Woo Jun-hyuk and Seo Youngji, who were in charge of the second main arena, also came to the viewing platform. While chatting, Seo Youngji suddenly sensed something unusual. The source of this strangeness was Chi Jun-jin sitting across from them. So she gave Woo Jun-hyuk a hint that the man across seemed to be smiling at them the whole time. Woo Jun-hyuk thought he was a fan and didn't pay attention. After the ceremony ended, the duel competition officially began. Kim Horak entered first. He ranked 19th among first first-year students. Although there was a big gap from the top 6, his overall strength was quite good. What surprised Seo Youngji was Horak's opponent was actually Kim Hajin, ranked 934th. Looking at Kim Horak, who was full of killing intent, I couldn't help but chuckle lightly. Don't get excited, go easy on me later. Hearing this, Kim Horak became even angrier. His main skill was Protective Energy Shield. He could release magic power from his body to form a transparent barrier, and regular training bullets couldn't threaten him at all. The key was not letting Kim Horak get close, or I would be in real danger. After all, he was a close combat fighter with excellent fighting skills. The match began, and Kim Horak instantly charged at me. His tactic was correct, to get close and then overwhelm me. But how could I possibly give him that chance? The next moment, I directly used bullet time. Through this period of hard training and enhancement, bullet time had extended to 1 minute, so now I could keep up with Kim Horak's movements. However, his exaggerated destructive power made me sigh. Next, Kim Horak frantically pursued, while I used Eagle Eye and bullet time to dodge. Just as he continued his pursuit, I suddenly pulled out my handgun and aimed. Finding an opportunity, Kim Horak closed in while my bullet was fired. But he didn't care at all, even thinking I was stupid. With his Protective Energy Shield, Kim Horak believed he could easily deflect such bullets without even needing to defend. However, things far exceeded his imagination. Not only did Kim Horak fail to block this attack, the bullet successfully penetrated his Protective Energy Shield. The instant change in the arena left the audience unable to believe their eyes, because the well-known Protective Energy Shield was directly pierced by a training handgun. Kim Horak in the arena was even more stunned. The sharp pain in his shoulder made him realize his energy shield had actually been pierced by a small bullet. The next second, Kim Horak reacted as he heard me pulling the trigger. Facing my continuous shooting, Kim Horak could only protect his body's vital parts, and this was exactly the method I had long thought of to deal with him. As long as Kim Horak thought he could deflect the bullets, he would be completely wrong, because I had also infused the bullets with Stigmata magic power, and they were bullets with magic subduing power. Now Kim Horak's offense was over, and he had to face my endless frenzied shooting. After dodging all the way, Kim Horak finally couldn't endure it. He used all his strength, trying to use falling rocks to make me lose balance. This attack seemed to delay my offensive, but while jumping to avoid the falling rocks, I suddenly reminded Kim Horak that I was about to throwing knives. Seeing this, he didn't dare take it head on, and didn't take the opportunity to close in. Afraid the throwing knives also had special effects, he chose to dodge directly. Seeing this scene, I smiled. While he was dodging, I had already quickly loaded my pistol. Then came another round of rapid shooting. Kim Horak had no defensive power left and took all the damage. After one round of shooting, he was already kneeling on the ground, his whole body trembling in severe pain. I approached at a leisurely pace. After stopping, I raised my pistol. Without his Protective Energy Shield, Kim Horak was like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. This spectacular battle made the audience forget to breathe. Finally, under everyone's gaze, I pulled the trigger. However, the empty click of the bulletless gun echoed throughout the arena. Kim Horak's eyes were filled with disbelief. Only then did the audience breathe a sigh of relief. Woo Junhyuk said in surprise, "Could it be that Kim Hajin ran out of bullets?" Just when everyone was curious about who would win this battle, Kim Horak finally stood up. He had decided to fight to the death. To this, I smiled slightly. This was enough. So I threw away the pistol and told the referee I surrendered. My voice echoed in the silent arena. Kim Horak even doubted he had heard wrong. The people on the platform didn't react either, until the referee stuttered out that the duel was over. The victory of this battle belonged to Kim Horak. Kim Horak cursed wildly in the arena, telling me to come back, while I turned and left without looking back. At this time, Woo Junhyuk asked his partner what she thought. Seo Youngji's opinion was simple. She thought I performed very well. On the contrary, Kim Horak was too hasty and didn't approach step by step. He actually chose to respond with his energy-consuming Protective Energy Shield, and my performance made Seo Youngji very concerned. Because my shooting speed was simply beyond reason, and my dynamic vision was too excellent, I could see the movements of combat-type students clearly. She was also surprised that I could surround bullets with compressed magic power. Woo Junhyuk and Seo Youngji judged this was also the reason I could penetrate the Protective Energy Shield, but I was clearly just a student, yet I could compress magic power to this density. Various organizations were hurriedly contacting their superiors, quickly reporting my situation. By evening, all the duels for the day were basically over. After leaving, when Chi Junjin contacted his partner, he expressed that he didn't like Kim Hajin. He didn't understand why the captain wanted him to pay attention to someone who only hid in the distance shooting with a gun. Darren said, "Didn't you notice the magic subduing power?" But Chi Junjin said, "That's two different things from strength." Hearing this, Darren finally realized he simply disliked shooters. Chi Junjin believed that the kind of battle where one risked their life to kill the opponent was true dueling. Darren was too lazy to argue with him, and then asked about Kim Suho and Shin Jonghak's match. Regarding these two, Chi Junjin acknowledged their strength. Shin Jonghak's savage spear technique left a deep impression, every spear thrust aimed at vital points. He liked Shin Jonghak very much. As for Kim Suho, he seemed a bit special in his view. Kim Suho's swordsmanship also surprised Chi Junjin. Just like the rumors, it was as beautiful as a sword dance. Like movements refined through countless years, but after watching the match, Chi Junjin always had a feeling that Kim Kim Suho was hiding his true nature. However, neither Kim Suho nor Shin Jong-hak's strength had reached a level that made him wary. At this time, Darren told him to also record Kim Hajin. Although very dissatisfied, Chi Junjin had to comply. Just then, a security guard from Cube Academy discovered him, listening to the other party constantly driving him away, telling him to leave. The next second, Chi Junjin suddenly reached out and flicked the security guard's head. Hearing the commotion on the other end of the call, Darren couldn't help but ask if he had killed the person. Chi Junjin admitted it and asked Darren to keep it secret because if he told the captain, he might be killed. At this moment, the captain had already arrived at a deserted place. She remembered past events, thought of the betrayal she had suffered, and the vow to avenge someone. Coming back to her senses, the captain contacted Darren, asking him to investigate Kim Suho, Shin Jong-hak, and Kim Hajin. Because I had magic subduing power, the captain put me first for investigation. But Darren thought there was very little intelligence about me, so he didn't know if this was appropriate. The captain told Darren not to worry, because tomorrow she would personally meet Kim Hajin. The day after Cube Academy's first round of practical duels ended was the duel between seeded players. The first match was Rachel versus Chae Na-yoon. There were even more spectators today than on the first day. Even H Country's #1 guild, Grace of the Creator, came. Everyone was looking forward to the battle between seeded players, and I was naturally among them. However, today's match result was Chae Na-yoon's crushing defeat. After all, archery wasn't suitable for her talent, so the current Chae Na-yoon simply couldn't defeat Rachel. After the battle started, Chae Na-yoon appeared very confident. Recent training had greatly improved her strength. After releasing her mana, Chae Na-yoon shot an arrow. The arrow instantly transformed into countless arrow rain shooting toward Rachel. But Rachel was very fast and easily dodged most arrows. The last arrow was also blocked by her sword. Seeing her full power attack dissolved like this, Chae Na-yoon couldn't believe it for a moment. Rachel used her movement technique to gradually approach Chae Na-yoon. Just when I was watching with great interest, someone walked up behind me. Then she sat down next to me. The captain's arrival surprised me greatly. She was a black-level wanted criminal of the Hero Association, also the notorious leader of the False Color Team, a strong person who hid herself with countless names and identities. But in the next second, the captain was doused with a cola. It turned out the man behind had made a mistake while walking down the steps. This scared me to death. If the captain got angry, it would really be over. After Rachel won on the platform, the captain also took my handkerchief and dried her hair. Hearing her say thank you, I hurriedly said it was nothing. Soon the captain explained her purpose. She had watched my duel with Kim Horak and wanted to get to know me. Then she handed over her business card. Looking at the name on it, I knew this wasn't her real name. This was just one of her many identities. I curiously asked the captain about her purpose in finding me, but she didn't tell me and got up to leave. She said if I wanted to find her, I could contact her directly. Watching the captain leave, I still couldn't think of any reason she would come find me. Time came to the afternoon. Kim Suho's match also ended. He easily defeated Yang Pyong, who ranked 8th. On the way out, many people were still talking about today's matches. I retrieved the drone I had sent out, planning to confirm again when I returned to the dorm whether there were any special incidents at school today. But on the way back, I suddenly heard someone crying softly. Looking down at the grass beside me, it turned out Chae Na-yoon had hidden herself to cry quietly after losing the match. This was part of the plot. In the original story, when Chae Na-yoon was disheartened after her crushing defeat, it was Kim Suho who comforted her, and Chae Na-yoon developed feelings for Kim Suho because of this. But now the villains had been strengthened. Kim Suho's encouragement in the novel wouldn't help the current Chae Na-yoon. In Kim Suho's life, there was no such thing as giving up, and he never advised others to give up either. So until the end, Chae Na-yoon never gave up archery. Soon I thought of a way that wouldn't disrupt their meeting while still reminding Chae Na-yoon. That was to send some messages to the heartbroken her. Seeing it was a message from me, Chae Na-yoon was initially puzzled, but the content that followed made her eyes widen instantly, because I directly told Chae Na-yoon that the sword was most suitable for her. I also recommended she give up archery, which she had persisted with for many years, and change career directions like me. Originally, Chae Na-yoon thought I would comfort her, so she didn't react for a moment. After reading the message, Kim Suho and the others found Chae Na-yoon. Just when Kim Suho wanted to comfort her, Chae Na-yoon had already been angered by my words, because my message mercilessly denied her years of effort. After returning to the dorm and opening the drone footage, I saw Chi Junjin's brutal process. He acted without hesitation. Doing this was purely to make himself happy. There really were such people in this world, as humans, yet denying the value of heroes. But compared to ordinary lawbreakers, they possessed superhuman power like heroes. I had to be more vigilant, because the novel had been adapted by another author, and new villain characters might appear. The next day, the monster elimination battle for midterm exams began. The examiner this time was Mage Chen Juhua. Next, we would battle against magical beasts summoned by the mage in the arena below. The magical beast had the same attack power as monsters, and even if the summoning was cancelled, they wouldn't disappear immediately. So she reminded everyone that if they felt the exam was too difficult to continue, they must surrender immediately. Exam scores would be based on persistence time and calmness during response. After explaining the rules, groups were formed, and soon the first group went down to wait for the exam. The examiner told everyone that those not taking the exam needed to analyze the battle situations on the field, and write a report about this monster elimination battle. At this time, someone's watch happened to ring. Then the examiner told everyone to turn off their smartwatches. Finally, Chen Juhua said the report would also account for a portion of the written exam score, so everyone should treat it seriously. After speaking, she announced the official start of the monster elimination battle. The magical beast assigned to Yeyue in the first group was an evolved ghoul, while Yeyue was fighting. The students on the platform were also carefully observing. After the first group's exam ended, it was the second group's turn. Unlike Ye Yue and their battles, after releasing their mana, high-ranking talents like Li Yongin directly eliminated their magical beasts. Chaina Yun's battle was also easy. Finally, after waiting for some time, it was my 10th group's turn to enter. The magical beast assigned to me was a wolf. To deal with this type of close combat, powerful magical beast, I chose the most conservative fighting style. Just when I thought I could finish smoothly, the exam arena suddenly experienced tremors. On the other side, patrolling Wu Junhyuk also heard intelligence from the exam arena. SEO Youngji in the monitoring room told him to focus. After all, a patrolling security guard at Cube Academy had been killed before. Regarding the source of the tremors, everyone speculated it was from the seabed in the waters near Wu Junhyuk. Just when he wanted to go check, he suddenly felt killing intent from behind. Chi Junjin from the false color team hadn't retreated, he was still staying at Cube Academy. Wu Junhyuk informed him that outsiders were prohibited from entering here. Originally, Chi Junjin wanted to chat, but he suddenly rolled up his sleeves provocatively. Seeing this wasn't good, Wu Junhyuk instantly drew his weapon. Just when the two were about to fight, the previous tremors came again. Feeling the powerful pressure, both turned to look at the sea. They saw huge water spouts rising from the sea surface, with a terrifying monster inside. At the same time, in the exam arena, the instructors suspended the exam, having all students go outside to evacuate. I was also very surprised, because this accident didn't happen in the original novel's plot, and the magical beast I was fighting hadn't been recalled yet. So I loudly called out to the examiner, but there was no one there anymore. Seeing this, I understood this wasn't an accident. There was likely a demon among the dispatched mages. Chen Juhua definitely wasn't one, because I had seen her, but I didn't receive any setting change notification. However, in this exam arena, my computer hadn't detected any character changes from the beginning. If that was the case, it meant completely new plot had appeared today. On the other side, in the exam arena, a man appeared in front of Rachel, calling her Your Highness. This person's arrival completely surprised Rachel. This was exactly the new plot I didn't know about. The man's name was Alex Lancaster. After Rachel reacted, she asked where he had gone after the L City incident years ago. Alex Lancaster didn't answer, but raised his eerie eyes. In an instant, Rachel understood, so she questioned Alex Lancaster. How could a former captain of the Royal Guard sell his soul to demons? Alex Lancaster smiled and said, I devoted my entire life to my country, yet was brutally betrayed. It was my new lord who took me in. Hearing this, Rachel said no more. Then she attacked Alex Lancaster, wanting to arrest him and bring him back to the country. But Alex Lancaster didn't dodge Rachel's attack, because where the blade passed, only illusory smoke remained. He regretfully told Rachel, my body is still elsewhere. Today I'm just here to deliver some gifts. It's very chaotic outside now. Monsters including pythons are invading, and the examiners have all gone out to fight. No one will come to help you next. In the Empire, royalty would be treated as the highest priority for protection, but here Rachel is just an ordinary person. He wanted to know if Rachel could survive on her own. This was just the beginning of Alex Lancaster's revenge for the tragedy that once occurred, although he wanted to continue chatting with the princess. Time was urgent, so Alex Lancaster turned and left directly. As he disappeared, what came with it was a powerful assassin emanating terrifying aura. The moment they met, the assassin instantly drew his blade and attacked. The speed was so fast that Rachel couldn't react in time. The opponent's strength was too great, so Rachel wanted to create distance. However, the assassin's blade speed was completely invisible. Even barely blocking a few strikes, Rachel's body still received multiple blade wounds. After the exchange, she understood she couldn't defeat the opponent head-on, so she could only gamble on finding an opening. Soon the assassin's blade made her unable to defend. Even her sword was knocked away. Just when the assassin was about to kill Rachel, her hand secretly moved. It turned out Rachel's sword had a thin string attached. The next second, the assassin struck fiercely. She also controlled the sword to fly back and block the strike. At the critical moment, the wall behind suddenly broke through. Both were attracted by this huge commotion. Seeing someone from another arena appear, the assassin immediately abandoned Rachel, who had lost fighting ability, and turned to kill me as I broke through the wall. Seeing this, my authority instantly activated. Then I spent FP points to transform the Desert Eagle into shotgun mode. At such close distance, plus my terrifying shot with special effects attached, the assassin was directly blasted away and disappeared in the next moment. That bullet just now cost 250 SP points, so having this power was within expectations. Looking at my figure, Rachel also recognized me as her classmate Kim Hajin. At this time, after confirming there was no danger, I went forward to ask about her condition. Even without Rachel speaking, the bleeding wounds on her body told me she was in bad shape. Fortunately, I carried bandaging supplies with me, so I simply treated Rachel's wounds. She couldn't help but cry out in pain. I said, bear with it. If we don't stop the bleeding in time, your hand will be ruined. After treatment, I looked at the gauze stained with blood. I suddenly realized I had somehow obtained blood from an upper-class student of Cube Academy. When Rachel thanked me, I hurriedly hid the gauze behind my back. After resting for a while, the battle outside seemed to end, and examiner Chen Juhua also rushed over. She was about to go down to bring us up, but other mages hurriedly came to inform her that 2 students in the adjacent exam arena were seriously injured. Hearing this, Chen Juhua's expression became grave. Someone was behind this accident. By evening, the incident was basically resolved, but Wu Junyuk sat dejectedly by the seaside. SEO Youngji also successfully found him and confirmed Wu Junyuk was okay. She asked why the python had suddenly appeared. Wu Junyuk didn't know the reason either, but he said the python had been driven away, and it was driven away by the intruder. Although he didn't know who had angered the python, Chi Junjin had repelled the monster with brute force. Wu Junyuk was also frightened by his strength. He also speculated that person was basically the killer of the security guard. This exam not only had unknown intruders, intruders but also many high-level monsters appearing. Woo Junyuk understood that Cube Academy would probably be held accountable by all parties. The next day, the incident at Cube Academy's exams spread worldwide, and midterm exams were postponed. Since the school had to explain to the outside world and rebuild facilities, originally scheduled exams and classes were all cancelled. Students also welcomed an unprecedented 10-day holiday, just when the instructor was scolding everyone for only discussing holidays happily. My computer in the backpack finally sent a message, so I quickly opened it to check. This time, the co-author's change notification came really too late. It introduced a character named Alex Lancaster, whose change was increased probability of attacking Rachel and strengthened abilities. Alex Lancaster was one of the related characters I designed in Country B. His goal was to overthrow all of Country B. Originally, Alex Lancaster was a villain who would appear later, but unexpectedly he appeared in this incident too. But what happened yesterday was good for me, because I obtained Rachel's blood. Suddenly, someone elbowed my head. Looking back, it was actually Chae Na-yoon. She also appeared very arrogant, clearly doing it on purpose. Chae Na-yoon was also retaliating for my previous words. In other classmates' eyes, conflicts between us seemed to have become commonplace, and I didn't take Chae Na-yoon's behavior to heart either. After she finished bullying me and returned, her mood improved considerably. At this time, Chae Na-yoon's watch received a message. It turned out to be the exam analysis reports. Then she eagerly opened everyone's reports. There were many about Chae Na-yoon, with Kim Soo-ho being the first. His evaluation of Chae Na-yoon was very inspiring. Kim Soo-ho believed that even though many recent factors had worn down her confidence, he still believed Chae Na-yoon was a natural archer. Kim Soo-ho was certain that if Chae Na-yoon believed in herself like in the exam and kept improving, she would eventually become the most amazing hero. Reading Kim Soo-ho's encouragement, Chae Na-yoon read through it all bit by bit, finally making her very shy, since it was the first time being encouraged and praised like this. Now, Chae Na-yoon had also decided that no matter what others said, she would firmly remain an archer. Then Chae Na-yoon continued reading, wanting to know other people's evaluations of her. But the next one was anonymous and also written quite long, so she happily read it. However, after seeing the content clearly, Chae Na-yoon first froze. Then her whole body trembled with anger because this anonymous comment was written by me. My words were full of the belief that she simply wasn't suitable for archery, and said that her performance in this exam was full of flaws. After reading it, Chae Na-yoon was completely furious and loudly cursed me in her dorm. On the other side, unaware of this, I was still in my dorm. I slowly placed Evangeline's seed on the gauze. Soon it gradually absorbed the blood on it, and the seed should be able to grow well. As long as it was fed human blood, the true witch Evangeline could be nurtured. Rachel was a kind person, so what hatched from her blood couldn't possibly be a villainous witch. Next, I just waited for Evangeline to grow up quickly so she could help me in the future. But just as I was imagining her future appearance, my heart suddenly beat violently. Along with pain in my wrist, unexpectedly the second stigma would appear at this time. The pain from the stigma's engraving made me scream in agony. The next morning, I contacted Park Soo-hyuk early to go to the hunting ground. Along the way, my wrist still hurt terribly, and having gotten no rest last night, I looked very haggard at the moment. Seeing this, Park Soo-hyuk curiously asked what was wrong with me. After telling him I was fine, I chatted about the company's recent business. Park Soo-hyuk said, with the hunting ground vehicle, not only is running business more convenient than before, but clients are also much more at ease. When we arrived at the hunting ground entrance, I found many people gathered. Most seemed to be from guilds. Other passers-by gathered to watch were also attracted by these guild people. After all, they represented Essence Straight, and the leader was actually Yoo Yeonha. Seeing her, I was also somewhat surprised. She should have brought guild members to inspect the hunting ground. Noticing someone staring at her, Yoo Yeonha turned to look and saw me in the car, so she walked over and curiously asked what I was doing at the hunting ground. Yoo Yeonha's greeting surprised me. I told her I was here to earn some side income, and I was here with my agent Park Soo-hyuk. Hearing this, Yoo Yeonha couldn't help but look at Park Soo-hyuk. In the novel's plot, Park Soo-hyuk would become Kim Soo-ho's agent. Learning this news, Yoo Yeonha invested a lot of money in Sage Agency. That investment was very successful, so both achieved success. But this was content from the original novel. Now without Kim Soo-ho as the star attraction, SH Agency probably had no value in Yoo Yeonha's eyes. Now it seemed I had become Park Soo-hyuk's stumbling block. At this time, Yoo Yeonha understood I was indeed here for hunting. Suddenly, she opened the car door and sat next to me. She thought, since I was also here for hunting, she'd go in with me first to take a look. Although I was confused all over, I also agreed to go to the hunting ground with her. On the way, I wondered what Yoo Yeonha really wanted to do, but she was the first to ask if I had considered my future. Hearing me say it was too early to think about it now, Yoo Yeonha said it wasn't early, because we had already finished midterm exams. By third year, we'd leave school to become intern heroes, so we should make graduation plans quickly now. Then she finally stated her purpose, inviting me to join Essence Straight. Yoo Yeonha was very sincere. She said, although Essence Straight can't compare to Grace of the Creator, but after I become the leader, I will definitely build Essence Straight into the top guild. As long as you're willing to join, whether it's advanced weapons or famous agents, I can satisfy any resources you want. But I changed the subject. I said, making early contact with prospective heroes will result in fines. Hearing this, she smiled and said, do you think I can't afford that small amount of money? Just as Yoo Yeonha was asking me to consider carefully, a sudden break caused her to crash into the seat. Yoo Yeonha angrily asked why we suddenly braked. Park Soo-hyuk said it was because we'd reached the monster habitat. His words surprised Yoo Yeonha. She hadn't expected an ordinary agent to know monster habitats. Park Soo-hyuk said, April is when monsters in the hunting grounds depths become restless, so they force weaker monsters to flee to the periphery. Considering Kim Ha-jin passion is a shooter, I specifically found this hunting spot. I also took the opportunity to tell Yu Yonha that Park Soo-yuk was an excellent agent. After greeting them, I got out to start hunting. As for Yu Yonha, their guild members would arrive here soon. When getting out, Yu Yonha came back to knock on the car window. She also asked Park Soo-hyuk for his business card. During the following holiday, I trained as always until the holiday ended and school resumed classes. When we returned, the previous competition results were also announced. I naturally took first place in the grade, with Rachel still ranking second. And because I had taught Kim Tiger-lok a lesson in the practical exam before, the group that used to bully me had also become well-behaved. This period was probably the most peaceful time since I came to Cube Academy. The only minor episode was Chae Na-yoon. She knew that anonymous report was written by me. Originally, I wanted to deny it, but Chae Na-yoon was very certain, because that annoying tone was definitely mine. I said writing those things was for her own good, but Chae Na-yoon was very angry. Both being shooters, she felt I lacked insight, always advising her to give up, and wanted to bet with me, making me personally experience the difficulty of archery. Hearing this, I immediately agreed to her proposal. The bet was, if I won, Chae Na-yoon would have to give up being an archer, but she needed to give me time to train in archery. Chae Na-yoon readily agreed. She wanted to see how I, training for just a few days, could beat her who had trained for many years. I was still confident about this bet. Currently, my marksman proficiency was level 7. After adapting to archery, accuracy and range couldn't possibly lose to Chae Na-yoon. She mistakenly thought her archery talent was comparable to swordsmanship, so she kept avoiding using swords, but she had originally trained in swordsmanship as a child. Gradually persuading her simply wouldn't work. I thought this bet was a good method. After the midterm exams ended, club activities also resumed. Currently, everything was not much different from the original plot. So the next storyline should be the assassination incident of the tycoon in P-City, Country C. And today the travel club's activity location was exactly P-City. This incident began with a murder notice from an assassination organization. The recipient was the tycoon Bethel, whose personality was gentle and frugal. But these were all facades. His true identity was a black-hearted swindler named Belvet, although he concealed his identity through many means. The organization Dark Footprint that had targeted him had decided to assassinate Belvet. In the original story, after receiving the notice under the alias Bethel, he was very scared. Fortunately, at a gathering, Bethel accidentally heard that travel club leader Woo Han-hyun was organizing students to come to P-City. Hearing that they hadn't found suitable accommodation yet, Bethel proactively invited Cube Academy students to stay at his house, actually wanting the students to serve as his bodyguards. At this time, my computer sent a message, and it was actually from Purple Smoke Obscurity. Someone had come to my True Affairs office to commission work. This was my first commission, so I quickly perked up to check the client's requirements. The client needed me to find the current location of a swindler who was blackmailing their family. Looking at the information sent by the other party, I discovered this swindler was actually Bethel. At the same time, in the False Color Team's secret hideout, they were watching Cube Academy's midterm exams together, currently viewing my duel with Kim Tiger-lok. People seeing magic subduing power for the first time would be shocked by this magical force. Some members felt I could be useful. Others were curious why they needed to specifically analyze to recruit one newcomer. One member felt I had a high chance of joining. He was satisfied with my state of having no relatives or romantic interests. Such an isolated and helpless person could be better satisfied with wealth. The False Color Team's primary goal was to capture and execute the traitor. My magic subduing power could be useful, so most people agreed to recruit me. At this time, a woman objected, saying that what the False Color Team lacked now was only black, and black could only be assigned to the strongest person. The previous black owner was exactly the man who had betrayed the former captain. Hearing this, Chi Junjin suddenly suggested giving black to him, then giving his red to the newcomer. But many opposed, feeling Chi Junjin was too stupid and not the strongest. With opinions divided, Darren suggested voting according to convention. After the captain initiated a vote on whether to agree to recruit Kim Ha-jin, the final result was also within her expectations. Darren summarized the results: 8 agreed, 2 opposed, so the False Color Team would begin recruiting Kim Ha-jin. After the matter ended, the captain threw an invitation to a woman named Jane. This was a VIP party invitation for P-City, with the mission to steal a ring. Jane gladly accepted the task. She was the yellow owner of the False Color Team. The day after Jane accepted the mission, travel club members teleported to P-City's activity location. After I arrived, Woo Han-hyun organized everyone to draw lots for teams. According to the original plot, Yu Yonha would be grouped with Kim Suho. As for who I was grouped with didn't matter, but unexpectedly, Chae Na-yoon drew the lot to be with me. She also appeared very displeased. Just then, someone nearby cried out in alarm. Looking back, Woo Han-hyun was warmly embracing a girl. At that moment, everyone understood why he had chosen P-City as the location for their activity. It was to meet his girlfriend. After their intimate moment, Woo Han-hyun introduced his girlfriend, who was also the accompanying doctor for this trip, Natasha. The next period was free time for sightseeing, after which they would gather to visit the wealthy man's mansion. After forming groups, Chae Na-yoon asked, "Where do you want to go?" This surprised me greatly. I said, "Let's go eat first, but why do you want to move together with me?" Chae Na-yoon said, "We've already been grouped together, so should I just ignore you?" Seeing this, I couldn't help but sigh that she was quite different from someone else. Chae Na-yoon looked around at the unfamiliar surroundings, not knowing where the restaurants were. I told her to just follow me. When I arrived, I had already used my smartwatch to get a brief understanding of the area. On the way, Chae Na-yoon mentioned that she was very picky about food, but I knew what she liked to eat. After walking for a while, we entered a magnificently decorated restaurant. The luxurious appearance surprised Chae Na-yoon as well. When we sat down, she wanted to know how I had managed to book book such a restaurant? I didn't give her a clear answer, but actually it was due to the effect of the Book of Truth. I handed the menu to Che Na-yoon. Since she was from a wealthy family, she should be able to order for herself. I was admiring the scenery outside, but unexpectedly caught sight of a familiar person. I immediately stood up, then told Che Na-yoon to wait for me and ran straight outside. The appearance of this person made me feel that the plot might have changed, because the person who had just walked by was none other than Yoon Sung-ya, the vice captain of the Grace of the Creator. After quickly catching up to block her path, I was curious why Yoon Sung-ya had come to P-City. Unexpectedly, she pretended not to recognize me, and even hid behind the man accompanying her. Just as I was about to continue questioning, I suddenly received a notification on my computer, so I changed my tone to apologize, saying I had mistaken her for someone else. After reaching the window outside the restaurant, I opened the laptop I was carrying. The notification showed that due to someone's report, a conflict between Jane and Yoon Sung-ya was about to erupt. After reading the update, I understood why Yoon Sung-ya had come to P-City, because for a period of time in the past, both Jane and Yoon Sung-ya had been members of the Grace of the Creator. They had gone through many missions and dangers together. The two who desperately survived became friends. However, at the most crucial moment, Jane betrayed Yoon Sung-ya. The reason for betrayal was simply that she thought it would be fun. After that incident, Yoon Sung-ya learned that Jane's true identity was the yellow owner of the false color team. She was a villain with disguise talents who was also skilled at theft. On the other side, after being recognized, Yoon Sung-ya went elsewhere with her subordinate Yurin. They had accidentally received a letter informing them that Jane might appear at a party in P-City. Yoon Sung-ya didn't really believe it, but she understood that Jane loved such parties, because a mythical grade ring was displayed in the banquet hall of this party. On the other side, Che Na-yoon and I had finished eating and come out. Afterward, I suggested we split up, because that special party would start at 5 in the evening, so I needed to find a convenient place to observe the interior. Hearing this, Che Na-yoon agreed and turned to leave. After waiting for a long time, the party officially began. The guests had all disguised themselves and entered one after another. In the banquet hall, Yoo Yeon-ha and Kim Soo-ho were actually there too. Kim Soo-ho was dressed very handsomely. This drew a lot of attention from the guests. As for me, I was outside the party mansion. I estimated that Yoon Sung-ya should be arriving soon. This was a masquerade party held at an ancient castle in the suburbs of P-City, and my task was to ensure the plot proceeded according to the original course. Next, I used clairvoyance and discovered a magic teleportation point not far away. This type of teleportation point could only be generated by demons. That meant a powerful demon capable of opening teleportation was hiding at this party. At this time, my computer received another message, this one from the CO author. He indicated that the Homer's ring hadn't been awakened yet, and my thinking that only a few people coveted it was wrong. The plot in P-City had also changed. The demon organization Evil Society would come to seize the ring. Evil Society was the powerful demon organization I had written. The leader was a guy called Jin Hyuk-pyo. The relic disputes and terrorist attacks occurring in various countries worldwide basically all had traces of Evil Society. The other author had actually gotten these dangerous elements involved. It seemed today's plot was destined not to go smoothly. I then used my equipment to create a mask to disguise my true appearance. Next, I began observing Jane's position. With the effect of Eagle Eye, I easily discovered a man in the confidential room of the banquet hall. After knocking down the guards, he entered the room where the Homer's ring was kept. Looking at the glittering ring in the safe, the man excitedly reached out to grab it. However, at that moment, Yoon Sung-ya also walked in. It turned out this man seemed to be Yurin. Just as he was wondering why Yoon Sung-ya was there, Yoon Sung-ya suddenly embraced him. Yoon Sung-ya said coldly, "I will absolutely never be deceived by the same person twice." The next second, she gave the fake Yurin a violent shoulder throw. This shattered the entire room instantly. Such terrifying destructive power caused panic in the banquet hall. Soon a figure emerged from the dust. It turned out Jane wasn't injured at all. While running, she wondered why her perfect disguise had been discovered. Yoon Sung-ya was furious, because how could she not distinguish her trusted aide's tone and walking posture? Jane provocatively said, "Your mind wasn't so meticulous before. It seems my betrayal left a deep impression." Mentioning past events made Yoon Sung-ya even more enraged. Just as she was about to continue attacking, a whip blocked her attack. It was Yoo Yeon-ha and Kim Soo-ho. They didn't know the current situation and were just stopping the two from continuing to cause chaos. But now Yoon Sung-ya had only one purpose. Her magic power suddenly transformed into flames in her hands. The next second, Yoo Yeon-ha's whip turned to ash. This made her feel very distressed. During the gap when Yoon Sung-ya destroyed the whip, Jane attacked her with a sword from behind, but Yoon Sung-ya narrowly dodged. After both completely unleashed their magic power, they fought madly in the banquet hall. While blocking Jane's attack, Yoon Sung-ya was charging magic in her hands. She then sent Jane flying hard. Jane's equipment also broke at that moment. While she was stunned, Yoon Sung-ya quickly rushed forward to deliver a fatal blow, but her sword was blocked by Kim Soo-ho. Being continuously stopped made Yoon Sung-ya furious, while Jane was already sweating profusely from fear. Their battle had injured many people gathered in the banquet hall. Kim Soo-ho couldn't let them affect others anymore. But this was a rare opportunity. How could Yoon Sung-ya give up? Seeing Kim Soo-ho wouldn't move aside, she chose to break through with direct force, kicking Kim Soo-ho away. However, when she turned back, Jane had already quickly fled. This infuriated Yoon Sung-ya to death, while Jane happily said goodbye. But before she could be happy for a few seconds, a mass of demonic energy appeared behind her. The demonic energy then became increasingly intense. The sudden change caught Jane off guard, and the Homer's ring was already grasped in a demonic demonic claw. The demon who came was Hillison from Evil Society. The situation in the banquet hall made me feel very troubled. This ring absolutely could not be given to the demons. At the same time, on the other side, Chae Na-yoon had gotten completely lost. Even though she was following the watch's map, she still couldn't find her way back. She wanted to complain to the watch manufacturer, only to discover it was actually her father's company. Chae Na-yoon also contacted Yu Yonha, but the other party never answered the phone or replied to messages. In the banquet hall, everyone was frightened by the demon's appearance. But Yoon Sung-ya quickly reacted. She pointed her sword at the demon Hillison, unleashing all her magic power without reserve, while demanding the other party immediately put down the ring. Hearing this, Hillison instead mocked that this wasn't something they deserved to possess. This thing should be taken by Evil Society, with eagle eye and observation ability. I estimated that even if everyone present worked together, they basically had no chance of getting the ring. Fortunately, I had been crouching here prepared for the worst-case scenario. I then transformed ether into the form of a long rope. After spinning it quickly several times, I threw it toward the ring in the demon's hand. Hillison's attention was entirely on Yoon Sung-ya and the others, completely unaware of the surprise attack from outside the window. The next second, the ether rope I controlled directly hooked away the ring. By the time she reacted and wanted to search, she turned back to find Yoon Sung-ya charging at her with sword raised. Hearing the sounds of fighting inside, I thought they couldn't possibly come out to chase the ring anymore. As long as I took the ring away so it wouldn't be obtained by demons or the false color team, the plot wouldn't deviate. But suddenly, I felt a powerful demonic power fluctuation. The next moment, a terrible explosion occurred on the castle wall where I was located. With that sense of crisis, I wasn't injured by this attack, but another demon that appeared blocked my escape route. I hadn't expected two demons to appear today. The other party happily introduced himself as Sidious, also a member of Evil Society. He admired my technique of stealing the ring, which even Hillison hadn't noticed. Sidious's goal was clear, to make me hand over the ring. Of course, that was impossible. Seeing me hide the ring in my clothes, Sidious didn't hesitate at all and immediately took out his weapon. As he activated his magic power, a laser sword appeared in Sidious's hand. Without any warning, he decisively swung the sword at me. This destructive power was ridiculously high, even though I dodged in time. The aura emanating from that sword mark still made me feel very fearful. The demon proudly showed off his magic sword worth hundreds of millions. The higher the user's magic power, the stronger this sword became. Hearing this, I understood the opponent had high compatibility with his equipment, because magic power surge was one of the benefits demons gained through contracts. In other words, if I could deal with his sword, I would have a chance to win. However, the demon's attacks didn't stop, and I inevitably got injured while struggling to dodge. I then thought of stalling for time, telling him I would hand over the ring now. Sidious found this ridiculous, because he could still take the ring after killing me. He could see I was just trying to delay his attacks. Sidious didn't care at all. He had already realized I was much weaker than those guys fighting indoors. Sidious was curious why I dared to oppose a demon when I only had a broken pistol in hand, but he was too lazy to continue talking and prepared to kill me with the next move. But Sidious's magic sword suddenly failed. This scene made the air much quieter. He still tried hard, not understanding what had happened. After I saw the window notification, I calmly told Sidious, "Your sword won't activate today," because the information stated that after triggering luck, the magic sword's effect was weakened. Sidious definitely didn't believe it. He thought equipment malfunctions were normal, and even without weapons, he could easily kill me. Hearing this, I told him, "Now that's not so certain." I then quickly used all the magic power in my stigmata to exchange for light magic bullets. At this moment, my pistol also instantly transformed into a shotgun. Seeing my small movement, Sidious immediately rushed over to stop me, but this action was exactly the result I most wanted. After a loud gunshot, this battle came to an end. After some time, Chae Na-yoon, who really couldn't find her way back, chose to wait in place for someone to find her. She had noticed many police cars driving in one direction since earlier, not knowing what had happened, and none of the messages she sent out received any replies. Chae Na-yoon seemed somewhat sad at this moment, but soon she wondered what she was being sad about. When had she picked up the bad habit of depending on others? Just as she was feeling gloomy, she turned and discovered I was sitting beside her. This startled Chae Na-yoon. She was very surprised why I was there, but having no strength left, I only told her my body wasn't feeling well. Then I collapsed on the spot from exhaustion. Chae Na-yoon urgently asked what was wrong with me, but could never get a response. In my unconscious state, I had a dream. I returned to an exam day during heavy snow, and saw my parents braving the snow to pick me up. It had been so long since I'd seen them that when I woke up, my eyes were already blurred with tears. But after seeing the surroundings clearly, I knew I hadn't returned, and wondered where this place was. Just then, Kim Soo-ho and the others opened the door. Seeing me wake up still looking listless, Chae Na-yoon complained that she had gone through great trouble to bring me back. But Chae Na-yoon noticed traces that I had been crying, so she laughed, thinking I had cried from pain due to injury. Seeing Chae Na-yoon getting more excited, and since it was getting late, Kim Soo-ho advised her to go back first. And I finally had a chance to ask where this was. Through the accompanying Dr. Natasha's explanation, this was actually the wealthy man's mansion. I was now in a room shared with Kim Soo-ho. Looking at the time on the wall, I felt relieved. The plot of the wealthy man's assassination should start soon. Fortunately, I woke up in time. After Chae Na-yoon and Natasha left, Kim Soo-ho even peeled some apples for me. While chatting, I opened my watch. I then saw news about demons appearing in P-City. It also reported on Kim Soo-ho and the others. In the end, neither Hillison nor Jane were caught. I wanted to ask Kim Soo-ho about the details, but he said, "I can't tell you, but anyway, there were no major problems." The demons fled after the heroes arrived, and he handed me a piece of apple. But while eating the apple, I noticed Kim Soo-ho's hands. They had many scars on them, so I reminded him to take care of his health. After all, he was the protagonist and couldn't be seriously injured. He had blocked the murderous Yoon Sung-ya today. If not for the demon's arrival, he might have been seriously injured. Kim Soo-ho was a pure and kind protagonist. However, the current plot had long been changed by the other author. I was very worried whether he could overcome this twisted and chaotic plot, and also wondered whether Kim Soo-ho could help me successfully return to the original world. Regarding my words, he was indeed somewhat in denial, because in Kim Soo-ho's view, if he was the protagonist, then I should also be a protagonist, or rather everyone in the world was a protagonist. Hearing this, I was somewhat surprised, but this seemed to fit what Kim Soo-ho should say. At this time, Kim Soo-ho mentioned the report I wrote for Chae Na-yoon, feeling it was somewhat excessive. No matter what, that was Chae Na-yoon's choice. Advising people to give up didn't seem right to Kim Soo-ho. My answer was decisive. I couldn't possibly encourage her on a path that was obviously a dead end. I also told Kim Soo-ho that going along with others like he did couldn't solve anything. If Chae Na-yoon persisted until the end only to discover she was wrong, no one could take responsibility. Kim Soo-ho asked me how I was so certain Chae Na-yoon's talent wasn't in archery. I calmly indicated that I thought much more than he did. I was also the person who had observed Chae Na-yoon the longest, so I understood her better than anyone. My words greatly surprised Kim Soo-ho. Then suddenly there was movement outside the door. This interrupted my conversation with Kim Soo-ho. After using Eagle Eye, I discovered Chae Na-yoon had been eavesdropping the whole time. Having just heard what I said, Chae Na-yoon hurriedly ran away. After returning to her room, her cheeks were flushed red. Chae Na-yoon didn't know what nonsense I was talking about. Yoo Yeon-ha, who was sleeping, was also awakened by the commotion she made. After Chae Na-yoon said nothing was wrong, both turned off the lights to sleep. Chae Na-yoon, getting under the covers, thought she just needed to continue ignoring as usual, but she still couldn't help thinking about what I had just said. Just as Chae Na-yoon was muttering quietly, a piercing scream suddenly came. Yoo Yeon-ha mistakenly thought it was from Chae Na-yoon, but after explanation she understood there was a problem downstairs. At the same time, in the first floor master bedroom, the maid who came to deliver something discovered in horror that the mansion's owner Bethel had been assassinated. Hearing the commotion, students came out to check. Learning it came from downstairs, Kim Soo-ho directly jumped down. As the first to go down, he was first to open the master bedroom door, but the scene ahead frightened Kim Soo-ho, because Bethel lying there had blood that had already stained the entire bed red. Everyone felt sad for him, and Natasha also came to check the situation. Soon she gave the result. Due to massive bleeding from abdominal stabbing, Bethel had regrettably passed away. The butler and maid were even more heartbroken, certain it was done by someone who had disputes with their master before. Just as everyone was mourning for him, Natasha told everyone to go back and wait for the police to arrive, but I suddenly turned on the lights directly. For a moment, the light dazzled everyone. They all wondered why I had turned on the lights. I walked unhurriedly to Bethel's bedside. Natasha came forward urgently telling me not to damage the scene. Unexpectedly, I decisively took out my pistol. Woo Han-hyun and Kim Soo-ho were immediately dumbfounded. Chae Na-yoon thought I had gone crazy. I didn't care about any of this and calmly stated that Natasha was lying, because the current Bethel wasn't dead yet. In the novel, the villain Belvet escaped assassination crisis through feigning death and then became a strategist following demons. He was a villain I had suddenly added. I hadn't written the details of his escape, so eliminating him now was the best choice. From my conversation with Kim Soo-ho, I had also thought it through. Since the plot had already become twisted, there was no need to worry too much. So I told everyone that the current Bethel was in a state of feigned death. Hearing this, Natasha urgently refuted, saying as a doctor, her judgment was more accurate than mine. To this, I listed the evidence. First was the wound on Bethel's body. Such a shallow wound didn't look like someone had stabbed down from above. Second, his injury was only a small point on the heart, but blood had soaked the entire bed and even flowed to the floor. As for the final suspicious point, I took out the international wanted list showing the con man Belvet, then told everyone, didn't these two look too similar? Hearing this, Natasha panicked greatly. She immediately told the butler to contact police and ambulance, while stating they shouldn't make wild guesses now. Only when experts came to investigate could they know accurate results. But I didn't answer her. Instead, I raised my pistol and aimed at Bethel on the bed. The sound of cocking made Natasha freeze directly. Now everyone was stunned. I said coldly that I would count down 3 times, then shoot directly. After all, since Bethel was confirmed dead, shooting once more shouldn't matter. Hearing this, Natasha urgently asked the students to stop me, but I had already counted to 3, just as I was about to shoot. Natasha suddenly screamed frantically, then jumped onto the bed to protect Bethel, begging me not to shoot, because Bethel was her father. At these words, everyone found it hard to believe. The butler wanted to sneak out quietly, but the next second I shot directly to stop him. I then told the butler to contact the heroes directly, saying we had caught a wanted criminal here. When the heroes arrived, they also confirmed Bethel's identity as a wanted criminal. Natasha was also taken away for designing this fake death together. Because Belvet's crimes were extremely heinous and he was wanted throughout the Northwest, she created this plan. Although the medicine to put someone in a death-like state was expensive, since Natasha was a doctor at Cube Academy, she easily obtained the medicine. They had also bribed all the police in P-City suburbs, so they could replace Bethel with a prepared similar corpse. Finally, as long as Cube Academy students gave testimony, police would believe Bethel was dead. Then he could secretly operate under a new name in the shadows. But now, everything had changed. I had also completed the client's commission. For reputation, I didn't charge the client's fee. Thanks to the client, my agency's credibility was improved. After everything ended, Yoo Yeon-ha felt I could completely open a detective agency. But she was curious how I remembered that criminal criminal resembled Bethel among so many criminals. Hearing this, I became very cold, then said it was related to family environment. Mentioning this reminded me that I didn't know about Kim Chun-dong's family background. At the same time, on the other side, Hillison was reporting to Jin Hyukbyo that the ring was stolen by a stranger with a leopard mask, and Sidious had also fallen to this person. After hearing this, Jin Hyukbyo told them to investigate my identity, just when Hillison thought nothing was wrong. Jin Hyukbyo suddenly became very angry, because wasn't Hillison's appearance just proclaiming himself to be a demon? He was very dissatisfied with the term demon. Hillison hurriedly returned to his original appearance. Finally, Jin Hyukbyo asked about the magic sword's whereabouts, but at this moment, the magic sword had already fallen into my hands. After everything ended, we teleported back to school. This sword was completely useless to me. I could only store it for now. Then I needed to check this ring. Awakening, it required injecting certain magic power. But for me, I just needed to use SP points. After using SP to awaken the Homer's ring, its hidden effects were revealed. It could improve the wearer's intelligence and magic power. And it wasn't a bound item. It could be given to others. My magic power wasn't sufficient, but if it were Kim Suho or Chae Na-yoon, they could probably unleash stronger power, especially Chae Na-yoon. Her magic power was even greater than Kim Suho's. Recently, my ability values had increased. Though not much, my talents had improved. I now felt I had encountered an advancement barrier. Next, I'd probably need to put in greater effort to break through the limit. Fortunately, with my current strength, I should be able to win against Chae Na-yoon in the archery bet. At this time, I also remembered to investigate Kim Chun-dong's situation. The CO author definitely wouldn't let his past be blank. Although he was a passerby in my novel, in this world he was definitely elite talent. His parents were most likely not ordinary people. I chose an agency in Purple Smoke Obscurity. Its owner was investigation expert Yu Zhenhyuk, the industry's top expert. He could investigate people's backgrounds thoroughly, so the fees would be much higher. Just as I was about to place an order, I remembered that due to investments during this period, I had no money left. I could only wait until I had money to make plans. Evangeline was shaking violently at this time. It was her feeding time. At the same time, Yu Yonha suddenly made a phone call. She contacted her uncle Yu Zhenhyuk. Yu Yonha was also very interested in my family background, so she prepared to have her uncle investigate. She did this because on the way back, Yu Yonha had made some deductions about me. She thought the reason I could remember so many criminals' appearances was that I had encountered something bad before. But since I didn't know who the mastermind was, I firmly memorized all the faces on the wanted list. Combined with my birth in an orphanage, she thought my parents had been murdered. Although these were all her assumptions. Yu Yonha thought if he really had a hidden past, if I could help him investigate the truth, the probability of recruiting him into the guild in the future would greatly increase. On the other side, Yu Zhenyuk also received Yu Yonha's call. Hearing his niece's voice on the other end, he seemed very happy and surprised. Yu Yonha said she wanted to commission him to investigate someone, then gave my general information. Yu Yonha's uncle had the ability to experience the past. Investigating someone's past shouldn't be a problem. A few days later, I had already arrived in E-Country. This place was now covered in snow everywhere. I was originally admiring the beautiful scenery, but was suddenly hit in the face by a large snowball. The person who threw it was Chae Na-yoon, who loudly said she did it on purpose. We came here because after Cube Academy's club activities opened, the hunting club brought everyone to a mountain lodge in E-Country's valley to commemorate the club activity's return. Today, the club also prepared a small activity. Flags with rankings written on them were hidden throughout the snow forest, with corresponding rewards tied to them. Next was drawing lots for grouping. Chae Na-yoon and I were grouped together once again. On the way, she wanted to know why I was only wearing a thin coat. I said this was a functional garment that could freely change form and had temperature regulation functions. Of course, such luxurious equipment was something I couldn't afford after investing my money. This was a gift from Rachel to repay the life-saving grace during the midterm exam. She was really kind. If only I could have created more characters like Rachel back then. After continuing forward for some distance, Chae Na-yoon discovered a flag planted on a mountaintop, and it was the first place flag. I had thought no idiot would climb up to such a high place. Unexpectedly, Chae Na-yoon not only climbed up but also called for me to come up together. Seeing this, I couldn't help but sigh. Then I took out a dagger. Chae Na-yoon wondered what I was going to do. I gathered the stigmata's magic power on it, then threw the dagger upward with force. No matter which direction the knife flew, as long as I slightly controlled the magic power on it, I could easily knock down the flag. Seeing this scene, Chae Na-yoon was somewhat dumbfounded. After I slowly went up to pick up the flag, she excitedly ran up, wanting to know what the reward was. A note was tied to the flag. The reward was help from Yoon Sung-ya. Compared to Chae Na-yoon's excitement, I was only speechless at this moment. I then gave the reward to Chae Na-yoon. She was very shocked. After all, that was the vice captain of the first guild. Hearing this, I told Chae Na-yoon I didn't need it, then handed it to her. Chae Na-yoon, holding the note, was silent for a while, then handed it back to me. I said if you didn't need it either, then forget it. On the way back, we also found the 4th place flag. In the evening, everyone gathered to eat, and I was responsible for grilling meat. In the original world, I had helped at my aunt's barbecue restaurant, so my technique was quite good. During conversation, the topic of first grade final exams came up. The second grade seniors reminded us to absolutely not trust anyone during final exam period. Because the finals were very difficult, the seniors had seen many people broke up because of this. They also told everyone to be careful of Cube Academy's repeating class. Those guys were dangerous existences. As the senior said, the repeating class was a group of students with failing grades who couldn't advance to new grades. In the novel, 20% of repeating class students would make contracts with demons. demons, belonging to high-risk groups. And according to the plot, they would cause a big disturbance during this final exam. With the another author's interference, the possibility of them contracting with demons would increase. After eating barbecue, everyone played werewolf. During the game, everyone kept saying Che Na-yoon was the werewolf. Seeing I was the instigator, she got angry at me. At night, I came outside alone to look at the scenery. It had been a long time since I'd been this happy. At this time, my computer had new messages. It turned out someone had posted a commission at the affairs office. I then used the Book of Truth. Countless messages quickly flooded into my mind. This process always made me very uncomfortable, but fortunately I could successfully get answers. The other party was also very generous with payment. After closing the computer, I sat quietly alone, occasionally looking at the distant scenery. When I lived alone in a rental apartment before, I had developed a smoking habit. I had just habitually raised my hand when I remembered I had quit smoking long ago, but I only quit after entering the novel. But my habitual action was noticed by Che Na-yoon behind me. She said I must have been a little punk before. Then Che Na-yoon wanted to know if I really had confidence to beat her. But I asked her in return, if you lose then, do you have the confidence to give up archery? Che Na-yoon didn't answer because she didn't think she would lose at all. I told her to go back to sleep quickly. Before leaving, Che Na-yoon childishly made a disdainful gesture before departing. The next day, near an orphanage, Yoo Jae-hyuk had been waiting in secret using his ability, just as his magic power was about to be exhausted. He finally saw a figure appear at the orphanage entrance. The person was holding a baby in their arms, then gently placed him at the entrance. Yoo Jae-hyuk wanted to continue watching, but his magic power was already depleted and he couldn't maintain the past scene anymore. He discovered that this student named Kim Ha-jin had extremely high historical density. His magic power couldn't last long at all. Back in reality, Yoo Jae-hyuk was puzzled. He couldn't understand what made me so special. His magic power was already depleted for the day. Yoo Jae-hyuk returned to his agency. When employees asked about it, he also mentioned that the investigation target this time was very special. But when they pressed for more details, Yoo Jae-hyuk said he needed to use the restroom first. In the restroom, he shared the minimal information he had gathered. Afterwards, Yoo Jae-hyuk planned to wait until he felt refreshed before diving deeper into the investigation. He hadn't expected his niece's favor to be this troublesome, especially since he was helping for free. Yoo Jae-hyuk felt it was too much of a loss. Hearing his words, an employee opened the door and said that even if it was a loss, they had to continue investigating, because the agency had received another commission, also requesting background investigation on Kim Ha-jin. Moreover, the client was a highest-rank Red Diamond member from Purple Smoke Obscurity, who was the same level as Yoo Jae-hyuk. Looking at that impolite commission email and the ridiculously high deposit, he immediately concluded this was a commission from the false color team. Now Yoo Jae-hyuk was even more certain that Kim Ha-jin was truly no ordinary person. Time flew by and Friday arrived. The instructor notified everyone that final exams would be in 4 weeks. This final exam was completely different from the midterm. He reminded everyone to make thorough preparations. The final exam would be conducted in a non-public format at an arena on a remote island. There were countless monsters and beasts there, and students would undergo a week-long survival test on the island. I thought that if the CO author interfered with this matter, earth-shaking changes would probably occur again. Moreover, with those repeating students around, we needed to be even more mentally prepared. At this point, the instructor said he couldn't reveal the detailed exam content yet, but this exam had invited many instructors and heroes to ensure safety, so there was no need to worry about security issues. Day ended, it was weekend again, and I was preparing to pack up and go back. Che Na-yoon asked me if I hadn't forgotten about our bet. I told her that if she lost, she should remember to give up archery. Che Na-yoon shot back harshly, telling me not to cry when I lost. Then we went together to the archery range within Cube Academy. Soon both of us were equipped with our gear. But what puzzled me was why there were so many spectators. Lee Youngin said naturally that this kind of bet needed an audience to feel exciting. Shin Jong-hak angrily asked me if I could drop out of Cube Academy if I lost. Seeing this, Che Na-yoon drove them all away because the competition was about to start. We were competing at shooting high-speed flying targets. Next to us was the target launcher, with a starting shooting distance of 100 meters. Each time we both hit the target, the distance would increase by 50 meters until one side missed. Che Na-yoon thought I would back down when faced with difficulty, but unexpectedly, I found it simpler than I had imagined. As the competition began, Che Na-yoon and I simultaneously drew our bows. After she said start, she shot her arrow. This arrow easily hit the bullseye of the flying target. 100 meters was too simple for her, but when she looked back, Che Na-yoon was dumbfounded. I explained that I was just startled and didn't have time to shoot. Could I have another chance? This scene made the students behind us burst into laughter, with Shin Jong-hak telling me to get lost. Hearing my words, Che Na-yoon was speechless, but she still agreed to give me another chance. After all, even my posture wasn't standard. Shooting however many times wouldn't make a difference. Hearing this, I drew the bowstring again. Che Na-yoon's posture was naturally much more standard than mine, but in this world, standard posture was just icing on the cake, because talent was the key that determined everything. Seeing the target fly out, I immediately shot my arrow. With my Deadeye talent, I was destined to surpass Chae Na-yoon in archery, as Deadeye provided assistance to my arrow. This arrow also perfectly hit the bullseye. Seeing this scene, Kim Soo-ho and the others outside the field could hardly believe it. Chae Na-yoon was the same, because just a second ago I was unable to shoot successfully due to improper posture. Having found my rhythm, I told her to continue the competition. When Chae Na-yoon was young, everyone called her a prodigy. Because of her archery talent, Yoo Se-hyuk even gave her an expensive magic sword. However, when he heard that his disciple wanted to switch to becoming an archer, Yoo Se-hyuk initially thought Chae Na-yoon was doing this because of her mother, but Chae Na-yoon refuted this. She said she simply wanted to change direction and claimed that even if she switched to being an archer, she would still excel. At the same time, she apologized to her master because she had disappointed her master who gave the magic sword to her. Yoo Se-hyuk was angry about Chae Na-yoon's choice. But after being angry, Yoo Se-hyuk didn't stop her. Instead, he asked if this was really what she wanted to choose, and told Chae Na-yoon to think carefully and not regret it. Now time passed bit by bit, and my competition with Chae Na-yoon had reached a distance of 450 meters. After she successfully hit the bullseye, I also followed with a successful hit. The archers from the Truth class found it incredible that I could actually keep up with Chae Na-yoon's pace. Some analyzed that if Kim Ha-jin had only hit once or twice, that would be one thing. But every time Chae Na-yoon hit a target, Kim Ha-jin would immediately follow without hesitation. This was a competition, and Chae Na-yoon's pressure was definitely increasing bit by bit. There was even a possibility she might lose the match. However, after sensing Shin Jong-hak's anger, the people behind quickly stopped their analysis. During the 9th round of archery, Chae Na-yoon failed to hit the bullseye for the first time. This made her face look very unpleasant. My voice then came through, "I already told you, you're not suited to be an archer." To this, Chae Na-yoon thought I was afraid and told me to shut up and concentrate on shooting. But I understood her personality. She wasn't steady, and simple provocation would make her angry and shake her resolve. This kind of personality wasn't suited for being an archer, yet she still insisted on using a bow because she was afraid. I also said mercilessly, "Are you afraid of fighting with a sword?" With these words, I completely enraged Chae Na-yoon. This was the first time she had shown me such an expression. I didn't stop talking, but more nakedly exposed the truth. "You're just brainwashing yourself, trying to make yourself believe that even using a bow, you'll become the most formidable hero. Although you switched to being an archer midway, your performance so far has been quite excellent. But with just your current strength, forget about avenging your family. You'd barely be able to kill even one demon." My words made Chae Na-yoon lose her composure. This also caused her arrow to not even hit the target. Chae Na-yoon herself couldn't react in time. But I had already followed up with an arrow and successfully hit the bullseye. At this moment, everyone's eyes widened. They had never imagined this scenario would happen, because Cube Academy's first-grade genius girl had actually lost to a bottom-ranked student. With the bet concluded, Chae Na-yoon quickly fled the scene. Everyone worriedly went to look for her. Finally, Yoo Yeon-ha found her on a bench in a corner. Chae Na-yoon looked very dejected. What Yoo Yeon-ha didn't expect was that Chae Na-yoon was crying. She said, "Kim Ha-jin helped me before. Although our relationship isn't close, why does he always target me?" Yoo Yeon-ha also didn't understand. Both mother and brother were Chae Na-yoon's painful points, yet I had just directly opened her wounds. After her brain worked at high speed, she realized both of these people were talents she absolutely had to recruit, and she couldn't let their relationship deteriorate. Yoo Yeon-ha then brought up some of my background, saying, "I heard Kim Ha-jin is an orphan. He might be doing this because he has the same experiences as you, so he empathizes." At the same time, Yoo Yeon-ha shared her speculation that Kim Ha-jin went to such lengths to wake you up, perhaps because he hopes you can live your own life well. After saying this, Yoo Yeon-ha prepared to leave. She knew these words needed time to think about. After sitting for a while longer, Chae Na-yoon remembered things from her childhood. Back then, her brother was also curious why she wanted to switch to being an archer. Although Chae Jin-woo believed in his sister, he also made his sister promise him that after preparing properly in the future, she must seriously consider what she truly wanted to do in her heart. Now Chae Na-yoon remembered that she had forgotten her promise with her brother for a long time. Meanwhile, on the other side, a window prompt left me completely baffled, because it said my interpersonal relationships had changed, and I had even gained SP points because of it. Chae Na-yoon would now return to being her true self, taking a path different from the novel I had written. The next morning, Yoo Jin-hyuk told Yoo Yeon-ha about the current investigation situation. However, he didn't mention the false color team, only saying that I might be involved with an extraordinary organization. To this, Yoo Yeon-ha said she had already decided she must recruit me to join Essence Straight. Yoo Jin-hyuk was startled, and thinking wrongly, he hurriedly said, "As an uncle, I'll work harder." After that competition, this matter spread throughout the school, and even the instructor called me for a private talk. Everyone's reaction was too strong. I didn't even dare enter the classroom now. Today, I also came to train early in the morning thinking there wouldn't be anyone at this time. But the scene in the training room surprised me greatly, because Chae Na-yoon was already training alone, and she was practicing with a sword. She had even cut her long hair short. At this time, she also noticed me and quickly hid the sword. I curiously asked why she came to train so early. Chae Na-yoon said, "Can't I come?" Then I mentioned her hair, saying she must have cut it because she lost the bet. Hearing this, Chae Na-yoon became anxious and explained that she cut it because it was too hot. I said happily, "This hairstyle suits you very well. Is this hairstyle cool?" Knowing I meant no harm, Chae Na-yoon also responded to me weakly. Next, I was going to train too. Watching me leave, Chae Na-yoon thought to herself, Kim Ha-jin was originally a swordsman too. When he gave up years of sword training to switch to other weapons, what kind of feelings did he have? This brief meditation made Chae Na-yoon's magic power even stronger. After she attached magic to her sword, the sword sword's length extended. It could even touch the ceiling. Now Chae Na-yoon recalled what I had said before. She couldn't help but wonder, did I know everything from the beginning? Time came to evening, and I purchased some outdoor survival items. These would be used for the final exam, although they would check personal items when entering the exam venue. That was only to search for self-made armor or weapons. Just then, the Evangeline seed urged me to feed it again. Recently, the seed had been getting bigger and bigger. I thought it should be born soon. The newborn Evangeline would look like a 3 or 4-year-old child. As long as I used witch power to change its form, it should be able to live in the dorm together. Thinking of this, I looked forward to its birth even more. Meanwhile, in a hotel in S City, the captain wanted to disguise herself as a student to infiltrate the final exam, so she asked Jane for help. She wanted to go in to properly confirm someone's strength and also retrieve something from the exam venue. Seeing that the captain had made up her mind, Jane no longer tried to stop her. She then began using her skill. After finishing, Jane shared the disguised identity information with the captain and reminded her to memorize it all. Seeing Jane looking so worried, the captain couldn't help but smile. Disguising as a student wasn't that difficult. After a few days, the captain had successfully disguised herself. Faced with the intimacy between two female classmates, she now finally understood what the friendship relationship and the intelligence meant. Fortunately, this wasn't difficult for her either. But when I appeared and saw this scene, the captain's composure and calmness disappeared, and I instantly fell silent. Then I used observation. Her disguise couldn't fool me at all. The captain could tell from my expression that I had already discovered her disguised identity. I stared for too long, and the other two girls noticed me, so I quickly turned and left. After reaching my seat, I still hadn't figured out the situation. The captain's appearance surprised me. Moreover, she stayed at the school for the following period. After many more days, the final written exam ended, and now it was time for the final practical exam. I had been observing the captain recently, and the SEO Yujin she was impersonating showed no abnormal behavior. I thought the captain would disappear after midterms like in the original story. Although I didn't know the reason, I'd better keep an eye on her. I could also earn SP points in the process. Even though I had gotten closer to her these days, my total gain was just a bottle of cola. I guess the captain was probably here to conduct in-depth investigation of Kim Soo-ho and Shin Jong-hak. After everyone gathered, the instructor began announcing the rules. The final exam's practical process wasn't complicated. Basically, survive on the distant island for 5 days while earning points during this time. Points could be obtained by eliminating monsters on the island, or by robbing other students. If someone wanted better grades, they could steal instructors' badges. Each one was worth 200 points. Of course, I thought no one would be willing to challenge that, since all the instructors this time were active heroes. Not long after, everyone had landed on shore one after another. I found Rachel in the crowd, then asked if she wanted to act together with me during the final exam. I did this because she had gotten off the boat with me just now. I thought this wasn't a coincidental situation. Through the CO author's new changes last time, with the addition of vengeful villains, Rachel's probability of facing danger would greatly increase. So during the final exam, she would likely be the person in the most dangerous situation. My invitation greatly surprised Rachel, but accustomed to acting alone, she still refused, though this was within my expectations. So I changed my approach and said, just in case, I'll share my location with you. Seeing this, Rachel accepted my goodwill. When the exam progressed to that evening, Chae Na-yoon was still hunting. Facing a monster sneak attack from behind, she showed no panic at all. She picked up her longsword and instantly killed the monster. This time, Chae Na-yoon's strength had greatly improved. As for her bow, she also carried it with her. But after killing this monster, Chae Na-yoon wasn't happy because she was directionally challenged and now completely lost in this place. She felt dejected. From the moment she landed, she had been desperately killing monsters, yet she couldn't find food or a place to rest. She understood that continuing like this, she would likely be the first person eliminated, and eliminated due to hunger. After walking for a while longer, Chae Na-yoon finally discovered light. And the closer she got, the stronger the aroma of food became. She happily rushed over when Chae Na-yoon emerged through the bushes. I also discovered her. Seeing it was me, Chae Na-yoon couldn't believe it. I reminded her that students could only fight each other after 12 hours. Fortunately, Chae Na-yoon wasn't here to cause trouble. Her attention was entirely on the roasted meat in the pot. I said this was food I had prepared in advance. She proudly complimented me, but soon her stomach began growling. This made her face turn red with embarrassment. Naturally, I wouldn't let her go hungry. I then told Chae Na-yoon that if she gave me half her current points, I'd give her food. Hearing I wanted so many points, Chae Na-yoon was shocked, but her stomach growled again, so she had to agree. I had originally thought the first person I'd encounter would be Rachel, but I saw Chae Na-yoon first instead. She was now eating quite contentedly. After all, my cooking skills were quite good. Next, I used my computer to access the drone server to check on some of the student situations. Through one of the cameras, I saw that Rachel had also found a group of students with food. She wanted to buy food from the people ahead, but they said she didn't need to give points. Because everyone was classmates, there was no need to buy and sell food. But I understood that the group ahead of Rachel was exactly the repeating students. When the next morning came, I woke up from my sleeping bag. However, I soon discovered that today seemed to be experiencing polar night. The sky still hadn't brightened until now. Chae Na-yoon hadn't woken up yet. The Evangeline beside me was jumping around. It seemed she was already hungry. The appearance of the Evangeline seed made me unconsciously praise how cute it was. After feeding it, I put it in my pocket. Next, I needed to move locations. I then called to Chae Na-yoon, saying I was going to pack up the tent. But she seemed not to have woken up yet, so I didn't continue disturbing her. After all, I was just packing up the tent. She had a sleeping bag and wouldn't be affected. From today on, students could start fighting each other, but killing wasn't allowed. So even if I suspected those students were demons, it was useless since they probably weren't yet. Thinking of this, I prepared to go to high ground for better observation and advantageous shooting. My first destination was the World Tree located on this island. I then quickly headed there, but just after I left, Chae Na-yoon's sleeping bag moved a bit. Not long after, I arrived at my destination, but someone in the shadows had set their sights on me. Just as they were about to make a move, Yoo Yeon-ha stopped them. She reminded her teammate Rose not to provoke me. The girl beside her was stunned, because I was only ranked 934th. Yoo Yeon-ha said, "You can't beat him." I then walked to the World Tree, watching my jumping posture. Rose wondered if I was really planning to jump up. It was exactly as she thought. Even with the towering World Tree, I could quickly climb up using parkour. Seeing this, Rose finally believed it. Yoo Yeon-ha also reminded her not to tell others that Kim Ha-jin was strong, because we might become colleagues in the future. Rose said she would keep it secret. Just then, Yoo Yeon-ha also received a message, and the person contacting her was Seo Eugene. Yoo Yeon-ha then took Rose back with her. After I climbed to the middle section of the World Tree, I directly activated Eagle Eye for observation. After observing for a period of time, I suddenly spotted someone and lingered on them for a while. Soon I thought of how to deal with the repeating students, so I carved specific content and coordinates on a tree branch, then threw it out with force. I attached Stigma's magic power to it. Soon I made the branch accurately stick into the ground. This person was Shin Jong-hak. After he picked up the branch, he quickly turned to see who had thrown it. Unfortunately, at such a distance, Shin Jong-hak couldn't possibly discover me. Next, I just needed to quietly wait for things to develop. On the other side, at the campsite where I had rested last night, after Chae Na-yoon confirmed I had left, only then did she emerge from her sleeping bag. She had actually been awake just now, but she mistakenly thought the cute I said was referring to her. Thinking about being called cute by me, Chae Na-yoon's face instantly turned red. Although she was often praised, me calling her cute while she was sleeping, Chae Na-yoon didn't understand what I was trying to do. But she also thought maybe a stray cat or dog had gotten into the tent, or maybe I was praising myself. But after eliminating these possibilities, my words were really directed at her. If that was the case, Chae Na-yoon didn't know what she should do. However, I was elsewhere. Naturally, I didn't know that my praise for Evangeline would make Chae Na-yoon think so much. After some more time passed, Rachel and those repeating students had already begun slowly exploring the forest, but she felt increasingly uneasy. Since last night, she had been acting together with Jo Yuk-soon's group, although they shared food with her without requiring points, and even took care of her in every way. However, during their journey together, Rachel discovered these repeating students were very strange. Unlike other students who worked hard to earn points, the repeating students had no intention of getting points at all, and they kept quietly paying attention to her. Rachel's feeling was that, rather than points, they seemed more concerned about her movements. These suspicious points made Rachel understand she had to find a chance to leave. While she was considering this, Jo Yuk-soon suddenly called to her, saying he had found a gray bear worth 10 points and wanted Rachel to help catch it together. Hearing this, Rachel agreed. She thought that after helping with this favor, she could leave. After walking for a short while, Jo Yuk-soon said there was a very large bear ahead. But when Rachel looked, standing at the cliff's edge was clearly the same kind of demon as during the midterm exam. Jo Yuk-soon was still playing dumb, saying, "That doesn't seem to be an instructor." After noticing the demon's killing intent, Rachel pushed Jo Yuk-soon away. Sure enough, in the next second, the demon's attack arrived instantly. Rachel hadn't expected this accident to happen. The demon had actually pursued them here. The urgent matter was to dodge first. She then asked about Jo Yuk-soon's condition, but he pretended to be severely injured and pretended to be very frightened, shouting, "Demon!" then directly ran away. Seeing this, Rachel was helpless. Such terrible acting was unwatchable. Now she also understood why that group of people had seemed so suspicious. Only Rachel had never imagined that Cube Academy students would actually help demons. At this time, the demon ahead directly attacked. In the next instant, rock spikes rapidly rushed toward Rachel after she quickly dodged. The demon took advantage of the dust to attack. Although the opponent's destructive power was strong, currently it didn't make her feel undefeatable. Rachel then launched a fierce counterattack. After some close combat, Rachel found the demon's exposed weakness. But just as she was about to stab, she discovered her foot was bound and couldn't move. Then another demon appeared behind Rachel. Now it was a pincer attack from both sides. Rachel knew she probably couldn't escape. Just as the newly appeared demon attacked, the sky flashed with rapid light. In the next second, a bullet directly pierced through the demon. Watching the demon suddenly fall, Rachel still didn't know what had happened, but the death of its companion made the demon that had been fighting furious. It then unleashed its full demonic power, trying to kill Rachel. Just then, a crisp sound of drawing a sword rang out. Kim Soo-ho, who had arrived, blocked the demon's attack. At the same time, he called for Chae Na-yoon to attack. This made the demon hurriedly turn to look, but Chae Na-yoon's charged arrow had already been shot. The demon, unable to dodge in time, was hit by the arrow on the spot. Seeing that students from the truth class had arrived, Rachel finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chae Na-yoon and the others had rushed over after hearing the battle sounds. Fortunately, Rachel was unharmed. Kim Soo-ho checked at the cliff and found the opponent hadn't died but had escaped after being hit by the arrow. At this time, Kim Soo-ho suggested that Rachel act together with them, and they would separate after leaving this place. The group then left from there, but just after starting to move, Rachel discovered something on the ground. Curious, she looked down. It turned out there was a large caliber bullet buried in the dirt on the ground, so Rachel picked it up, a bullet appearing at the battle site. She couldn't help but speculate, could the first attack not have been launched by Chae Na-yoon? Meanwhile, I was observing the fleeing Jo Yuk-soon. Considering that someone would naturally deal with him, I didn't take direct action. Not long after, Kim Suho and the others found a place to rest. Kim Suho asked Chae Na-yoon if she had decided to bring her sword in battle. Chae Na-yoon said the sword was just a secondary weapon. The final exam was very important, and using only a bow would be too difficult. Rachel kept thinking about the origin of this bullet, although she already had an answer in her heart. But how did Kim Ha-jin know she was in danger? Why did he come to help her? And why didn't he show himself after helping? Suddenly, Chae Na-yoon beside her said, "Anyway, Kim Suho and I don't have teammates. We can cooperate and act together." But Rachel refused. She apologized and got up to leave. Kim Suho suggested staying a bit longer. Going out alone now would be dangerous. Hearing this, Rachel still decided to leave because she wanted to see someone. Meanwhile, on the other side, I had just finished hunting several monsters and now had 22 points. But to be safe, I probably needed about 50 more points to pass the exam smoothly. If I relied solely on killing monsters, this would require a lot of time. Just as I was sighing about this, I looked up and was stunned because the captain disguised as SEO Yujin had found me. I couldn't help but suspect she might be here to fight, but how could I possibly be her opponent? However, thinking she was probably here to observe, I calmed down and asked what she wanted from me. But she actually drew her sword directly. This made my heart sink. I hadn't expected she really wanted to fight me. She coldly told me to take up my weapon. I pretended to be confused to buy time, while quietly activating the ether in my clothes. Seeing this, the captain told me not to play dumb. She knew she had been recognized by me long ago. Seeing me keep stalling for time, she wondered what I was trying to do, but I didn't answer her. She then assumed I agreed and prepared to attack. However, she didn't notice that the ether rope I controlled had already unfastened her watch. With my objective achieved, I breathed a sigh of relief. She was puzzled about what I was doing with the watch. Was I planning to surrender directly? Hearing this, I told her, "This isn't my watch." After being stunned for a few seconds, she looked at her own wrist and then exclaimed. I said, "In student duels, whoever takes the watch first wins, because pressing the watch's fingerprint lock will eliminate the original owner." She angrily said I'd used underhanded tactics. I then threw the watch back to her. I also said smugly, "This time I'll consider it going easy on you." With these words, she was even more dumbfounded. But before she could ask, I decisively turned and ran. She then contacted Jane, but she had just been distracted and didn't see this scene. The captain began analyzing, although she had lost half her perception due to Jane's skill. A 17-year-old student like me actually had such a meticulous side. Now she began to regret her carelessness. After a while, I found a suitable place to camp and rest. Having just escaped the crisis brought by the captain, I prepared to have a good meal before earning more points. But then rustling sounds came from nearby. Turning to look, I was surprised to see Rachel had found me. She had indeed come specifically to find me. Rachel was about to ask about the previous matter, but since she hadn't eaten, her stomach growled. I then had Rachel sit down to eat together. Embarrassed, she quickly said she would give me points. While waiting for the food to cook, Rachel wanted to know what I had been doing alone all this time. After I told her I had been earning points, I understood what Rachel was curious about. At the same time, I noticed the wound on her neck, which should have been left from fighting the demon. Just then, the Evangeline in my pocket kept wriggling. In the next second, it jumped out by itself, and even stuck to Rachel's wound. Evangeline moved too quickly for me to stop it. Rachel also didn't know what had happened. When she slowly reached to touch it, the wriggling sensation on her neck scared Rachel badly, and she couldn't help but scream. After removing Evangeline's seed, Rachel felt much better. I quickly apologized and said this was a pet seed I was raising. Hearing this, Rachel handed Evangeline back to me. To ease the awkward atmosphere, I said, "The food is ready, let's eat first." Rachel said, "Although it's a bit late, I want to team up with you." I also agreed to Rachel's request, saying, "Your words are exactly the same as Chae Na-yoon's." This made Rachel mistakenly think Chae Na-yoon had asked to team up with me first. After I said no, Rachel remembered she still had her original team, learning it was Jo Yuxin's group. I told Rachel not to worry. Leaving the team directly was fine. After all, they would probably be eliminated soon. Just as I thought, after arriving at the repeating students' camp, Shin Jong-hak showed no mercy. Those repeating students were all beaten to serious injury. When Jo Yuxin returned, the scene before him left him confused about what had happened. Even more confused about why Shin Jong-hak was there. Seeing Jo Yuxin, Shin Jong-hak suddenly showed an evil smile, then threw the branch in his hand. Jo Yuxun slowly turned his head and looked. There was clearly provocative content and coordinates written on it. Understanding the situation, he quickly explained that he didn't send this out. It was a misunderstanding. Shin Jong-hak casually replied that it didn't matter. His words also made Jo Yuxun feel a chill. After picking up his long spear, Shin Jong-hak approached step by step, expressing that it didn't matter who sent it. He just couldn't stand ants. This group of people in the repeating class were overestimating themselves, and they also liked to scheme behind people's backs and gossip. Shin Jong-hak had always genuinely despised them. Meanwhile, inside the monitoring tower in the northwest part of the island, Yoon Sung-ya, who served as one of the examiners, was silently thinking. Seeing this, a companion curiously asked who she was thinking about. After hearing Yoon Sung-ya answer that it was Kim Ha-jin, the man was somewhat puzzled, because wasn't she most fond of Kim Soo-ho? Yoon Sung-ya smiled and said she had considered Kim Soo-ho first, but recently she had obtained a report. In it, Yoo Yeon-ha's evaluation of Kim Ha-jin was more special than Kim Soo-ho's. Plus, the light magic power from the previous demon incident. Yoon Sung-ya didn't care about the report's authenticity. Taking this opportunity to get to know Kim Ha-jin better wouldn't be bad. Her companion companion was curious about how she would verify his strength. To this, Yoon Sung-ya pointed to her badge, which was exactly the best bait. The next morning, Rachel stayed alone at the camp. This time, she was certain that the person who protected her was me, but she didn't understand why I hadn't admitted to this, and was also curious about how I knew she was in crisis. As for the encounters during this final exam, Rachel knew it was Alex Lancaster's arrangement. Thinking about this, her heart became even heavier. At the same time, she developed a certain dark thought. On the other side, I was continuously hunting. Today's harvest had basically met expectations. Rachel would have come along too, but her condition wasn't very good this morning. Fortunately, after feeding her some meat, she recovered some energy and should be able to hunt together soon. Just then, the shimmering light nearby attracted me. I then pushed through the trees and gradually approached the light source. I didn't expect that behind this forest there was actually a huge lake. Seeing this, I estimated there should be monsters with higher point values inside, possibly crocodiles or something similar. To see clearly what was inside, I used my stigmata to condense a ball of light. As long as I illuminated the lake surface, whatever monsters were inside wouldn't be able to hide. But the sound from behind startled me. I loudly questioned, and when no one responded, I understood that the other party must have been tracking me for a long time and had very strong concealment abilities. However, since I had detected under my eagle eye any invisibility skills would leave traces. But after discovering it was someone familiar, I directly fired a shot next to her, and the startled Che Na-yoon quickly stood up. Seeing that she was about to get angry, I asked why she followed me. Che Na-yoon hurriedly denied that she wasn't. I said, "If you weren't following me, then what are you doing here?" Hearing this, Che Na-yoon couldn't say anything, so she changed the subject and asked what I had thrown into the water just now. I told her to first explain why she was following me, and angrily she said she came following Yoon Sung-ya. Hearing this, I confirmed again whether it was the one I knew. Although my words sounded somewhat annoying, Che Na-yoon still confirmed it. Then I turned around and took out my computer while telling her to wait a moment. I was now preparing to check the drone footage. In the novel, Yoon Sung-ya had been observing Kim Soo-ho for the past 2 days. Later, she went to look at other potential candidates, but now she had found me. From the drone surveillance, I also found that Yoon Sung-ya was indeed nearby. Her behavior basically indicated that I was also on the list of potential candidates. Che Na-yoon quickly asked if I had just created a ball of light. I admitted to this, but then told her not to keep asking, because knowing too much could be dangerous. Seeing my tsundere appearance, Che Na-yoon said very unhappily that she actually didn't want to know that much anyway. Too lazy to argue with Che Na-yoon, I said I was here first and told her to go hunt somewhere else. After sending Che Na-yoon away, I also breathed a sigh of relief. Indeed, I couldn't let her keep asking, because to explain the magic power of the stigmata, I would have to tell Che Na-yoon that this was a novel world. 2 hours after separating from Che Na-yoon, I hunted many monsters. They were all mid to low level ones, but I quickly obtained 15 points. But now I had a new headache-inducing problem, because Yoon Sung-ya, who had been tracking me all along, was no longer observing secretly. Instead, she actively appeared and greeted me. Seeing my wary appearance, she said she was testing students' abilities everywhere and incidentally giving out benefits. The rules for obtaining benefits were also very simple. Yoon Sung-ya said she would stand in place and let me attack, and would only use her left hand, as long as I could effectively hit body parts other than her left hand, or make her move her feet. She would give me the examiner's badge worth 200 points. This tempting and seemingly not too difficult condition was indeed full of allure for students. Although the opponent was the famous hero Yoon Sung-ya, if I got the badge, I would basically be guaranteed first place. Yoon Sung-ya wanted to know whether I would try or give up. To this, I slowly placed my hand on my gun. How could I possibly pass up such an opportunity to obtain a large number of points? The next second, I decisively fired, but Yoon Sung-ya just casually waved her hand. She actually knocked the bullet directly to the ground. This strike also made her understand that I indeed had ability. She had condensed a ball of light before, and now was using an ordinary handgun to create such great power. However, after feeling this shot, she just smiled and said it was quite painful. She hadn't even used magic power. Seeing this, I knew the gap between us was too great. Relying on honest methods, it seemed there was no chance at all. Then I threw out my flying knives. After easily dodging, Yoon Sung-ya didn't forget to praise me, but I took the opportunity to fire continuously. However, the continuous enhanced magic bullets were all blocked by her in an instant. At this time, Yoon Sung-ya guessed that I should have gun-related talents, and I used my stigmata to control the flying knives to attack her. At such close distance, I thought she wouldn't have time to block with her left hand. But even if she didn't notice the turning flying knives in time, even if Yoon Sung-ya just released the aura of her magic power, it directly broke both flying knives. Seeing her such formidable strength, I also understood that victory was simply impossible, and Yoon Sung-ya was very surprised. She didn't expect I could use magic power to modify the flying knives' trajectory. She even compared me to an onion. The more you peel inward, the more surprises there are. At the same time, she was curious about how I did it and wanted to know my other abilities. But I understood I couldn't win, so I didn't plan to waste time. Seeing me directly turn and leave, Yoon Sung-ya seemed very puzzled. I decisively told her I decided to give up, and Yoon Sung-ya still wanted to continue persuading me to stay, but I just wanted to hunt properly and obtain points. This scene below was all seen by the captain in secret. After I left, Darren sent a message to the captain. He thought separating from the original owner's friends would arouse suspicion, but the captain really couldn't stand it. She thought acting together would be worse instead. Then, the entire island suddenly shook. The captain also understood that the tremor meant the butterfly larvae were about to awaken. At the same time, somewhere on the island, a huge purple egg was making heavy heartbeat sounds, and it was exactly the egg that could breed butterfly larvae, a type of spirit monster that parasitized on trees. In my original work, after the butterfly larvae appeared, they would be killed by the protagonist team. Kim Soo-ho would obtain the larval powder powder as a result. Rachel would get inspiration about opening her eyes. Now Rachel was on my team. To help her open her eyes, I would have to guide her to participate in battle. But the problem was that I hadn't written the exact location of the larvae in detail back then. At this time, Rachel began to wonder why I kept circling around the area. Hearing this, I also fell silent. Not knowing the exact battle location, I could only wait for the right moment. After some time passed. On the other side, Kim Soo-ho's team had already cooperatively hunted many monsters. Now it was the 4th day, with only 20 hours left until the exam ended. At this time, Chae Na-yoon suddenly asked Kim Soo-ho, "What do you think of Kim Ha-jin as a person?" Hearing this, Kim Soo-ho was puzzled, not knowing why Kim Ha-jin was suddenly mentioned. Chae Na-yoon said, "From the museum incident to P-City, I think he has too many secrets." Hearing the word secrets, Kim Soo-ho instantly thought of what I had said during the wealthy incident. Then he misunderstood the relationship between me and Chae Na-yoon. Seeing Kim Soo-ho's expression, Chae Na-yoon thought he had inside information. Kim Soo-ho just smiled and told her to ask me herself. But at the next moment, a terrifying tree root suddenly burst out from behind, and the entire island was swept by countless tree roots. On the other side, I finally felt the changes on the island. Other students encountered attacking tree roots one after another. For a moment, fighting sounds and screams echoed through the forest, and huge tremors occurred all around. Seeing the time had come, I told Rachel that we were going to the source of the tremor to catch monsters next. I would need her protection in places where monsters appeared. Although she didn't know what I wanted to do, Rachel quickly agreed. Students who felt the earthquake should all head toward the butterfly larvae. I couldn't possibly give this opportunity to others, so I immediately led Rachel at full speed toward the source of the tremor. The situation on the island had already been discovered by the examiners. Vieri thought this monster wasn't within the exam scope, so he asked whether to suspend the exam. But Yoon Sung-ya felt it wasn't necessary. The students in the exam venue had complete ability to deal with the butterfly larvae. She believed this group of future heroes wouldn't disappoint her. And on the island, Chae Na-yoon decisively took out her sword when facing the huge tree roots. Even though she hadn't practiced for years, her talent was still very powerful. Seeing Chae Na-yoon solve the largest tree root with one move, both Kim Soo-ho and Lee Young-in were very impressed. At the same time, Kim Soo-ho suggested that if the sword energy was closer to the sword, it would be sharper when cutting monsters. After continuing to fight for a while, Lee Young-in discovered that these tree roots seemed endless no matter how much they cut. To this, Kim Soo-ho also noticed, since cutting tree roots was useless, they should go deal with the main body of the tree roots. Students nearby discovered that there was something wrong with a tree ahead. Something seemed to be moving inside the cocoon on the tree. However, the cocoon was soon directly torn apart. What emerged from it was exactly a beautiful butterfly larva. The students below didn't recognize this peculiar monster. After flying out from the cocoon, the butterfly larva scattered much powder in the air. This powder with tiny fluorescent lights slowly enveloped the entire forest. When Chae Na-yoon and the others arrived, they also discovered the light spots floating in the air. Just as they were wondering what it was, Chae Na-yoon suddenly felt breathing was very difficult, accompanied by her whole body becoming very weak. The surrounding students all fell victim one after another. In just a few seconds, she could no longer support herself and collapsed. Fortunately, Kim Soo-ho caught her in time. After checking both of them, Kim Soo-ho found they had just fallen asleep. It didn't seem like poisoning. He had also sensed something was wrong and held his breath in time, which is why he didn't fall victim. But he also couldn't keep holding his breath to act. He couldn't be sure whether he could subdue the butterfly in the air before inhaling the powder. Just then, Kim Soo-ho suddenly heard rapid footsteps. Looking up, two figures leaped out from the bushes. After discovering it was me and Rachel, he was quite surprised. I'd given Rachel a mask beforehand, which is why we weren't affected by the butterfly powder. Looking at the students collapse on the roadside one by one, Rachel couldn't help wondering if I had anticipated this situation. But before she could think more, I had already locked onto the target and told Rachel. Later, I would go deal with the butterfly monster, during which I needed her to cover me from being hindered by tree roots. After getting Rachel's response, I quickly picked up my handgun. Then I continuously shot at the butterfly larva in the air. After being hit in the wings, the pained butterfly larva let out a huge wail. Then it summoned more tree roots. Fortunately, Rachel was protecting me. These tree roots were easily cut by her. But the next second, Rachel suddenly startled. The tree roots from underground were attacking me. Rachel pushed me away with one hand, successfully avoiding the butterfly larva's attack, but her foot was entangled by tree roots. Then she was heavily thrown to the side. Seeing this, I urgently called out to Rachel, wanting to know her condition. However, in just an instant, many more tree roots began attacking me. Just when I thought I was about to suffer heavy damage, Kim Soo-ho endured the discomfort and helped me block the attack. He confirmed at this time that he had still inhaled a bit of powder. I noticed Kim Soo-ho's condition wasn't very good. Plus, Rachel, who had fallen, should have lost consciousness. I didn't know what to do. Just as I was anxiously thinking, Evangeline in my clothes suddenly jumped out, looking very happy, and it quickly attached herself to Rachel. I wanted to grab her back, but now I needed to deal with the monster first. Kim Soo-ho said he could help me for a while longer, but probably couldn't hold on much longer. And my stigmata's magic power could at most create 3 fire attribute bullets. I needed to kill the butterfly larva before running out of bullets. Then I told Kim Soo-ho my idea. Although the butterfly larva was a spirit-type monster, its movements were very agile. So, if I wanted to deliver a fatal blow, I would have to aim at close range. Next, I planned to approach that monster. I needed you to attract the butterfly's attention. Kim Soo-ho agreed. Then he completely released the Sword Saint's magic power. Looking at the powerful force emanating, compared to the last time at the museum, Kim Soo-ho had become much stronger. He was also observing me, while sighing, no matter what secret skills I displayed. Kim Ha-jin always looked calm and composed, Not only that, he had even seen through Chae Na-yoon's talent before. He seemed to know everything in the world. Kim Soo-ho's words made me momentarily dazed. And after finishing speaking, he went to attract the butterfly monster. These tree roots were hardly a problem for Kim Soo-ho in his sword saint state. Seeing this, I also quickly approached the monster's direction. The momentary daze was because of Kim Soo-ho's perceptiveness, but I couldn't tell him that this was actually a novel world I had written, and I had become a character I had never written. After quickly reaching the highest point, I directly fired the flame magic bullet. This shot precisely hit the butterfly larva's vital spot. Seeing the monster burning fiercely in the air, Kim Soo-ho was very surprised, because this was a fire attribute attack, and he could now barely stand. Seeing me take action, he thought it should be ending. However, the butterfly larva in the air was still struggling frantically. One flame magic bullet hadn't killed it completely. Then it went to control tree roots to prepare to catch itself. Seeing its appearance, I understood the firepower wasn't enough, so I wanted to fire another shot. However, before I could act, the butterfly larva was struck by a purple lightning bolt. This time the monster finally fell down without resistance, but the person who struck was unexpected. The captain actually came to deliver the finishing blow at the crucial moment. I immediately suspected she came to steal the larval powder. Kim Soo-ho below looked at the monster with only its last breath. One drawing slash completely killed the butterfly larva. Seeing the monster lose its breath, Kim Soo-ho finally couldn't support himself anymore. Then he directly collapsed on the ground. The captain walked to the butterfly larva. She was about to reach out to obtain the larval powder, but was sternly stopped by me from behind. I couldn't just watch the captain take it. She didn't know the specific function of the larval powder yet. It seemed the captain was here to steal because spirit byproducts could sell for high prices. But the larval powder had great use for Kim Soo-ho. It could enable him to fight against future strong enemies. I had to let him get it. And after hearing my voice, the captain actually stopped. She scanned the surroundings. Other students had long been hypnotized by the butterfly powder. Although the hypnotic effect weakened after the larva died, I, a student, had persisted until now. Thinking about this, the captain once again confirmed that Kim Ha-jin was very mysterious, so she planned to observe more carefully. But actually during the battle just now, I had already inhaled the powder, and was now forcing myself to stay up with ether. I originally wanted to put on the mask, but the captain suddenly attacked me. This made me unable to react in time. After her magic power enveloped, a huge spherical barrier appeared in place, and inside the magic barrier she revealed her true appearance, at the same time asking if I recognized her. Hearing this, my brain worked quickly. Then I pretended to be surprised and said, "Are you Li Xiaopeng?" Upon hearing this, the captain was quite surprised. She searched for this name in her mind. Soon the captain also remembered that was a fake identity she had used when approaching me before. The captain wanted to know when I had discovered this. I was about to say I had just discovered it. Then she coldly threatened that if I dared to lie, she would kill me. Being scared by her like this, I quickly said it was when snatching the watch that I discovered it. Although this was also false, it should be within the captain's acceptable range. I told her that after close contact, I noticed the abnormality. After all, my eyes were quite sharp, but the captain understood that Jane's talent couldn't be seen through just by having good eyesight. Plus, I had previously ignored the interference device. She couldn't help wondering, could Kim Ha-jin's magic power have inherent magic subduing power? Because if it had inherent magic subduing power, as long as magic power was concentrated in the visual nerves, it could indeed be done. In that case, Kim Ha-jin would be precious talent that the false color team absolutely couldn't miss. After asking, the captain released the magic barrier. Seeing her slowly approach, I couldn't help breaking out in cold sweat. But unexpectedly, the captain reached out to give me the larval powder. Then she said as compensation, I needed to make recompense. But then the captain silently couldn't speak, because she didn't know what to ask for either. To this, Jane in the communication got anxious and told the captain to think slowly. Soon she gave an answer that puzzled me. She told me to give her my contact information. I had originally thought my life was in danger, but it turned out to be a false alarm. Although this final exam was quite bumpy, fortunately the important goal was achieved. But with the captain's involvement, I could only give the larval powder to Kim Soo-ho later. After the captain left, I suddenly realized I had almost forgotten about Rachel and Evangeline. When I turned to look, Rachel under the big tree was actually glowing with golden light all over her body. Seeing that the light source was bursting from her chest, I immediately understood this was a sign of Evangeline's birth. The next second, the huge golden light made it impossible for me to look directly. At this moment, Rachel in her sleep was still thinking about quickly eliminating the spirit, but the sudden bright light gave Rachel some consciousness. In her dream, she saw a small child. She even gently held the other person, that warm feeling, as if wounds were slowly healing, and Rachel felt something familiar about the child in her arms. If she had to describe the smile before her eyes, Rachel thought it was just like herself as a child. She seemed to hear the little girl speaking, but couldn't quite make it out. Then Rachel wanted to ask her again. However, Rachel was really too tired now, and even after fainting, she was still quietly asking what Evangeline had just said. But the answer Rachel wanted to know was heard clearly by me who arrived, because Evangeline affectionately called Rachel Mama, and even recognized me as Papa. After some time, when Chae Na-yoon woke up, she happened to discover the examiners who had come looking. I was moving the unconscious Kim Soo-ho and the others. After the chaotic fourth day passed, time came to the fifth day. All students were successively brought back safely. The annoying final exam also ended as scheduled, and the appearance of the butterfly larva also caused commotion among the examiners. Finally, after discussion, they unanimously decided to distribute the kill points to the 4 students who successfully repelled the monster. And after I went to bed, I kept waiting. But the captain didn't contact me. This also made me curious why she would be interested in me. Just as I was deep in thought, Chae Na-yoon suddenly asked how I had dealt with the monster in the end. It turned out Chae Chae Na-yoon had learned from Kim Soo-ho that I had shattered the butterfly's wings. I said, how could a small handgun possibly do that? Hearing this, Chae Na-yoon thought so too. She wanted to ask about what happened afterward, but I took the initiative to ask why she hadn't used her bow and arrows then. Upon hearing this, Chae Na-yoon was like being struck by lightning. She said, wasn't it you who told me to use the sword? I said, you're too rigid. Using weapons you're not proficient with in actual combat would put yourself in danger. Chae Na-yoon told me not to worry, because she wasn't a swordsmanship novice. Next, I wanted to know how she felt after using the sword. Seeing Chae Na-yoon turn her head away, I couldn't help questioning, saying, you're still a bit afraid, aren't you? Hearing this, she hurriedly defended herself in panic, but Chae Na-yoon's lying was particularly obvious. The other author surprisingly hadn't changed this setting. Then I smiled faintly, telling Chae Na-yoon, practice more in the future and you won't be afraid. After all, you're a natural-born swordsman. A few days after returning to the academy, in the cafeteria, Yoo Yeon-ha listened to Chae Na-yoon tell about her experience with me. She said Kim Ha-jin liked Chae Na-yoon, then asked for Kim Soo-ho's opinion. He also felt Yoo Yeon-ha's words made some sense. The two's continuous teasing made Chae Na-yoon feel flushed all over. Yoo Yeon-ha was asking what she planned to do in the future. Looking back, she discovered me buying things, and Chae Na-yoon hurriedly turned her head to hide. Seeing it was Kim Soo-ho and the others, I also greeted them. After slowly glancing at the uncomfortable Chae Na-yoon, I turned and left. But just this one glance made Yoo Yeon-ha once again confirm her thoughts. To this, Chae Na-yoon also didn't know what to do in her heart. Soon after, I also returned to my dormitory. Hearing that I had returned from shopping, Evangeline hurriedly ran toward me, happily calling Papa in her mouth. I told her not to run around in the room to avoid falling. After picking up Evangeline, I said, in the future, could you not call me Papa? Calling me Kim Ha-jin or Uncle is fine. However, Evangeline didn't agree and kept asking me why. As for why she was in the dormitory, I had to start from the day of hatching. At that time, Evangeline asked me why Mama was sleeping again. When I first heard her call Papa, I was still wondering who she was calling. Who would have thought Evangeline was calling me? Just then, the examiners came to check the battle situation. I asked if she could change back to seed form. Evangeline still wanted to ask about Rachel's condition, so I coaxed her a bit. Then Evangeline obediently turned into a seed. Just like that, I successfully brought her to the dormitory. Evangeline was very well behaved when eating. At first glance, she really looked like a miniature version of Rachel. After letting her eat obediently first, next was dealing with the larval powder. Butterfly larval powder could attach to things with magic power, thereby stimulating some hidden potential. Simply put, whether person or object, larval powder could stimulate potential. Originally, it should have fallen into Rachel and Kim Soo-ho's hands, but due to the captain's involvement, now I still had to find an opportunity to transfer it to them. Meanwhile, in Rachel's dormitory, she kept thinking about who the child she had seen was. She could clearly feel the other person, and after waking up, the girl's warmth still remained on her hands. Rachel thought it might be a tree spirit-like creature, or perhaps it was indeed a hallucination she had. But whenever she recalled the smile in the dream, she would still couldn't help but feel happy along with it, and still constantly recalled that warmth, as if telling her they would reunite sooner or later. A few days later, the school sent everyone a message about guild experience. Selected students could participate in experience activities. This was a system designed for students. During holidays, they could go to guilds to observe the work of current heroes, and highly ranked domestic guilds had the right to designate students they wanted. But each guild could only designate 3 students from first and second grades. First grade students ranked outside the top 300 had little chance. I was also curious about what heroes usually did, besides the business I had set. Presumably they had other things to do. But even if I did well on the final exam, I couldn't squeeze into the top 300, so this guild experience probably wasn't happening. Just as I was thinking this, my watch suddenly rang. To this, I was very puzzled that a guild had actually contacted me. Slowly opening the message, I saw an invitation from Essence Strait. After the holidays, Yoo Yeon-ha was waiting for someone on the road. Soon after, I also arrived here. Seeing me, she was very happy. She had thought I would refuse. Yoo Yeon-ha also said there was another person, but she would be late, so she told us to go first. Then I followed Yoo Yeon-ha and set off. On the way, she said I performed well in the final exam, but actually, I only obtained 67 points in the end. After the car drove for a while, Yoo Yeon-ha said we had arrived. Slowly looking up at the building above, I couldn't take my eyes off it. Yoo Yeon-ha also welcomed me to Essence Strait. Although it was a novel I had written myself, when it actually materialized before my eyes, it was indeed very shocking. Entering the building, there were many people inside. Everyone was doing their own work. Someone was also explaining that although it was a hero experience program, some work also had to be completed indoors. Difficult tasks needed to be analyzed before they could be tackled. I also understood why someone with my low ranking could still receive an invitation from a major guild. It should have been Yoo Yeon-ha's decision. She was the guild leader's daughter. She should have this authority. Soon we came to an office. Inside was exactly Essence Strait's analysis room. The person who brought us was mid-upper tier hero Park Sang-go, who was Yoo Yeon-ha's confidant. He heard that my theoretical grades were first place, so he brought me to the analysis room. However, although Park Sang-go looked like a gentleman, he was actually a scheming villain who would stab Yoo Yeon-ha in the back later. At this time, another female voice came from behind. It was mid-upper tier hero Lee Jinya, who said very sarcastically, a student ranked 934th could actually come to Essence Strait for experience. Lee Jinya was targeting Yoo Yeon-ha. I could understand this, because she was on the side of Essence Strait's vice leader Jung Haosok, and Yoo Yeon-ha, as the leader's daughter, was the legitimate heir. Lee Jinya saw her as a thorn in her side. But this was only temporary, because she would become Yoo Yeon-ha's subordinate later. Lee Jinya was also a main character of Essence Strait. But I had to say, what this guy was saying now was indeed very annoying. annoying. Soon Li Jinya looked at the materials in her hand and came up with an idea. Then she told me that if I was confident, I should solve the problems in these materials. Then she also called me little brat. I had to say Li Jinya successfully angered me. Then I asked to borrow a few sheets of paper from her. Who would have thought this guy continued to sneer? Just then, Yu Yonha received a message that the last person had arrived. Then they went out together to meet them. I began to examine the materials. What was written were detection data from dungeon raids, and the final results needed to be calculated. I possessed observation and reading talents. This kind of problem was very simple for me. I could calculate the results in just a few dozen seconds. Next, I just needed to write the final analysis conclusion, and these materials would be complete. But just as I was about to finish, Li Jinya took the materials away with a disgusted expression and told me to hurry and follow her out. Although I was angry, I still followed. Unfortunately, the conclusion wasn't written yet. If Li Jinya wanted to consult me later, I absolutely wouldn't tell her. After the elevator door opened, I had just come out when I unexpectedly ran into Chae Na-yoon face to face. The next second, she finally reacted. Then she asked Yu Yonha why I was also here. I understood, so the last person was Chae Na-yoon, but why didn't Yu Yonha tell me? Meanwhile, in Yu Zhenyuk's office, he was very troubled, because after collecting materials for a whole month, the materials about Kim Ha-jin were only a few pages. Yu Zhenyuk didn't expect the difficulty would keep increasing. No matter how much he had spied these days, he couldn't dig deep into who I had connections with before. He didn't even have clues about who my parents were or why I became an orphan, but during this period, he had found something, and this thing drew his attention. On the other side, after everyone had arrived, Park Sang-go led us to experience actual duty. At this time, he also asked Chae Na-yoon why she was late, and Chae Na-yoon said she had gone to visit her grandfather. Upon hearing this, Park Sang-go got very excited because Chae Na-yoon's grandfather was the great hero Cheju Cheol. Meanwhile, Yu Yonha received a message and said she needed to take a phone call first. After arriving at the restroom, Yu Yonha picked up the phone, and on the other end was her uncle Yu Zhenyuk. She immediately asked about how the investigation from last time was going. Since no important information had been found, and to avoid losing face, Yu Zhenyuk said he hadn't started investigating yet. His words made Yu Yonha very angry. Yu Zhenyuk wanted to know why his niece wanted to investigate Kim Ha-jin's parents, and whether Kim Ha-jin really wanted to find his parents. Yu Yonha said yes, Kim Ha-jin had memorized the wanted list by heart, and she didn't know if it was because his parents were involved in criminal cases. Upon hearing this, Yu Zhenyuk immediately fell silent. Because he thought of that matter he took seriously, so he found an excuse to hang up the phone. Yu Yonha still wanted to ask when he would start investigating, but she didn't expect the phone to be hung up already. On the other side, Yu Zhenyuk felt very heavy, thinking whether Kim Ha-jin was really related to that incident. The incident from 16 years ago, at Gwangmu Fortress, 87 ordinary people who had taken refuge in the shelter and 9 heroes were all killed. When Yu Zhenyuk investigated this matter a few years ago, someone caught him in a vulnerable position. Subsequently, he was even kicked out of the Yu family, although they later said this incident was caused by demons. But having investigated personally, he understood that 3 big figures were involved behind the scenes. One was Kim Seoko, the leader of H country at that time. Another was Cheju Cheol, chairman of Daehyun Group, and Yu Zhenyuk's own older brother, who was also Yu Yonha's father, Yu Zhenwong. None of them had personally taken action, but had hired assassination organizations instead, because they didn't take this matter very seriously. The more Yu Zhenyuk thought about it, the deeper he went. If Kim Ha-jin was a survivor of that incident and was currently carrying out a revenge plan, then it would be too dangerous, and this matter had to end here. If they continued investigating, once that madman Cheju Cheol noticed, he would definitely die without a burial place. On the other side, after waiting for a while, we received orders to eliminate the petrification golems. Since they moved too fast, after running for a while, Park Sang-go discovered I had disappeared. Chae Na-yoon told him not to worry, saying I would catch up on my own, and Yu Yonha had been looking gloomy ever since she came back. Having been played by her uncle, she felt extremely annoyed. Soon, everyone arrived at the scene of the incident. Many golems were already causing widespread destruction. A couple who couldn't escape in time were about to be killed by the golems. At the critical moment, Yu Yonha's whip arrived just in time. Seeing this, Park Sang-go immediately stepped forward. Then he suddenly threw the spear in his hand. The next second, the golem was shattered into pieces. Just then, I finally arrived at the scene. Chae Na-yoon also found her target. Soon she made her judgment about the golem in front of her. Chae Na-yoon decided to challenge it with her sword. She had already learned about the golem's weakness when she came, so she slashed at the monster's ankle, but the distance was too close, and the golem's reaction exceeded expectations. Before Chae Na-yoon could hit the weak point, she was already struck in the abdomen by the golem. The powerful force instantly sent her crashing to the ground. She struggled to stand up, not expecting that the originally clumsy-looking golem would move so agilely, and the opponent's attack wasn't over yet. I immediately told her to dodge quickly, but accompanied by a loud crash, I was stunned, because I had already used ether to pull Chae Na-yoon over. That reaction just now was my subconscious behavior. Now I had to say something, or it would cause misunderstandings. So I said, next time you can keep some distance to attack it. After all, your sword can become longer than a spear, can't it? Upon hearing this, Chae Na-yoon said she had just been too hasty and careless, and told me to watch carefully next. But then she still said, thank you. Making Chae Na-yoon a swordsman was because her magic power capacity was dozens of times that of ordinary heroes. Chae Na-yoon's talent was called sea of magic power, and even Kim Suho's mana couldn't match hers. By evening, we had eliminated all the petrification golems. At this time, I suddenly sensed someone watching from behind. I used Eagle Eye to see the other person's face clearly. Her characteristics also made me recognize her instantly. Hearing Chae Na-yoon and the others calling me to leave, I didn't linger any longer, feeling only apologetic toward her in my heart. After all, according to the original plot, the ether should have belonged to her. At night, Lee Jinya in the office finally finished her work. At this time, she picked up the materials I had written to give them a score. After reading them, Lee Jinya didn't expect I had done so well, but she felt it was a pity there was no analysis result. So she directly contacted me and asked me to come to the guild tomorrow to chat, but having already learned how the guild operated, I definitely wouldn't go again. So I sent a message to Park Sang-go explaining the situation. He asked for the reason, and I prepared to tease Lee Jinya a bit. Then I sent Park Sang-go the reason for not going, that someone had mocked me for being a low-ranking nepotism case. After seeing this message, Park Sang-go knew this was Lee Jinya's doing. Seeing Park Sang-go was angry, Lee Jinya quickly explained that she didn't mean to look down on Kim Ha-jin. On the other side, after sending the message, I could imagine the scene of Yoo Yeon-ha getting angry at Lee Jinya. Having run to many places today, I was now somewhat tired. Evangeline had already fallen asleep early. Next, I had one more thing to do, just perfect to do it while she was sleeping. After tucking Evangeline in, I took out the larval powder from before. Staring at the full bag of larval powder, I thought for a long time. Finally, I still thought this amount was quite sufficient. Then I divided the larval powder into 3 equal parts. Kim Suho and Rachel were certainly important, but I also had to take care of myself. I had to seize this opportunity to become stronger. Tonight, I planned to use my own portion of larval powder. Since my potential wasn't good, using it on myself was quite wasteful. I planned to use this pile of larval powder to enhance the ether's potential. Slowly pouring the larval powder down. The ether was absorbing it bit by bit. Next, I just needed to wait patiently. Just then, my watch had a new message. I didn't expect Chae Na-yoon would contact me. She came to thank me again for today's matter, but seeing Chae Na-yoon continue saying but, I wanted to know what she was going to say next. Who would have thought that after waiting a full 10 minutes, there was still no follow-up? When I took the initiative to ask her, Chae Na-yoon seemed quite puzzled. Then I had to tell her to go to sleep quickly to end this conversation. This inexplicable chat initially made me feel it was a waste of time. But thinking about it again, I still felt it was quite novel. When I first came here, I was just a not impressive passerby. Having experienced so much, now I should have transformed into an important supporting character with screen time. At the same time, on the other side, Yoo Yeon-ha was still working late into the night. Even at night, there were still many things to handle. She decided to create her own intelligence organization. Rather than waiting for her unreliable, lazy uncle, Yoo Yeon-ha thought it would be better to investigate herself. After writing the recruitment notice, she also received a call from Chae Na-yoon. It turned out that next Tuesday, she and Kim Suho were going to attend an academic conference, so she wanted to ask if she wanted to go together. Upon hearing this, Yoo Yeon-ha was about to refuse, but then heard the news that Shin Jong-hak was also going. Then she changed her mind and said she would go too. Then Chae Na-yoon asked if she had seen the video of herself with the golem. Yoo Yeon-ha said, I saw it. I saw very clearly how you fell into Kim Ha-jin's arms. Hearing her words, Chae Na-yoon immediately became anxious and even threatened. If you spread that video, I absolutely won't let you off. After teasing Chae Na-yoon for a while, Yoo Yeon-ha happily hung up the phone. Chae Na-yoon in the dormitory didn't expect that scene to be exposed. When Yoo Yeon-ha continued working, she soon received another message, learning that I had given up the guild experience qualification because of what Lee Jinya said. Yoo Yeon-ha immediately became furious and told Lee Jinya to answer the phone quickly. She had worked so hard to win over Kim Ha-jin, but didn't expect it to be ruined in the end. However, thanks to their attention, I gained SP points again. Although I felt puzzled, since someone was giving me points, I was naturally very happy. The points gained recently were also quite considerable. When the ether activated, I planned to use all the points. In terms of physical strength, even if I worked very hard, I would inevitably fall behind others. So I had to improve weapon power as much as possible. Thus, I wrote a new talent called Random Enhancement System. It could enhance recognized equipment. Although this name seemed unreliable, for me with top-level luck, this talent was absolutely heaven-defying. I just didn't know if it could be set successfully. As I consumed SP points and pressed the confirm button, the status window prompted that SP points were insufficient and the talent quality was reduced. But before I could be disappointed, my powerful luck played its role once again. The next second, the random enhancement talent was successfully set. The only drawback was that the upper limit of enhancement power had decreased. Although the result wasn't entirely satisfactory, being able to set it successfully was still good. The reason I was so eager to prepare to become stronger was because the new main storyline was about to begin. In a blink of an eye, a week of summer vacation had passed, and during this week I had been training. Although I invested all SP points in weapons, this didn't mean I would give up physical training. After the ether was enhanced by larval powder last time, it gained mysterious sprite power. Through recent practice, I had also completely mastered the use of ether. Overall, after the ether potential was enhanced, my physical enhancement value increased by 0.7. Not only that, it also added a detailed manifestation function. Transformed items would be more realistic in the future. Items with overly complex structures took more time. Then I manifested a dagger to test it properly. Carefully examining the ether dagger in my hand, both its appearance and feel were the same as ordinary daggers. But as long as I used the random enhancement talent, its power would become formidable. Splitting mountains and crushing stones could be easily easily accomplished. After a series of tests, this small dagger's power was ridiculously strong. Although it had some gap compared to those ancient relics, the ordinary appearance was the key point. It could make people lower their guard. After all, no one could imagine that a dagger's power would be so high. Time flew by and it was the day of the travel club's activity. At this time, I told Evangeline I was going out and promised to buy her something delicious when I came back. At the same time, I told her to just transform her ghost friends into animals, absolutely not into humans. Then I put on the coat Rachel gave me. After saying goodbye to Evangeline, I went directly to the meeting point, and on the other side, in Country B's royal palace, a butler named Henry told Rachel that she could be at ease from now on. After negotiations with Cube Academy, they would send reliable personnel to the training camp to serve as protection. Henry said if she didn't mind, the Royal Guild wanted to contact the person who saved Rachel separately. Rachel readily agreed to this. She knew my strength was definitely more than my current ranking suggested. Perhaps other guilds had already taken notice of me. Although the Royal Guild wasn't as good as the famous guilds in Country H, their advantage was having early contact rights, and Rachel also wanted to recruit me into her family's guild. At the same time, when Woo Han-hyun saw everyone had arrived, he called everyone to head to Country B. On the way, Chae Na-yoon was completely overheated, but Chae Na-yoon immediately noticed me, curious whether I wasn't hot wearing a jacket over my school uniform. To this, I said wearing this jacket was very cool because this coat had temperature regulation effects. After teleporting, we arrived in Country B. Everything around made everyone very curious. Woo Han-hyun introduced today's destination, Clancy Island standing in the air, created by Country B's unique floating stones. There, everything related to money was gathered together. Various entertainment auctions, investments, and corporate new product launches were all available. It was Country B's Golden Island. This main storyline would also unfold here. After arriving on the island, Kim Soo-ho asked if we had been here before, and both Yoo Yeon-ha and I were first-time visitors. Only Chae Na-yoon was an exception, because she had come here with her brother when she was 11. Seeing Chae Na-yoon's mood change from happy to dejected, Kim Soo-ho said, "I'm also here for the first time, so please introduce it to us." Upon hearing this, Chae Na-yoon immediately became motivated. Soon, Woo Han-hyun told us there was a large-scale event on the island at 7 p.m. today. At this time, Chae Na-yoon raised her hand asking if they could go to entertainment venues. After learning it was okay to go to entertainment venues, she urged us to go together. Soon, our group arrived at the destination, which was filled with all kinds of luxurious atmosphere. Seeing them all exchange money separately to play, I also went to find the front desk. But the reason I waited for them to leave was because the service staff in front of me was Jane in disguise. After casually chatting with her, I also left. I knew about the false color team's arrival. After all, something that would make beasts from all over the world covet would appear at the 7 p.m. large-scale event. I had been excited since coming here, because with super high luck and eagle eye, making money in this place was simply effortless. The plot trigger time was 7 p.m., so I had plenty of time. But after playing around and earning quite a bit of money, I discovered Chae Na-yoon sitting at a table. The person across from her should be the swindler Bert. When Chae Na-yoon was about to leave, she was angered by Bert calling her a chit of a girl, so she decided to continue playing. According to the original plot, in the next 2 hours, Chae Na-yoon would lose all her money and finally hide in the hotel crying. Actually, she would lose because everyone at this table except Chae Na-yoon was part of the same gang. They were subordinates of the swindler Bert, and this guy was quite a significant character. Looking at the frantic Chae Na-yoon, I couldn't help but sigh. Actually, I didn't care how much this rich girl would lose. The key was I had my eye on something of Bert's. So I took the initiative to approach Chae Na-yoon and told her to let me play with Bert. After Chae Na-yoon stepped aside, a person next to us pretended to have something to do and left first. Then we sat together. When the game started, the man next to us was curious why I didn't look at my cards. I didn't respond to this. After all, I didn't need to flip cards to see everything clearly. On the other side, Jane was reporting the situation to the captain, and she suspected whether she had been exposed. The captain thought not, believing I would need to concentrate magic power on my visual nerves to see through Jane's talent. Thinking about this, Jane also thought it made sense because she hadn't felt any magic power flow just now. At the same time, due to round after round of raises, soon my chips weren't enough. Then Bert asked if I wanted to bet the ring I was wearing, recognizing it as a magic item. But this was exactly what I wanted. Bert wanted to know what this ring was. Upon hearing this, I pretended my expression darkened, then said it wasn't convenient to say. Seeing this, Chae Na-yoon thought of my orphan identity and assumed it was a relic left by my parents. So Chae Na-yoon suddenly stood up and said we wouldn't play anymore. She didn't want me to lose this ring. Helplessly, I pulled Chae Na-yoon to sit down. Then I told her to just watch carefully because I absolutely wouldn't lose. At this time, I stated that my ring was very precious. If he wanted me to bet my ring, then he also had to bet his bracelet. Upon hearing this, Bert readily agreed. He thought he had good cards and would definitely win, but the result ended in his failure. The furious Bert wanted to say I had cheated, but after security confirmation, he was instead mocked by Chae Na-yoon. After everything ended, I successfully obtained the bracelet. This was an item that could restore magic power, and currently Bert didn't know its true value. In the evening, Kim Soo-ho and the others had been waiting for a while. Seeing us arrive now, Yoo Yeon-ha was angry, but turning around, she discovered I had actually changed into a completely different outfit, and Chae Na-yoon was responsible for carrying things for me. Seeing this, they were curious where I got the money. Hearing this, Chae Na-yoon became interested and told them about what just happened. Just then, a man came from behind who recognized Chae Na-yoon in front. The first time Chae Na-yoon saw the man, she didn't expect to meet him here. Yoo Yeon-ha curiously mysteriously asked if the man was Kim Jun-woo from Mineral Guild. Seeing someone recognize him, Kim Jun-woo was very happy. While we were talking, the captain was also silently watching. Then she called out to Jane. The next second, Jane directly emerged from the wall, and next they would officially begin their operation. Soon after, many people came to Clancy Island. Everyone came to attend the event hosted by Rotan Group. The most attractive thing about this event was being able to see the legendary white crystal. At this time, a girl getting out of the car attracted everyone's attention. The person was Princess Rachel of Country B, who was dressed up and invited to attend the event today. After passing through numerous media interviews, Rachel entered the event hall. Here, she also breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't like the noise all the way. At this time, someone called out to her from behind. This person was Zelen, the current president of Rotan Group. The other's arrival obviously made Rachel's mood worse, but she still asked if preparations against demons had been made. Zelen told her to rest assured. Clancy Island was now absolutely the safest place. To host the party, Rotan Group had dispatched many high-rank heroes. Zelen also arrogantly stated that, as the biggest sponsor of the Royal Guild, they guaranteed this time they could make the guild soar to success. At this moment, Zelen's evil face was undisguised. Rachel was even more worried. People attending in the hall were gradually taking their seats. We had also entered inside. At this moment, there was still half an hour before the event started. Now I had one puzzling point. Why would Rotan Group hold an event in such a dangerous place? In my setting, they were one of the most corrupt companies internally. Although the top management had no demons, there were many evil spirits no less than demons. No matter which side the white crystal fell into, it would be a disaster. 3 important demons would also appear today. One was Ned, responsible for transport, another was Hylason, and Kim Hyuk Pyo from the Evil Society. With my current strength, trying to seize the crystal was simply wishful thinking, so it was better to observe the plot development. After all, other organizations would also participate in the battle. Just then, the captain took the initiative to approach and chat with me. Seeing her, I quickly greeted her, and the captain said she came to serve as a security hero. Who would have thought Jane on the other end of the communication congratulated her for finally meeting her crush? This made the captain instantly furious, and I was startled. Seeing this, the captain explained that her companion was talking nonsense on the headset, but actually, I had heard it too. While I was chatting with her, Kim Suho also noticed the new person, so he asked me who the captain was, and I told him the captain's false information. However, Kim Jun-woo, who had just entered together, walked forward and first introduced himself. The next second, he wanted to know how the captain knew me. He also asked which organization the captain belonged to as a hero. But before Kim Jun-woo could get an answer, the event officially began. People around all looked toward the center. The captain also had an excuse, saying she needed to complete security tasks. Then she turned and left. Looking at Kim Jun-woo's expression, I couldn't help wondering if he had noticed something. Then we continued chatting. Rachel noticed my position. She also discovered the clothes I was wearing. She didn't expect I would wear the gift she gave me this time. The first act of the event was Zelen's appearance. He introduced the precious treasure white crystal to everyone. This was naturally condensed from magic power, and so far a total of 480 crystals had been discovered, but no one had fully unleashed its power. Speaking of this, Zelen was very excited. He told everyone that Rotan Group would next demonstrate the true usage method of white crystal. At the same time, Rachel had been observing inside the venue. From just now, she had noticed unnaturally dark human figures moving around in the hall. Initially, Rachel thought they were security, but as the number increased, this gave her a bad premonition, and with so many people currently in the venue, she couldn't act rashly. Just then, my standing up attracted Rachel's attention. After they had gone to visit, I chose to stay behind. The event wasn't over yet, so Rachel was puzzled by my leaving behavior. Then she couldn't help thinking that I always appeared at crime scenes, and always gave people an unusual feeling. So Rachel had her bodyguards go monitor suspicious people in the hall. After the 2 bodyguards went down, she slowly picked up the necklace she was wearing. The next moment, Rachel used this magic item to perfectly hide herself. She planned to catch up with me first. Just as we left, a man in the hall was silently listening to his subordinate's report. After investigation, the crystal in Clancy Hall was indeed genuine, and the man was Kim Hyuk Pyo from the Evil Society. Listening to Zelen's grand promotion on stage, he couldn't help sighing that the other was crazy for money, wanting to prove to VIPs it was genuine, then make stock prices soar, and thus earn greater profits. Kim Hyuk Pyo understood this was because Rotan Group was confident about the island's security. After all, this was a floating island formed by magic power. Demons couldn't connect artificial teleportation points, and the only teleportation point was heavily guarded. But Kim Hyuk Pyo thought these couldn't stop him because they had mobilized air transport planes today. Then he ordered everyone to begin action. On the other side, I was gradually heading to the highest floor of the hall. Rachel, who had been following behind, became increasingly curious about where exactly my destination was. Soon after, I arrived in front of 2 large doors, but the doors were locked. Rachel didn't understand why I was going to the rooftop. Only keys could open the door, and she thought I might be deterred. Who would have thought I took out a small hammer? This made the hiding Rachel dumbfounded. Clancy Island prohibited carrying weapons, but these tools could be brought in. But Rachel didn't understand how this kind of hammer could smash through alloy iron doors. But as the sound of the iron door shattering came, she was also shocked speechless by the scene before her. Because I didn't even release magic power, just used an ordinary hammer to destroy the iron door. But before Rachel could recover, screams suddenly came from downstairs, and now the hall was in complete chaos. Guests were under frenzied attack by demons. Zelen was also caught by people from the Evil Society. He completely didn't expect the demons before him would descend from the sky. After Ned got the white crystal, he gradually thanked Zelen. But just as he was about to leave, he suddenly felt a sense of crisis from behind. The next second, a violent explosion erupted in the hall. Seeing this, the high-rank hero Chen Xiangchen, who came to stop them, was surprised, because the opponent not only dodged his attack, but also had the annoying ability of clones. He thought the demon before him would fight him head-on, but Ned directly controlled 8 clones to start escaping. Seeing this, Chen Xiangchen was also confused, and helplessly could only choose one to pursue. The captain in the shadows also saw everything. Now there were not only demons in the venue, but even many monsters had appeared. Kim Suho and Che Na-yoon were struggling to resist. Just then, someone was calling Che Na-yoon. Looking back, it was Kim Jun-woo shouting. The hall had been too chaotic just now, so they had each gone to deal with demons. Finding Che Na-yoon and the others, Kim Jun-woo also threw a sword to Kim Suho. This was something he took from a dead demon. While they were fighting, I stood alone on the rooftop observing. According to plot development, Ned would split into 8 people to escape. First one was the hero chasing on the east side, but this Ned clone didn't have the crystal in his hands. And on the south side was Jane disguised as a demon following. But the crystal wasn't on the south side either. Now there was still one person chasing a clone, which was the captain on the north side. According to the original work, the crystal was indeed in the hands of the north side clone. The captain encountered obstruction from evil society members while pursuing. When surrounded by multiple demons, she calmly raised her hand. Then a magic ball floated toward them. Seeing this, the demons didn't take it seriously at all, but the seemingly fragile ball directly devoured the demons frantically. Hearing their companions' screams, the remaining demons realized they had hit a brick wall and began to panic. However, it was too late for them to escape now. The captain's technique was simply bizarre and cruel. Ned, seeing the demons being devoured into remains, couldn't help but show a shocked expression. But in just an instant, he was hit by the captain's attack. I witnessed this battle from the rooftop. Although the captain was a character I created, her ability was indeed too cruel. But when I thought the crystal would fall into the false color team's hands according to plot development, I didn't expect the Ned killed by the captain was also a clone. The captain below was also very puzzled. She thought her judgment was correct. This scene also made me completely unable to sit still. I immediately opened my computer to see if the settings had changed, but I didn't receive any new messages, which meant everything that happened before had caused the plot to simply have variables. After anxiously thinking for a while, I quickly thought of a way to find the crystal. Although I had never tried it before, there was no time now and no other choice. Then I aimed the stigmata at my own eyes. I gathered magic power in my eyes and used Eagle Eye with full power. Sure enough, as I expected, Eagle Eye with magic power enhancement was now truly worthy of its name. After quickly searching the entire scene for more than 10 seconds, I still hadn't found the crystal's location. Fortunately, a speeding car next to me caught my attention. Looking carefully, I discovered the crystal on it. But then the image suddenly became very blurry, and my eyes felt a sharp pain. I understood this was caused by Eagle Eye reaching its load limit, but time was urgent now, and I had no time to rest. Then I actively pursued it. After leaping to the ground, there happened to be a motorcycle parked here. After silently apologizing to the owner in my heart, I rode the motorcycle and set off directly. At this time, the battle in the hall was gradually moving outside. Che Na-yoon and the others were protecting guests to evacuate safely. Just then, I saw Che Na-yoon organizing the crowd evacuation while riding, so I loudly called out to her, telling her there were still many demons and monsters coming. Seeing she had no weapon in her hands, I threw the magic sword I had obtained to Che Na-yoon. Seeing this, she was somewhat puzzled about what I had thrown to her. I quickly explained the magic sword's effects. Then I reminded Che Na-yoon to be careful. Then, without waiting for her to ask more questions, I rode away. Special equipment seized from Sidious. Its ability values would vary according to the user's magic power, so I thought the magic sword would definitely unleash power far exceeding demons in Che Na-yoon's hands. During the ride, I used Eagle Eye once again. Compared to this speed, mine was faster. I should be able to catch up soon. A few minutes later, the demon in the car had already contacted transport planes to pick him up. But just when he thought he was safe and could leave safely, I directly rode my motorcycle and crashed into his car. The powerful impact force made his car flip over. After successfully blocking the demon, I also breathed a slight sigh of relief. But the demon in the car wasn't seriously hurt. He kicked open the car door and walked out. And when he came out, he arrogantly announced my death. Seeing the demon call for help from the plane in the sky, I realized this guy still had backup. To this, I decisively took out my computer and looked at the transport plane's number. Then I spent some SP points to modify the setting, making this transport plane return. Just as my modification was completed, the demon in front was dumbfounded, because the transport plane in the sky actually left. Now no one could interfere with me anymore. Next, I prepared to take the white crystal away, but at this time, a roaring sound suddenly came from behind. It made my back go cold. I sensed danger. And the next second, a terrifying magic power suddenly appeared. Then this magic power caused an explosion at the demon's location. When I could see clearly through the smoke and dust, the evil society demon had already lost his life. The person who came was Chi Junjin from the false color team, who had also come to seize the white crystal. Chi Junjin's arrival made me feel very bad. Just as I was thinking about how to seize the white crystal, I suddenly discovered something wrong, because what Chi Junjin was carrying on his shoulders was actually Rachel. Now I understood the situation had become even worse. Then I quietly drew out the ether and seized the white crystal from the ground. Seeing this, Chi Junjin told me to put down the white crystal quickly. I demanded he release Rachel first. Upon hearing this, Chi Junjin finally finally understood I wanted the girl on his shoulder. He had thought Rachel was also here for the white crystal, so he had brought her along. She